another episode of Limited Resources. This episode number 836. My name is Marshall. I'm one of your Limited Resources, and joining me on the line all the way from Denver, Colorado, it's Luis Scott-Vargas. Luis, we've got Lorwyn Eclipsed set review today. It is time for us to dive back into the world of Lorwyn.
Yeah, and I do want to put out a quick note because we've had a couple questions on the subreddit about set review timing and whatnot. And I got to say, this particular flu season has been pretty brutal for both sides of the podcast here, because you were sick multiple weeks in a row, and then me, mostly it was my kids being sick. But just so we're clear, generally we will try to do the common and uncommon set review earlier in the week than this, with the mythic and rare set review also being, early next week. So basically Monday or Tuesday before early access for common and uncommon, and then Monday or Tuesday for mythic and rare. That's the week that people get to play the set. If that can't happen, that can happen. And that's not always going to be the case. That is what we're going to strive for. So I appreciate people kind of understanding the situation, and just let you know, we haven't forgotten about things. It's not like we don't care. It's just, if one of us is hacking up a lung or have to take care of multiple sick children, is just not going to happen that we're going to sit down for 4 hours to talk about the cards. That's just not in the cards, as it were. So we strive to be timely, but if things happen, they do. So we appreciate everyone caring so much that they want to know when it's coming out. But that is where we're at.
Yeah, these set reviews are a big lift. They're 4 to 5 hours of record time plus editing and everything like that. So that it does make it difficult to kind of shoehorn it in at an odd time. But we are here and we are ready to talk about our return to Lorwyn here. This is Lorwyn's, one of the sets that came out when I very first started playing Magic again. I started during Shadowmoor. Is that? Oh, that's when Lorwyn. Really?
Something like that. 2007 actually is, I think, when PT Kuala Lumpur was, and that was Lorwyn. So yeah, like 18, 19 years, something like that.
Okay, well, I don't want to go down that road anymore. That was a fun memory from 10 years ago that you just exploded out to 18. I didn't realize.
It's like when you're like, oh man, The Wire was great. When did that come out? It's like, well,
2005. It's like, no. All right. So we're going to go over every single common and uncommon. If it's your first time joining us, we're really happy to have you along. We are going to read every card, give you our thoughts on it, and even give it a grade. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Before we do, I want to say thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon. We have a Patreon for this show. It's a way to support your favorite content creators directly. Sponsorship stuff can be a bit of a wild ride. We're in some ways at the mercy of the platforms that we put our content up on. And that's where Patreon can really be nice, to be able to connect directly with your audience and have them support you directly, where it can kind of provide that bedrock for the show to keep going. And we really appreciate each and every person who supports us over there. It's patreon.com/limited resources. And if you sign up, you get a thank you card and a sticker in the mail, regardless of which level you sign up for. We also want to thank Ultimate Guard for their support of the show. Look, you've got Magic cards, you need to protect them, whether it's at the card level, the deck level, or even your whole collection. Ultimate Guard is the place to go to get the best products in the game to do so. There's a lot of great companies out there now, but if you look at Ultimate Guard, they design their products really well, really intuitively, with a lot of detail, and they use premium materials. Once you get these things in your hand, you're like, this is nice. Like, they really leveled up the entire game, where, deck boxes used to be these kind of cheap plastic things, and now they have like a nice texture to them. They're more robust. They can survive a lot more of a beating. You can even get things like binders and backpacks to move your collection around. If you want to check out their full line of products, you can go to ultimateguard.com and you can pick up their stuff at your favorite local game store or online retailer. Thank you, Ultimate Guard. We do appreciate it. Luis, I mentioned briefly there that we are going to, at the end of our discussion about the card, give each card a grade to put kind of a punctuation mark on it.
Yeah, and so the comments on the card are obviously give you a lot of the information, but it's good to be able to compare the cards to each other. So the grading scale we use, as always, is an A through F grading scale with 2 subgrades. So starting at the top, we've got the A's, the bombs, the game winners, the cards that are good in many situations, especially when behind, and just the best cards in the set. In the common and uncommon review, we probably see just a couple of these, if any. Some sets don't even have any A's at the common and uncommon level, though I kind of prefer when there are a couple of nice mythic uncommons. So we're talking cards like the Rise of Sozin or the Legend of Kuruk, though given the way mythics have been lately, maybe we'll see 0 A's here. The best cards in the set do tend to be the highest rarity. Bs are cards that actively pull you towards their colors, or in this case, your creature type here, your tribe, your 2-color pair, which we'll go over when we go over the mechanics and archetypes in just a second here. But we're talking cards like Grand, Epic Downfall, Knowledge Seeker, just like the usually the top of the line uncommons, or good to the great uncommons, and the very best commons kind of fall here. Cs are playable, so you're going to see a lot of these today. These are the pawns of limited. They're fairly interchangeable. You will end up with most of the cards in your deck being around the C level. Obviously, you would like to get as many Bs and As as possible. So we're talking cards like Badger Mole, Waterbending Lesson, Yip Yip, cards that you're not unhappy to play, but you're not thrilled to play. They're just the cards that make up the bulk of your deck. Ds are cards that are sometimes playable, but you prefer not to run them. When you've got one of these, that's okay. When you've got a couple of these in your deck, you kind of feel like that you messed up a little bit, or at least you got unlucky. So we're talking cards like Tundra Tank or Cat Owl, Platypus Bear, just cards that are a little bit under the cut. And then Fs are cards that are unplayable in virtually all scenarios. Cards that are super narrow, super high mana cost, refer to types that aren't relevant and limited. Talking cards like Waterbender Ascension, Fatal Fissure, Trusty Boomerang. Our 2 subgrades are sideboard, cards that don't typically make the main deck, but can be very good out of the sideboard, since we're talking cards like Ruinous Waterbending, the -2/-2 to everything. You wouldn't really want to play that card. It's closer to an F than a C, but in a best of 3 situation, you could board it and it can be excellent. And then build around cards that on their own don't typically do enough, but if you build around them, if you build your deck to take use of them, they can be excellent. Cards like Waterbending Scroll or Iroh Grand Lotus.
Now, what about the mechanics that we can expect in Lorwyn Eclipsed?
So we've got some returning mechanics, some new ones. So one of the new ones is Vivid, and this is a theme that you see across a lot of the elementals in the set. And so Vivid says this cares about how many colors you have among permanents you control. So for example, Shine Striker is 4 blue for a 3/3 flying. It has Vivid. When this creature enters, draw cards equal to the number of colors among permanents you control. So if you cast this, it had a blue permanent and a white permanent, and this one will count for the blue one, of course. You'll draw 2 cards. If you have blue, white, and green, you draw 3, so on. It doesn't matter how many of each you have. It's just whether you have one or not. And just a note on Vivid, the hybrid cards work really nicely. There's a bunch of hybrid cards in the set. So you could be a blue-red deck and have a hybrid red-white card that you can cast with red mana, but it does count as a red and white permanent in play. Vivid also doesn't necessarily say what it does. It's more like an ability word. It will tell you what it does every time it's on a card. There's Blight, and this is a pretty big one too. So Blight, when you Blight for N, and let's say N is 1, you put a -1/-1 counter on one of your creatures, you choose which one. Blight 2, you put 2 -1/-1 counters on the same creatures, etc. To note with Blight, and so what happens is a lot of the cards with Blight, as a cost, you have to Blight one of your creatures in order to get the full effect, or just to cast the card in general. You can Blight 3 onto a 1/1. It doesn't have to be big enough to absorb all the counters. So if you're Blighting 1, you'll put it on a 2/2, you'll have a 1/1, that's cool. But sometimes you're like Blight 3, well, I'll just put this all on a 1/1, it'll die, I'll get the effect. So these are cards that basically use that as a cost, though there are a couple of cards that also make your opponent Blight, in which case it's the same thing. They'll choose a creature and put that many -1/-1 counters on it. And of note, because this set has so much of a -1/-1 counter theme, there are no +1/+1 counters or cards that generate that in the set. That isn't part of the landscape. A returning mechanic is Changeling, which is these creatures that are all types, and that counts everywhere, in the graveyard, in your hand, in play, etc. So these are kind of the glue that hold the different tribes together. So let's say you're drafting elementals. Well, there's red changelings that can go really well in your elemental deck, but also could go well in your goblins deck. And if you're like a deck that maybe didn't get there completely on one theme, let's say you're green-black, but you actually have a decent amount of goblins in your deck, a changeling can help your goblins and your elves kind of do the thing that they're supposed to do.
And changelings in original Lorwyn were really important, right?
Really important, and they're important here too. One of the bonuses of us doing this today on Thursday is I did early access on a Wednesday, and I did a bunch of drafts, so I've got a bunch of experience with the cards. Kindred returns also. Kindred is basically a card type that's added to non-creature cards to give them a creature type. So for example, Bogart Mischief is a Kindred Enchantment goblin, which means it counts as a goblin in all the places that you would care about. It isn't a creature though, so you can't destroy target goblin creature, target this, because it's not actually a creature. It just does count as a goblin.
But it counts as casting a goblin spell, for example.
Counts as casting a goblin. Yeah, it counts as controlling a goblin if there's something that cares how many goblins you control. There's double-faced cards. Those are in every set now. I think people pretty much know how those work. Convoke is back in kind of in white and blue mainly. And it plays very well with the Merfolk theme, as we'll kind of talk about what Merfolk are doing. But Convoke, your creature's going to help tap to help cast a spell. Behold is back, if you remember that from Tarkir Dragonstorm. So to Behold, you have to, like, let's say as an additional cost, Behold an elf. You have to either reveal an elf in your hand or kind of point to an elf in play. And if you remember the champion mechanic from original Lorwyn, where you had to exile one of your creatures in order to champion something, there are a couple Behold cards that say Behold and exile, which is kind of like the champion mechanic.
Okay.
So, but again, those will describe what they do on the card. Evoke is back in very small quantities. This was a big theme in the original Lorwyn with elementals, and Evoke lets you cast the creature it's on for less, get the ETB, and then the creature dies. So it's kind of like, Muldrifter is the classic example. 5 mana, 2/2 flying, draw 2, or you evoke it for 3 mana, you get the draw 2, and then the 2/2 body goes away. But there's cool stuff you can do with Evoke. You can bounce the creature in response. You get to play it for cheap to get your creature enters, triggers, that sort of thing. It's on a cycle of mythics. I don't think there's any other Evokes, actually. So it's not super loud and limited, but it's there. I'm glad they brought it back even for a bit. There is small amounts of Persist as well, where a creature dies with Persist, it comes back with a -1/-1 counter, and then if it dies with a -1/-1 counter on it, it does not come back. So those are the mechanics, a couple new, a bunch of old, a decent mix. And then when it comes to draft archetypes, so Lorwyn is a kind of 2-color set with 5 heavily supported archetypes. So they're as you can expect, 5 creature types. And so it's not straight on the ally or enemy color axis. It's just kind of bespoke here. So we're going to go through those. So blue-white is Merfolk, and their main theme is tapping your Merfolk. So Merfolk that have abilities that happen when they become tapped. Merfolk with tap abilities to help trigger those, or cards that tap your other Merfolk. And Convoke is here, which obviously makes a lot of sense as well.
And just to be clear, Luis, these are the stated, these are like what Wizards thinks these archetypes are, right?
But in my experience, this is basically what the archetypes are.
Okay.
I'm not saying there aren't archetypes outside of this. And in fact, there's even one that I want to talk about. But when you're blue-white Merfolk, it does line up exactly like kind of what they say. Okay. Like they weren't wrong this time.
Yeah, Lorwyn's normally pretty straightforward, but there's usually at least 2 of the archetypes that you're going, that didn't, not that it didn't work. There's always those, but that like we actually drafted a different way than that normally.
Right. So far, it hasn't seemed that way. So blue-white is Merfolk, tapping their stuff for advantages. Black-red is Goblins. This actually has seemed to me like the strongest archetype so far. So Black-red Goblins makes a bunch of counters. It has a lot of blight, so you're putting -1/-1 counters on your Goblins for value. Has a bunch of things that care when Goblins die. So it's kind of like a go-wide token strategy with blight and death triggers. And again, has seemed pretty good. It's pretty aggressive. Green-white is Kithkin, which is basically just green-white aggro go wide. So another heavy creature deck. And one of the things you'll notice is, with the exception of elementals, the other 4 supported archetypes that go on creature type lines, you just want like 17 of that creature. So it does make the drafts a little bit on rails, where when you're deep into green-black elves or green-white Kithkin, you know what you're supposed to take out of every pack? The best elf or Kithkin. You just want to have this critical mass to make all your cards work. So green-white Kithkin is just go wide Kithkin. It cares a lot about having Kithkin in play. Blue-red is elementals. This one is a little different. It's got kind of the like 4 cost, play a 4 cost spell. There's a bunch of cards that trigger off playing 4 cost spells, kind of like in Final Fantasy. There's expensive elementals. There's a couple things, that make mana to cast elementals and whatnot. It plays more like a blue-red value control deck. So, that one has seemed pretty fun, though. We'll see how good it is. I have 2 O3 so far with elementals. And then green-black is elves, which again does care about having lots of elves, but specifically it's got graveyard benefits. A lot of elves that mill you, a lot of elves that care about having elves in the graveyard or creatures in the graveyard, both. There's cards that specifically want elves and cards that just count the total number of creatures. A lot of self-mill, and then, a lot of just we care about having elves in play sort of thing. So those are the 5 kind of like stated archetypes. There's also like a 5-color archetype, because there's a bunch of like 5-color fixing that helps, and that's like where the vivid stuff really shines. So it's kind of like 5-color elementals that plays a bunch of like vivid cards, cares about having a bunch of different colors of permanence in play. We'll use a lot of hybrids and stuff. And then changelings can help make it all work. There's also some like not fully supported tribes. So we're talking giants, tree folk, that sort of thing, that there are and fairies, actually, because blue black is not a supported color pair. There are blue black fairies. I mean, there's, as we're going to see as we go through the multis, there's multis in all 10 color pairs. It's just those 5 main color pairs: blue white, black red, green white, red blue, green black are the 5 like kind of primary archetypes. Does that mean you can draft red white giants or blue black fairies? Some of the time, I think you'll be able to pull that off. And I've seen blue black fairies look pretty decent, for example, but you're not going to have as much support. So it's a little bit dicier. If you start down the road of those, it's a lot easier to get cut, or just maybe not end up just because not enough were opened. So there are more than the 5 plus the 5 color elements. So that's 6, I think, pretty heavily supported ones. You do have some other ones in the mix, but it's, you're not going to be able to draft those every time. So it's not the widest set in terms of how many supported archetypes. Most sets have like 10, where something like 8 of them usually work. This has 5, and we'll see how many work. It's a little too early to tell. Plus the 5 color deck, plus sometimes the like kind of off-brand one. There are the possibility of playing 3 colors as well, but there's not so much fixing that, like, usually a lot of the fixing is such that if you go to 3 colors, you might as well go to 5. But sometimes you'll splash like an extra, you'll be green black splashing a red card, and that can happen too in any format. So that's kind of a look at the mechanics and archetypes, and gives us some context going into the set here.
Yeah. So if you're, listening to this before you've done your first draft, with which most people do, that's a good place to start, right? One of those 5 main archetypes plus the extra couple. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start with our signpost cards here. In this case, we actually have more than just the uncommons for these cards. A little bit weird with the grouping. I haven't quite got my head around how they did this. Some of them have 3 cards, 2 uncommons and a common that are multicolored, and then some color pairs just have 2 cards like that. So we're just going to go through them, and these often give us a little more context about what each archetype is trying to do to try to complete that picture before you sit down at your first draft. So with that in mind, our very first card up is Deep Channel Duelist, and this is white blue for a 2/2 Merfolk Soldier. This one's uncommon, and it says at the beginning of your end step, untap target Merfolk you control, and this is also a Lord for Merfolk. Other Merfolk you control get +1/+1. So about as straightforward as it gets, Luis. Blue white Merfolk. This is going to be one of those key uncommons for that type of deck.
Yeah, blue white Merfolk has seemed good, and it would be a B without the untap text. I don't think the untapped text actually quite pushes it too much further than that, but it's good. Maybe it's just actually a B+. It's just a good card.
Yeah,
You'll be happy with it. And sometimes you will get to use the untapped text where, like, you tap a Merfolk for value, you untap it, end a turn to block with, or you have an instant speed way to tap it, of which there are, and you get like double triggers off it, because there's like a Merfolk that when it becomes tapped, you make a 1/1 flying fairy, for example. Getting that twice a turn, really good. So B+ for Deep Channel Duelist.
Yeah, it seems like the perfect start to Lorwyn set right there. Next is another uncommon. This is called Eclipsed Marrow, and this one costs 3 blue-white hybrid mana. So you can either pay triple blue, triple white, or any combination of blue and or white mana. For 3 mana, you get a 2/3 Merfolk Scout, again uncommon. It says when it enters, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a Merfolk, Plains, or Island card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Yeah, I mean, this is just, again, perfection for this deck, right? I mean, the chances of missing if you're actually blue-white Merfolk are like essentially 0. And it has the
you
Merfolk
start out with 14
type.
hits, right? Because you've got 3 lands. You have to look at the 3 lands you used to cast it, but that leaves 14 lands in your deck, assuming you're all just plains and islands. Mm-hmm. So that's already good. Like, you would just play that without that. Yes. And then you add another like 8 to 12 Merfolk, and we're talking, half the cards in your deck hit, and this looks at 4 cards. So yeah, these are such a big step up. The original Lorwyn had Harbingers, which were kind of the same thing, similar, which you search for a Merfolk and put it on top. This just draws you the card and can hit your land drops. So we're going to see there's a cycle of hybrid cards in the 5 supported tribes that use this. And if you're in Merfolk, these are all like B+, not quite A-, but really not that far off. Like, I mean, you play this card, it's a 3-mana 2/3 of the type you care about, and it casts Impulse. You look at the top 4 cards and choose often just the best one of those, including if you need a land or if you need a good thing. And it's great with flicker effects. It's great if you get it back from your graveyard, like in the Elves deck. The interesting part, because they don't all cost triple hybrid, the green-white one just costs 2 mana. You can play that in like a green black deck, and you have to count the number of hits, for example. Where these get a lot weaker outside of their specific pair, because in a blue-white deck, this is colorless to cast and never misses.
Right.
In a blue-red deck, this is triple blue to cast and will often miss. So they're pretty committal, but I would give Eclipse Marrow a B+. And once you're fairly confident you're in Merfolk or you're trying to stake your claim, you're just not going to pass this card for anything but a good rare.
Right. And, we're not adding the build around to these because they are meant to go into these color pairs. So you're not going to have to do extra work. At this point. Right. They just are. But I will say it is a B+ in blue-white. If you're trying to put this into another deck, then as Louis said,
this is like a C- in blue-red.
Right. You're going to miss a lot. So yeah.
And you're just not going to be able to cast it. And by the time you cast it, you're not going to care about hitting an island.
Right. But in blue-white, it's just perfection. The last, this color pair does have a common, and it's called Marrow Sky Swimmer. It is 3 and 2 blue-white hybrid. So you can pay 3 double white, 3 double blue, or 3 blue-white for a 2/2 Merfolk soldier with Convoke. It also has flying and vigilance. And it says, when this creature enters, create a 1/1 white and blue Merfolk creature token. So you're getting a flying vigilance 2/2 as well as a 1/1, as well as 2 Merfolks hitting the battlefield. And this thing has Convoke, so you can get it out. Even though it costs 5 mana, you can routinely cast it for less than that.
And it taps your Merfolk for the Merfolk that care about tapping. This is this is the perfect card for the Merfolk deck. Honestly, I want to give this a B. I don't want to give it a B+ quite, but all 3 of these blue-white cards are excellent. It's part of the reason that Merfolk is very strong. And you noted that there's a common here. Again, the 5 supported ones get a common and 2 uncommons. The kind of off-color ones, like blue-black we're about to see, you get 1 uncommon and 1 common.
Okay.
And the common is always a changeling. So that's kind of the way they are like bridging the gap between these decks. But yeah, Marrow Sky Swimmer is a B. These get better in multiples. I played this against someone who had 4 of these and they crushed me. And there's really nothing bad to say about this. Also, this one is totally fine in like blue-red, for example, or in white-green. Like Kithkin will just happily play this card. So it's not a weak card and it's not even that committal. So B for Marrow Sky Swimmer, but honestly, it's closer to B+ than B-. It's an excellent card.
I'm impressed by these 3 cards here, by the way. They work well together. They're awesome. That moves us to blue-black, which I assume is fairies. That's what it was before. Our first card is Mischievous Sneakling. This is the common. It's 1 and a blue-black hybrid, so very flexible with the mana. It's a 2/2 shapeshifter with changeling, and it has flash. That's it. So this is definitely the type of card that other decks will steal, right? The Goblins deck will want this or whatever.
Yeah, Goblins, Elves, Merfolk.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all in for that. Elementals. Like the changelings are very, very, like the fact that they're hybrid and changeling make them super flexible. These are almost a colorless card. I mean, not quite, but like this is the kind of card where when you take it, you could play it almost every time. And it's not the most powerful card. It's a C, but it's the kind of card that really helps make things work. So I like C for Mischievous Sneakling. It's very solid card. And like I mentioned, the vivid stuff does come up because there's a lot of vivid cards that you'll just play in your 2-color deck. And this just lets you sneak in that 3rd color pretty easily.
Next up is Voracious Tome Skimmer. This is the uncommon. It is 3 blue-black hybrid mana for a 2/3 flying fairy rogue. And it says, whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, you may pay 1 life. If you do, hey, that's pretty good. You draw a card.
My main problem with this is triple blue-black hybrid is just not that easy to cast because you're either talking about drafting blue-black, which is not fully supported, or playing a triple blue card or a triple black card.
So I can't play fairies in this set just straight up.
Well, you can. And like I said, I played against it, but it's the sort of thing that, if you play one of the other 5, let's say when you draft, you play one of the other 5, kind of tribes, some percentage of the time, you'll play blue-black or one of the off-color ones, like maybe a third of that time. So like 80% of the time you're playing, or maybe 85% of the time, you're probably playing one of the 5 supported ones. And then like 15 to 20, depending on how much you like the off-color ones, you're playing one of these. So you can't first pick this and think, I'm going to draft blue-black fairies and have any degree of certainty. So for that reason, I would give this card a B if we were talking, hey, blue-black fairies is real supported. But I think it's a C. I think you just shouldn't take it at that level. So it's a powerful card, And I do think of the off-brand ones, blue-black might be the best of those. Like, I think that you're more likely to be blue-black than blue-green, for example, or red-green. But I don't know that yet. That's just kind of my assumption on watching the first couple drafts play out, or first 10 drafts play out. So C for Voracious Tome Skimmer, just solely because of the mechanics of the set, the structure of the set.
The structure of the set. That brings us to red-black, which there are 3 of these. So the first one is Boggart Curse Crafter.
Curse.
Thank you. This is black-red for a 2/3 Goblin Warlock at uncommon. It's got Death Touch. Those are nice stats. And it says whenever another goblin you control dies, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. Yeah, that's a very annoying card. 2 mana, 2/3 Death Touch is already like very good stats. And then you mentioned that we're going to be doing, what did they call it? A Wither or whatever?
Blight.
Blight, thanks. Yeah. On my own creatures. So they will be dying, I'm assuming.
Also, Blight 1 on this is totally fine. It becomes a 1/2 Death Touch, and so does trades for everything. Yeah. So like it's even a pretty good vessel for that. I would give Boggart Cursecrafter a B+, and again, it's excellent. This is better than the Deep Channel Duelist, the blue-white Merfolk one, by I think a decent margin. I think Goblins is great, and I think this card's great in Goblins. So I would be happy to first pick this card. I think it's in a Goblins deck, which is where you want to end up with it. This is closer to an A than a C. Like, this is high B+ range. I don't want to give it an A-, but like, I've lost multiple games to this card already. When it hits the board, you're like, okay, this is a problem. So,
okay, yeah, that's respect.
Well,
especially if you're
it's the perfect card for the Goblin Engine, and a 2 mana 2/3 Death Touch is just like a B to start with.
Yeah,
so like,
totally.
What are we talking about here? It's an excellent card.
B+ for Boggart Cursecrafter. Next is Chaos Spewer. This is 2 and a black-red hybrid, so 3 mana for a 5/4 Goblin Warlock at common. What's the downside? When this creature enters, you may pay 2. If you don't, blight 2. And again, to blight 2, put 2 -1/-1 counters on a creature you control.
I mean, look at how flexible this card is. First of all, it's red-black hybrid, so you could play it in a bunch of places, though clearly at its best in Goblins. It's a 3 mana 5/4, or a 5 with blight 2, or a 5 mana 5/4, or a 3 mana 3/2 if you put the counters on itself.
That's really sweet.
So it's just got a lot of modes, and throwing the counters on a 1/1 leave you feeling like you got a pretty good deal. Putting the counters on itself is totally fine. So I don't think it's like an exceptional card. I think it's a C still, but it's just a pretty good flexible card. It's one of the better 3 mana 3/2s we've seen.
Yeah, kind of scary. 3/2 in air quotes. Next up is Eclipsed Boggart. This is 3 red black.
Plus 1 note on the Chaos Spewer. I consider myself a bit of a Chaos Spewer myself. So I've got
or maybe one of your kids on a random weekend, right?
Well, yeah,
they're spewing
for sure.
Next up is Eclipsed Boggart. Again, it's 3 black-red hybrid mana for a 2/3 Goblin Scout. This one's uncommon. And it says, when this creature enters, look at the top 4 cards of your library. Guess what I'm going to say? You can reveal Goblin, Swamp, or Mountain card from them, and put it in your hand and put the rest on the bottom. So this is, again, that cycle.
I mean, it's kind of weird, but it's exactly the same as Eclipse Marrow. There's just no difference between the two.
Oh, so, actually, right. Yeah. They're even statted the same, aren't they?
That's funny. Kind of strange. I would have expected this to be a 3/2. I'm definitely not sure why they didn't do it that way. It is better as a 2/3. I guess because of Blight, a 2/3 plays a lot better because it can eat Blight 2 and still be around for various purposes. So, yeah, B+ on Eclipse Boggart. Excellent card. And the triple color ones are just not ones I'm that interested in playing outside of their exact color pairs.
Right. But in their, see, this to me does make the draft feel even more on rails, right? Like when the really good ones are just like, and if anybody opens these, they're just going to go to the Goblins players. It's like, or the player of the supported tribe.
It means there's a really big reward for picking the right lane, for not being elves cut by elves. Because if you're the first elves player in 4 seats, you're going to get a ton of good stuff that no one else cares about. I mean, I've already seen this where like premium Goblin uncommons can go 7th pick. If you're not playing Goblins, you do not care about the card. The cards are very much in their own lane. So
and then it just feels like these unsupported archetypes are just sort of left out in the dust, which is the next one, by the way, which is green-red Gangly Stompling, which is 2 and a green-red hybrid. So 3 mana for a 4/2 shapeshifter with Changeling. It does have trample as well, and it's a common. So, that's a thing. Seems decent. But again, it really kind of harkens back to this kind of glue situation that we've got where this is just a changeling that other decks can pick up, but like, what is it actually trying to do on its own? And when you compare this to the fully supported, the archetypes that have the 3 cards here, it seems like a kind of a sick joke.
Yeah, I mean, 4-2 is also not even a great stat line.
Right.
It doesn't wear blight counters very well. It's good with some of like fight spells and some of the like. There's some things that care about having high power creatures, but there's not like a 4 power creatures matter theme so much. So I actually think D for Gangly Stompling, like it's a fine card to play if you need to, but 3 mana 4-2 historically has just not been a very good line of stats. So
I just don't like how quickly I'm dismissing the color pairs that are clearly not.
Well, this is a 5.5 deck format, 6 deck format, whatever you want to call it. Like,
is there just not enough slots to make all the color pairs work?
Well, I would say doing creature type sets can be challenging, and this happened in the first Lorwyn, and I mean, it's a topic for another show. But if you look at a lot of the sets that care heavily about creature types, like it does break down like this a lot.
Okay. Next up is Noggle Robber. This is 1 and 2 green-red hybrid. So 3 mana for a 3/3 Noggle Rogue. This is the uncommon. And it says when this creature enters or dies, create a treasure token. I mean, is this for that 5-color deck that you were talking about?
Well, I've actually played this like in green black or whatever, in blue red. It's just a good card.
This is a really good card
that gets you a treasure immediately and then eventually gets you another one. And that's totally solid. And double color is not impossible to cast. So I would give Noggle Robber a B- solely because you're not really going to be red green where it's just like straight up free to play. But it's not, it's like an off-brand type, so it doesn't give you anything that you care about there. But it's a good card. It's like a B-, and it's actually just a straight B if you are the 5-color deck, because it really does good stuff there.
Yeah, that just seems like an awesome card to put in.
Again, implicit with all the hybrids is that your green-black deck now has 3 colors of permanence in play for Vivid is a relevant thing.
That moves us to another supported archetype, which is green-white Kithkin. So the first one is Eclipsed Kithkin. So this one is the one Luis mentioned before. It only costs 2 this time. So it's 2 green-white hybrids. So you can play green-green, white-white, or white-green, or if it's in the deck, it kind of feels like colorless. And you get yourself a 2/1 Kithkin Scouted uncommon. It says when this creature enters, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can reveal a Kithkin Forest or Plains, put it in your hand, put the rest in the bottom in a random order. So this one somehow is even cheaper. That seems pretty relevant though, Luis, especially for hitting land drops.
Yeah, this one in the Kithkin deck, I think it's going to be a B+, just like all the other ones. Kithkin really love 2-drops, and this does exactly what you want. This is one that you can play outside of that though. I got to do my favorite thing this morning, Marshall. I busted out the hypergeometric calculator during one of my draft videos.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a green-black elves deck that played this card, and setting aside the 2 forests to cast it, and this itself, I still had enough hits that I was like 73% chance to hit something, put it in my deck, and I cast it like 5 times and never missed, which was a little bit above expectation even. And so, yeah, it's a fine card. You can play this card in green black. You can play this card in white blue, as long as you want probably, if you're around 60 to 65% is where I'd want to be hitting, because the thing is, even if you're 50% to hit, that's still not that great because it's not the easiest to cast. I don't want the card that's stuck in my hand for a bit, because then hitting the plains isn't that relevant, or the forest, whichever one you care about. But if you're like a 9 or 10 forest deck in your green black, and you play it, and you've got a couple random green Kithkin in your deck, which you end up with, it's not like you're always just all elves. It also hits the changelings. Mm-hmm. Then it's a fine card. So it's kind of like a B+ in Kithkin, and probably like a C+ outside of it. It's not like an amazing card, but this one at least is castable, whereas Eclipsed Boggart, I'm just not putting in other decks.
Right. Yeah, 2 mana. And man, just being 2-drop is so, you can keep a lot of different types of hands. If you have, 2 lands in an Eclipsed Kithkin, you're kind of feeling pretty good about that, regardless of if you miss your next land drop or 2. Next up is Thoughtweft Lieutenant. This is green-white for a 2/2 Kithkin Soldier at uncommon, and it says whenever this creature or another Kithkin you control enters, target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. So no counters, as you mentioned. So this is a temporary buff. But every single time Kithkins hit the battlefield, this thing's just triggering left and right.
Yeah, it's not as powerful as you might think for the slot, because it's just one creature. So But Kithkin does have some ways to make Kithkin tokens, and it's again a critical mass deck. So you're always going to play this in Kithkin, and it's going to be a good card. But this is going to have much less of an impact than like Deep Channel Duelist or Bogart Cursecrafter. Like I would give Thoughtwolf Lieutenant a B, and closer to B- than B+. It's just okay. Like
just okay.
You play this, give one thing +1/+1. The next turn you play a Kithkin and play one thing +1/+1. And Trample is not even like the most impressive because the Kithkin's decks aren't going tall; they're going wide. So this one seems a little odd. Actually, I'm kind of surprised that they didn't do like a mass pump sort of deal.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting.
So I like B for Thoughtwolf Lieutenant, but I think again closer to a B-.
Wary Farmer is next. This is the common, so it's 1 and 2 green-white hybrid for a 3/3 Kithkin Citizen. And it says at the beginning of your end step, if another creature entered the battlefield under your control this turn, surveil 1. Wow. So you're getting a potentially easy to cast, effectively colorless and green-white 3/3 for 3 that's of a relevant creature type and gives you a nice little bump for free, more or less, right? I mean, you are a Kithkin deck. You're going to be casting creatures and having them enter the battlefield.
But even then, this is just a C. Like it's you're going to fill out your deck with this. It's not going to be a card that's going to draw you into Kithkin. It's not going to be a card that you're that excited about.
I mean, it'll draw you into Kithkin, right?
You see this third pick, you're not like, ooh, I better be Kithkin.
I'm sorry.
I meant in the draft.
Yeah,
yes.
Gotcha. Yeah.
In the game, it will draw you into Kithkin. That is true. But in the draft, this is not a
really
card that gives me any pull towards Kithkin.
Totally. No, it is not in that
I like
B
C
range.
for Wary Farmer.
Yeah. Next up is white-black. That only gets 2 cards here. So it's Prideful Feastling is the first one. It's 2 and a white-black hybrid for a 2/3 changeling with lifelink at common.
I like this one.
Sure.
The lifelink really does matter. Like you get some good value out of it. It's really easy to cast even in like, goblins or Kithkin or whatever. And 2/3 is kind of decent stats. My main experience is playing this in a goblins deck where I was very happy with it. So I like C for Prideful Feastling.
Definitely.
Totally fine card.
That will see a lot of play in many decks. The uncommon is called Reaping Willow, and it is 1 and 3 black-white hybrid. So 4 mana total for a 3/6 lifelink. It is a Tree Folk Cleric at uncommon. It says this creature enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. So it's actually a 1/4 when it hits the board. And then you can pay 1 and a black-white hybrid to remove 2 counters from this creature. If you do, it says return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and you can only activate it at sorcery speed. Wow.
So this is a very powerful card. I mean, if you do the whole thing, right? If you cast this and then use it, you end up with a 3/6 lifelink plus a 3-drop in play. Really good.
3 or 2. Yeah, totally.
That's 3 or 2, but ideally 3. I'm saying the ideal case.
Yeah, the ideal case. Man, that's a lot for 6 mana.
It is triple color in a lot of cases because again, you're not going to be black-white very often.
Yeah.
But I think this one might be worth stretching. The other thing that these hybrid cards can sometimes pull you towards is, let's say you're green-black and you splash a couple white cards, then this becomes a little more appealing because the planes that you play on the splash also help cast the Reaping Willow. So
true. This
would be a card that I would give a B+ if black-white was supported, but I would still give it a B. I think the card is strong enough that this is one, unlike something like the Tome Skimmer, right? The blue-black fairy. That one you need to cast early to start getting the benefit while you still have instants to play and you want to draw cards. This, if you cast this as the last card in your hand on like turn 7, that's still pretty good. Like that's when you even get to use the ability. So
I just find I have a hard time giving a card like this a B because I just don't know where it will live. The triple white, triple black, like is your Goblins deck being like, all right, we're going to throw a Weeping Willow in here?
Well, I think what you want to do is
Merfolk?
If you see this card late and you pick it up, I think Merfolk actually is. I think Merfolk is one of the better places for it, or Kithkin. Basically, you want to construct a deck where you can play 10 sources of whichever color you are, which I think is easier for Merfolk and Kithkin than it is for elves or goblins. Though some goblins and elves decks will trend that way. Elves, I think, just has a lot of green cards in it, so it's not going to be as easy. But like, here's a way to look at it: if your deck was just straight up, about like, let's say 8/8 for argument, though I know you're playing 17 lands. Let's say it was 8/8 swamps, forests. You'd routinely be able to cast this when you had around 6 lands into play with some variance.
Did you just break out the calculator again on us?
No, I'm just talking. This is very basic math. if your deck has half plains and half forests, you need to cast a triple white card, it's like you roughly need twice as many lands into play. Again, that's not exact because there is variance. Sometimes you draw four forests and 2 plains and you can't cast this. But from that perspective, like if you can cast this around 6 or 7 mana, doesn't that seem still pretty strong? Like it is a good finisher.
Yeah, I think that the skepticism that I have beyond just the mana cost, which is the main one, is also that it's a tree folk cleric, right? So like you are giving up a critical creature slot to something that is not going to be, the creature type that you're trying to build around. And it's quite difficult to cast. Like it's getting very narrow at this point, even though, I read the text on the card and I really like it. It's powerful. It has 4 toughness when it ETB, so it's still tough to kill, probably. Good blocker. If you can cast it, you can activate it the next turn at the very least. And, I'm assuming by that later stage of the game, you'll be able to get something back. There's a lot to like here, but man, I can just imagine myself being in Merfolk and being like, okay, should I take this Reaping Willow or should I take this decent common Merfolk for my deck? And I'm probably just going to go to the Merfolk every single time and not try to mess around with this like difficult to cast off creature type thing. So that's my skepticism with it, even though it is very powerful. It looks like a very.
It does count as a Merfolk because it brings back a Merfolk.
Yeah,
it ultimately gets you a creature of that type. I think a lot of the time.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
It's an interesting card.
I would give it a D to start with. It just feels like this thing's going to get left out in the dark a lot. But I'll tell you what. I hope I'm wrong about that, and I hope it ends up being like.
Don't worry.
Well, what would you give it?
I would give it a B-. I think that this is.
Oh man, you're crazy.
But it's a spec card. If you can put this card in, I've just seen this card cast a couple times and it was good. Like it is
a good card if you can cast it.
I don't mind waiting on it. Look, I'm not going to give a lot of the kind of off-brand hybrids that cost triple a very high grade because I think that a lot of the time that's just not where you want to be. But this one, I just don't mind waiting on it. That's a big key.
It's a good late game card.
Going back to the Tome Skimmer, I don't want to wait on my 2/3 that cares about playing other cards because that's just not going to be reliable. This casting it again as your last card is still pretty good.
Okay. So we have a fairly big discrepancy there. Next up is blue-red, and that's Eclipsed Flamekin. This is this is an uncommon. It's 1 and 2 blue-red hybrid for a 1/4 elemental scout. And when this creature enters, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can reveal an elemental island or mountain, put it in your heart, and the rest of the bottom in any order. So there's your Eclipsed elemental.
Yeah. Fantastic. 1/4 is great stats. It gets the stuff you want. This one, you're again at double color, you're a little more likely to play this in goblins or merfolk. That could happen. So I like it. I still like it at B+, like all the rest of the Eclipsed in the blue-red deck, and something like C+ in kind of the off-color decks.
Next is Flaring Cinder. This is the same cost, 1 and 2 blue-red hybrid. This one though is a 3/2 elemental sorcerer at common, and it says when this creature enters and whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. And that is rummaging, not looting, by the way.
Yeah. This card's fine. It's just not that exciting. Like 3/2 again is just not amazing stats. Rummaging is a lot weaker than looting. Though I think rummaging is actually kind of better game design. And because looting, you should always loot, as we've discussed at length.
Yes.
There's just not an interesting decision. Rummaging, you have to make a decision and you have to weigh the cards in your hand versus the cards you might see off them. So I think it's a little more interesting. I think in an ideal world, they do both, and they do continue to do both because they're also meaningfully different for the 2 colors. But I do think rummaging is a more interesting mechanic. In any case, Flaring Cinder is a C. You'll just play it in your elemental decks and it'll be okay sometimes, but it's not too impressive.
Twin Flame Travelers is the other uncommon. It's 2 blue-red for a 3/3 flying elemental sorcerer. And it says, if a triggered ability of another elemental you control triggers, it triggers an additional time.
Yeah, it's a powerful card in the elemental deck. There's a lot of elementals that have triggers, whether it's death triggers, ETBs, what have you, attack triggers, and It's also a 4-mana 3/3 flyer. So I like B for Twin Flame
Yeah.
Travelers. It takes a little bit of things to line up where it's like you have to cast this, then cast or have things trigger. Though sometimes it happens right away because it's like a death trigger. You play this and then it happens. You get your creature into combat. But they also have to not kill it. So I like B for the Travelers. It is powerful. It can do some pretty gross things.
Yeah, that seems like the type of card that would be a bit of a lightning rod, which is a good thing. Next up are elves. We do get 3 cards for elves. The first one is Eclipsed Elf. So this is 3 black-green hybrid mana for a 3/2 Elf Scout with that same Eclipsed ability. When it ETBs, you can get an Elf Swamp or Forest.
Yeah,
so this one's a 3/2. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off. It's a B+. You'll play it in elves, and you won't play it outside of elves.
Yeah, so
it's basically the same as all the rest of the cards.
Same as the ones that all cost 3. Yeah. The next card is Morkant's Loyalist. This is 1 black-green for a 3/2 Elf Warrior at uncommon. This is another of those lords. Other elves you control get +1/+1. And when this creature dies, return another target elf card from your graveyard to your hand. Dang.
I know you're a basketball fan. Would you consider yourself a John Morkant loyalist?
No, I would not. not at all. This card I do like a lot. Man, this is really a really neat design. These. Yeah.
I don't know every Lord Magic at this point, but a Lord that has a death trigger is really cool because on the one hand, they need to kill it. But on the other hand, if they kill it, you get another elf back.
That is amazing.
Likewise, you want it in play, but sometimes you're like, actually, I want to trade this off. I'd like to get my other elf. It is quite good. So B+ for John Morkant's Loyalist, and it is a good one. This card's really strong.
The common for elves is Stoic Grove Guide. It's 4 and a black-green hybrid. So 5 mana total for a 5/4 elf druid at common. And it has an activated ability, 1 and a black-green hybrid. Exile this card from your graveyard to create a 2/2 black and green elf creature token at sorcery speed. So it comes back as yet another elf. But it's a little mediocre on the stats, right? Just the 5 mana 5/4 is just kind of.
So you would think that, but I think this is actually really good.
Okay.
This is one of the cards that I would have been on the same page because 5 mana 5/4 does a thing to our brain, which is
Yeah.
But my experience with this card in elves is that it's actually like actively good because elves has a lot of self-milling. So by having this card in your deck, sometimes you just get a free 2/2 out of nowhere. And 5 mana 5/4 that's exceedingly easy to cast. You could even splash this card or play it in off-color decks without too much issue. It's pretty good. It's got good stats. You cast this, they kill it, you get it back a 2/2. Totally fine. So
I believe you.
I like C+ for the Grove Guide. I think it's a cut above the filler commons.
Yeah, and I'll also say that while the face cost is like you said, they did make it cheap. Like it's 2 mana for a 2/2 to get back, and that's like free-ish. So that is pretty dang good. We have 2
face
more.
Card, though. The face card's good on this one too.
We've got 2 more color pairs, and
Marshall
neither of them. What? No, neither of them are supported. I just kind of drove right by that. Feisty Spikeling is the first one. This is for red-white, and it's 1 and a red-white hybrid. So 2 mana for a 2/1 shapeshifter with Changeling, and it says during your turn, this creature has first strike.
I always think of Eternal and Quick Draw. That was our first strike mechanic in that game, which is it only worked on your turn, which is now, I would say like probably half the first strikers now or something, or 35% of the first strikers in Magic that they print also do that. First strike is just a really annoying ability when it's defensive. Because it's just like they attack with the 3/2 and you block and they bend their creature and it's like, oh, I should have known that's an on the board trick. Or you get 2 of these out and they can never attack, So it's a better design to just be on your turn. In any case, the Spikeling's totally fine. It's a good attacker early. It counts for a Vivid. It's, Kithkin and Goblins are pretty happy to play this card just as a good aggressive thing. Merfolk, I think a little bit less so, and Elementals a little less so, but Kithkin and Goblins in particular want it. It's a C. It's just a good bridge card.
Yeah, and that's what all of these seem to be, these changelings. The other red-white card is called Hovel Hurler, and it is 3 and 2 red-white hybrid, so 5 mana total for a 6/7 giant warrior at uncommon, but it enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. So what is it, a 4/5 when it ETBs? And then it has an activated ability of 2 red-white hybrid, so 2 mana to remove a counter from it. And if you do, another target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains flying until end of turn. Wow. And you can do that at sorcery speed only, although typically you would probably want to do that at sorcery speed anyway. Wow. And this thing gets bigger.
Yeah. I mean, this is not bad because, again, double hybrid, even again off color, and 5 mana total means even in like, you know, a red blue deck or a green white deck, you probably can just cast this when you have 5 mana. It's not a big issue. So I like B for Hovel Hurler. It's a pretty substantial card. Like, I think I like it most in Kithkin by far, because when you play, this is going to be like the kind of card where, like, imagine your opponent's playing Kithkin, they come out the gate strong, you stabilize at like 10 life, and then they cast this as their last card, and you're like, oh, I need to kill that or I'm going to lose.
Like next turn, I'm dead. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it can't throw itself. That wouldn't make sense flavor wise, but next turn they'll send like maybe one of their 3/3s to the sky, hit you for 4, and this is now a 5/6, and you're just like not loving how things are going. So I like B for this in Kithkin, and probably like C for it. And like Elementals just doesn't want this card. Like, it's not the kind of thing it needs. And Goblins, actually, no, not bad in Goblins either. So I like B for this in Kithkin or Goblins.
Yeah, definitely.
As a good finisher.
I mean, and you know, just, you will have most of the time the mana to activate this again too, right? Like you will be able to, at least over the course of 2 turns, activate it. If not, just the next turn, just go activate, activate, slam.
Sometimes that'll happen. And in Merfolk, I think it's also closer to a C. Merfolk has its own flyers. It doesn't really need this sort of thing, I don't think.
Takeaways here, by the way, we've got one more color pair, but definitely the takeaways that I have are, if it's double hybrid, you can consider it in an off color way. And if it's triple, you should be very skeptical. Like, it's difficult to work.
Well,
like,
we have a triple color hybrid coming that I actually think is pretty good. So
the only other one was Reaping Willow, right? That like, if you can cast it, it looks really strong, but you know, that's the hard part. So the next, so blue green is our last color pair. Chitinous Graspling?
Yeah.
Is that what you think that is?
3 in a blue-green hybrid for a 3/4 changeling with reach. This is like straight up filler. Common. Like you can put this in any deck. It's very easy to cast, even if you're just one of the 2 colors. But a 4 mana 3/4 reach is not super impressive. And the fact that it's all the types obviously is good, but this still seems pretty replaceable to me.
Man, check out that artwork too. RKF, old school.
RKF. RKF is one of those artists that's like, you instantly determine all of his cards.
Right
you know?
away. Yeah.
RKF, Drew Tucker, like, these are some of the people. Like,
it's interesting seeing it in the next to a bunch of other cards too, because it's pretty obvious that he goes, I'm going to do it the way I'd like.
Well, yes.
And everybody else kind of has to follow
get a style guide, and they have to follow it, and then he gets a pass. But you know, look,
I like it.
As someone who often gets a pass, I think if you've earned it, you've earned it.
Jesus. The last of our hybrid cards is Glister Bairn, and this is the one you were saying you think might be worth it. It's 2 and 3 green blue hybrid, so 5 mana total for a 1/4 oof. It's uncommon, and it has Vivid. At the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of colors among permanents you control. So you think this is just like a finisher for the 5 color deck?
I actually retract the earlier statement where I said you weren't going to be blue green that often. I kind of ran over the fact that the blue green is the base for the 5 color deck. Blue green is Vivid, and so and come to think of it, I did play against 2 blue green / 5 color decks where you're often going to have this be a little easier to cast. It's not that you're only playing islands and forests. It's that you're like heavy green with more blue than maybe some of the other colors, and then the other colors. And in that world, this is a creature that provides 2 of the colors itself, pretty easy to get a 3rd. And then when we talk about Foraging Wickermaw, which is a common like kind of 5 color mana fixer that also turns into a color, and hybrid cards, you can easily get this to be +3/+3, +4/+4, and that's a pretty substantial card. You make a 2/2 attack as like a 5/5 or a 6/6, and this just sits there blocking as a 1/4. Eats blight counters pretty well too. So it's situational, and it's not on its face quite as powerful as something like Reaping Willow, but I do think it's going to be pretty much easier to cast in the deck that actually does end up wanting to play it, since I think the Vivid deck is reasonably supported. Like, you got their 5 main archetypes that are well supported. You can always draft them. You've got your off-color ones, which maybe sometimes you're blue-black, rarely ever you're like black-white or red-white. And then you have like blue-green, which I actually think you are like in between those two things. So
Okay.
I think that this is okay. I would still give Glister Baron like a B minus, C plus, but it is more than just a triple color card that you're only going to be doing one of the two colors. You are going to be playing blue and green a little more often than some of these other things. Like red green, I don't think you're basically ever going to draft. There's just not that many reasons to do that.
Okay. So the elementals deck is its own thing, and then the 5-color deck, like the vivid deck, if you will, is a separate entity from that.
But also kind of elementals.
But it does include some of the elementals. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like green for mana fixing, blue for elementals, because a lot of the elementals are the ones that, like, all the vivid cards are elementals pretty much. I mean, not all of them. This is an oof, but like the majority of the vivid cards have the elemental type.
Okay. Yeah, this one seems tough to me. I mean, the thing I don't like about it, besides how obviously difficult it is to cast outside of just straight up blue green, is that, like, I don't know, is augmenting my combat, is that the thing I'm going for to give me that inevitability to win the game for setting up my complicated mana base or for casting a difficult to cast creature? It's not zero, right? It's on the list somewhere, but if we're talking about like drawing extra cards or creating more onboard advantage in terms of creatures or tokens or something like that, I'm more interested in those things generally as my payoff, rather than something that says, all right, now you can attack well, with an individual creature. It would get the job done eventually, but it's not really top of my list. So I would give Glister Baron a lower grade. Like, I would give it a D. Just looking at it, it seems very difficult to cast, and the payoff seems fine, but not really exciting. Like, if this was card draw or tokens, or it made flyers or any other thing that, affected the board or, kind of gave me that inevitability, I think I'd be a little more stoked on it.
I think I agree with you on it not being the first stop of what the vivid decks want to do, because it's not great at like stabilizing you. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's going to be difficult to cast in the decks that you play it, because what I'm trying to say is, like, those decks are going to have like 12 blue/green sources in their deck. Okay. So that's not as big the issue.
That taxes less.
Right. That's the only point.
Okay. So interesting. We seem to be focused in on these 5 main archetypes or whatever, and we'll see how this goes for the in-betweeners. We're going to start, we rotate which color we start with each set review, just to keep it fresh and fair. We are back on white. We've gone through the entire color cycle. So we're going to start off with white, where our first card is Evershrike's Gift. This is white for an enchantment aura. At uncommon, it enchants a creature. The creature gets +1/+0 and has flying. And you can pay 1 and a white and blight 2 to return this card from your graveyard to your hand at sorcery speed. That could actually be annoying, right?
Yeah, I mean, the recursive give a thing flying, like Griff's Boon, if you remember that card.
Yeah, that was
they're very good in aggressive decks. It's kind of like how equipment that gives flying is largely bad, but in a specific deck like Kithkin, I think is going to be the main deck for this one. You get down to a low life total, but you stabilize, and then they go Evershrike's Gift on my 2/2, attack you for 3, and you're like, okay, they're basically going to get to keep throwing flyers at me until I die. So I like B- for Evershrike Gifts in Kithkin specifically, and I would typically just not look at playing it in Merfolk.
Yeah, I agree. I do think the one thing to mention, though, is that, like, maybe you blight it back once and it's like it was a creature that wasn't going to attack anyway, or maybe it had a thing on it and it was going to die. Who cares? But I don't know, if you're looking at blighting it back a second time in the course of a game, like, you are eating into your board state in a very meaningful way. So you can't just do this forever like you can with some of the old versions of it. Next up is Gold Meadow Nomad. This is white for a 1/2 Kithkin Scout at common, and it has an activated ability, white, exile this card from your graveyard to create a 1/1 green and white Kithkin token at sorcery speed. Well, that looks extremely annoying.
Yeah, this is exactly the kind of card Kithkin want. I would consider a C+ for this card.
Definitely.
Like, in the Kithkin deck, this is just like I bet in like 5 days or 7 days, whenever the set's out. And if I'm like, Marshall, I have a Kithkin deck, it has 4 gold metal nomads. You're like, oh, dude, that sounds great.
That's amazing. Totally.
Yeah.
This is one of those ones that I would tab for, like, has a chance to be best white common, even though you read it and it doesn't really look that way. These curve out aggressive decks, especially the ones that really care about creature type. I mean, this effectively gives you 2 Kithkin ETBs. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the better white commons. I would go C+ for it for now.
The interesting question is how often you play it in Merfolk, and I actually think it's a solid Merfolk card because Merfolk has a lot of Convoke. Imagine if you had 5 Convoke cards in your deck. You're always playing this. So
definitely.
I would start it at a C. I would start it at a C in Merfolk, but it is a solid card for that deck too.
Next is Kinsbale Aspirant. This is white for a 2/1 Kithkin Citizen. This one's uncommon, and it says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, behold a Kithkin or pay 2. And then remember, that means you can reveal a Kithkin from your hand or choose a Kithkin you control. And it says, whenever another creature you control enters, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
Can we dock this? Because the art is just among the dumbest art I've ever seen.
This is also another old school artist. If
I know,
you remember,
Margaret Morgan Keane, but
yeah.
I didn't like her art then. I don't like it now.
This has not aged. Yeah, I do not like this one either. It just looks proportionally strange.
And the Kithkin standing like it looked like you're about to take a poop.
Yeah, there are vibes of that as well. Yeah, not the best.
That's what my kids look like when they're about to do that. So
yeah, but this is a properly aggressive, right? I mean, on turn 1,
it's a good card.
Yeah, turn 1, you just play it, reveal a creature from your hand, and many times if you're just in the full-on Kithkin deck, and then, as you curve out, this thing slams for 3 or sometimes 4 damage.
Yeah, it's very close in your opening hand to a 1-mana 3/2, and that's obviously great. So this is actually like a B- for Kithkin because it's just exactly what you want in the Kithkin deck.
Just not a front runner for your favorite artwork of the set.
It's a back runner. Next we have Wanderbrine Trapper. This is white for a 2/1 Merfolk Scout at uncommon, and it has 1 tap another untapped creature you control, tap target creature and opponent.
Oh, that's really cool.
Love this card.
Wow.
This card you'd happily play in Kithkin. It doesn't really get a different grade in Kithkin or Merfolk. And I think since every monocolor card fits into 2 of these creature types, it's just more accurate to talk about the grades for each, honestly, because there are some meaningful differences. But this one, perfect for Kithkin. It's a 1-mana 2/1 with a good ability. But in Merfolk, it's the nuts because you tap your own Merfolk for stuff.
That's wild.
This could even tap multiple Merfolk because you can just, it taps a creature an opponent controls. So you can't double dip. You can't tap a Merfolk and tap another Merfolk, but it doesn't matter. You don't need to do that very often. So I like B+ for Wanderbrine Trapper. Honestly, it's not an A-, it's not quite an A-level card, but this is about as good as it gets for Merfolk.
Yeah,
it's a 1-mana 2/1 that bashes. It's a B+. I don't think this is a B.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's a 1-mana 2/1. It bashes early if they don't have a creature. It locks down stuff in the mid to late game, and it enables your Merfolk stuff, and it's good with Convoke. Like, it's the perfect card. I mean, this is
wild.
Again, you couldn't design a better card for Merfolk if if you wanted to. So I like B+ for Wanderbrine Trapper. Really good card.
Wow, that's an impressive one. Next up is Bark of Doran. This is is that his bark? Like the bark from him? Oh no. White.
Poor Doran.
Yeah, poor Doran. This is 1 and a white for an art. He's a tree folk, by the way, or he was apparently. This is 1 and a white for an artifact. People are just carrying around pieces of him now. It's uncommon. It's an equipment.
It's not clear to me, is the bark, because bark naturally falls off trees to some degree.
It does.
Is it more like we shed a fingernail, or someone cut off my arm and is using it as a club?
Right. I want to know.
As someone who played Doran in a Pro Tour and Treefolk Harbinger,
you totally did. Yes. Was that Amsterdam? When was that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Oh yeah, Amsterdam 2010,
baby.
Lost playing for top 8 to none other than Brian Kibler. Actually, 2 rounds in a row. Brian Kibler and Guillaume Wafo-Tapa, 2 Hall of Famers. Great the game.
Yeah, you can't be too sad about that, I guess. Bark of Doran, 1 and a white for an artifact, equipment, and uncommon. Equipped creature gets +0/+1. As long as equipped creature's toughness is greater than its power, it assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power, which is, by the way, what Doran did for everything. And it has an equip cost of just 1.
So the joke here is, like, if you had a 1/3 this basically gives it +3/+1.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the punchline falls flat for me. I think this is probably like a D. You would have to have a very specific deck where you'd want to go through the motions to do this, I think.
Yeah, because like what happens if you just put it on a 2/2? It becomes effectively a 3/3, right?
Yeah, +1/+1.
Yeah. Okay. Not that exciting, really.
It is. Yeah. There are maybe some configurations of toughness where you'd like this, but I don't like Bark of Dorian very much.
I don't either. I think the issue too
Sacrificed his bark in for what?
I think the other thing is that anytime you're putting a card into your deck that isn't of your chosen creature type or isn't a removal spell or something that, you know, directly affects the board in that way, it's probably a pretty big ask. Like there's not going to be a lot of slots in these decks for cards like this.
This is exactly what I said when I was recording a video, because early access ended this morning. I got to do one more draft. And
oh, nice.
I was playing elves, and I was like, you know, in an elf deck, you want 16 or 17 elves, leaves you 6 or 7 slots. You just want all of those to be removal.
Right. Cards
like Pump Spells or Bark of Doran, you're just not going to play. So honestly, it's an F in the sense that I don't think I'm ever going to put this in my deck.
Also, it's just rude. Next is Burden Stoneback. This is 1 and a white for a 4/4 giant warrior at uncommon, but it does enter with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. And you can pay 1 and a white and remove a counter from this creature to have target creature gain indestructible until end of turn. But there is a catch. You can only do it as a sorcery. So this is like, you know, a way for you to get the full size of Burden Stoneback on the battlefield with a small benefit, but don't think of it as like this sick creature that just sits there and protects all your other stuff.
No, it's kind of a weird card because it's like, oh, wow, I get double indestructible and eventually a 4/4, but it's kind of clunky. It's like, okay, I'll make my 2/2 indestructible attack past your 2/2, you know, great. And by the time this is a 4/4, like you're not really getting ahead of the curve on that. So I have to play with this one more.
Non-relevant creature type. It's a giant warrior.
Not.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it's a semi-relevant creature type. There are a couple of giant cards that care about giants. There's just not very many. So I would give the Stoneback probably like a C. And like, it's a 2-mana 2/2. Like you're going to put a 2-mana 2/2 that has abilities in your deck most of the time. So, you know, I think Kithkin will play this most of the time you draft it.
Okay. Next is Encumbered Regery. This is 1 and a white for a 5/4 Merfolk soldier at uncommon. And yes, it does enter with -1/-1 counters on it. In this case, it's 3 of them. And it says, whenever this creature becomes tapped, while it has a -1/-1 counter on it, remove a -1/-1 counter on it. Wow. Okay, now that's some business, right? Because you effectively get the first one for free just from attacking. And then if, you know, that's probably the key moment right there, right? Like if it
can live
survives
through the first
that,
attack.
Yeah.
But of course, in a Merfolk deck, there's so many ways to tap it that aren't attacking. So like it's pretty much a free roll. This card is excellent. I would give it a B. Like it's not like a bomb uncommon, but you'll be really happy with this in Merfolk. It's also fine in Kithkin. Like you know, one of the things I've noticed is that Merfolk and Kithkin overlap in more ways than say goblins and elves, I would say.
Like strategically they overlap? Is that
a lot? They both want cheap white creatures. So they're a lot more lined up there. Whereas something like elementals and goblins is kind of its own thing. Elementals and goblins don't overlap that much. So the red cards aren't frequently going to be good in both, you know, and same with elves and goblins and the black cards. At least that's been my impression so far. So we're going to see a lot of like similar grades for Merfolk and Kithkin, whereas I think this is a B in Merfolk and a B- in Kithkin, whereas like a lot of the cards are like, this is a B in goblins and a D in elves. So just something to keep in mind.
That small of a grade difference, even though one of them is like Merfolk in the Merfolk deck?
Well, think of it in Kithkin. You play this card on 2, you have a trick or a pump spell to get it past that hump, and you end up with basically a 2-mana 5/4, right?
It's really good.
Plus, the Kithkin deck is going to take some of the like self-tap stuff or Convoke stuff. Convoke is great in Kithkin. Like I said, the hybrid Merfolk 2/2 that makes a 1/1 flyer, I think that card is good in Kithkin too. Right. Like you're not like looking at that card and like, oh, this is only a Merfolk card. So really both those decks can often be heavy white, and then you choose the second color based on what's kind of showing up. So that also makes it a lot safer to start in white than it does to start in some of the other colors. Like red, I think, is probably one of the worst colors to start with in my first impressions, because elementals and goblins don't overlap, and I have the suspicion that elementals is not a good deck. But at least blue-red. The 5-color one might actually be pretty good.
Next up is Keep Out. This is 1 and a white for an instant at common. It says choose one. Keep Out deals 4 damage to target tapped creature or destroy target enchantment.
Yeah, I mean, it kills an attacker fairly well, but also can kill merfolk that are tapping for other things. So it's like, it's not quite as situational. And then destroying an enchantment, it's not like amazing text, but when it comes up, it's probably pretty good. There's a 4-mana O-Ring in the set. Killing that is really nice. So
yeah,
I like C+ for Keep Out. I think it's you'll be happy with it.
yeah, this is a pretty classic best of one card design that we see these days, and they usually do pretty well. Next is Personify. This is 1 and a white for an instant. It is uncommon. It says exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Create a 1/1 colorless shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. So you get an ETB, you can save your creature from removal spell, you can chump block and blink to, try to keep your life total up, and you get a throw-in bonus of a 1/1 Changeling, which is like, that's a real thing.
Yeah. I mean, we would give a 2-mana 1/1 flash Changeling that exiled and did the same thing, high grade, and this is only a little worse than that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is a little worse because, the token can get bounced and it'll die. You can't, bring it back from the graveyard or whatever, but this is still a B. Like, this is, I would say, even trending towards a B+. It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, this does have to target a creature you control, right? So that's, a much bigger risk than the other version, but
true.
But still, I like it.
But you're mostly casting this in response to a removal spell. So you're not getting 2 for 1. If they kill it in response, then right. It's a 2 for 2. So.
Handle with care with Personify, but yeah, I like instant speed ETBs, especially when you're getting 2 triggers, from whatever it is that you're blinking. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I'd say like B- for Personify.
I mean, look at it this way: like, they think they're taking you down 1 Merfolk or Kithkin, and all of a sudden you have 2 instead of 0. Like, it's the Changeling is pretty big,
and any ETB triggers are happening. That's pretty good. River Guard's Reflexes is next. This is 1 and a white for an instant at common. It says target creature gets +2/+2 and gains first strike until end of turn. This is interesting. You also get to untap it. We were talking about first strike as a mechanic and how, it really plays better as an aggressive mechanic, but this thing is kind of leaning into the defensive side of it by letting you untap and get first strike. It's never the chosen way to go, right? Like you never feel good when your opponent's like, attack with my stuff, and you just have to tap 2 mana, target your creature into their open mana and just pray that they don't have anything. That is never plan A. But I have to say, if it does come to that, this is going to let you win a defensive combat quite a bit. And then that's all ancillary to the fact that it's just like, it's going to let you win offensive combat a lot as well, which is, its primary goal. The downside, it is 2 mana. The best combat tricks in the set are almost always 1 mana combat tricks. And this one's 2, which is acceptable. 3 is where you start to get kind of sketchy. But I would end up putting this probably like a C-.
Yeah, I think it's probably closer to a D in the sense that you just don't have room for too much, but especially in the Convoke color.
Right.
Like, you're just not going to play this very often.
Yeah, exactly. Next is Spiral into Solitude. This is 1 and a white for an enchantment aura at common. It says enchant creature. Enchanted creature can't attack or block, and you can pay 1 and a white and blight 1 and sacrifice this aura to exile the enchanted creature. Now that's sweet. I like that.
Yeah, it's a pacifism that lets you get the thing off the board, so it doesn't count for their creature type stuff. And, anything else like that can kill creatures with abilities pretty nicely. So I like B for Spiral into Solitude. Just a great removal spell.
That's a great removal spell. Next up is Timid Shield Bearer. This is 1 and a white for a 2/2 Kithkin Soldier at common. And it says it has activated ability 4 and a white. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. What is timid about this guy?
Yeah,
he rallies the troops around him. I mean, at any rate, that seems very solid to me.
Yeah, it's a C. You're just
looks like
you'll always play the card. It'll be fine. I mean, the next card's basically the same. And I don't think there's a massive difference for Timid Shield Bearer between Kithkin and Merfolk. It's just it's a good card in your go wide cheap white creature Convoke deck. Wanderbrine Preacher is 1 and a white for a 2/2 Merfolk Cleric at common. And whenever it becomes tapped, you gain 2 life. So this one is like a C in Merfolk and like a C- in Kithkin. Like, again, it's a playable 2-drop. Sometimes in Merfolk, you have a repeated tap effect, and this just gains you 2 life a turn without getting into combat, and that's excellent. But otherwise, it plays kind of like a 2/2 lifelinker on attacks, at least. So,
Okay.
fine card.
Next
Overall
is
C.
Klaken Festival.
Yeah, I actually don't know how to pronounce that exactly,
but
but
I'm
it's
gonna go with
2 and a
Klaken.
white for a Kindred Enchantment Kithkin. So this counts as a Kithkin on the board at uncommon. When it enters, make 2 1/1 green and white Kithkins.
Wow.
And you can pay 4 and a white and make a green and white Kithkin.
Wow.
So this is, I mean, you cast this, you get 3 Kithkin into play. So if you had something like the Thought Weft green white thing, yeah, maybe this is the kind of card that makes that card really pop.
Right.
And then if the board ever slows down and you don't do anything, you might as well spend 5 mana to make a 1/1, which is not a headliner ability, but certainly better to have that option than not.
Yeah, and I would say, you make the 1/1, but ideally you're getting some triggers off of that, right? You're getting something more than just literally a 1/1 token on the battlefield. That would be kind of where you'd want to be. That looks like a B to me. That's just a lot of material for one card.
And even in Merfolk, if you have enough Convoke cards, this is, I think, probably more like a C+ in Merfolk, but it still can help you, enable all your Convoke stuff.
Turbo it out. Next is, Crib Swap is back. This is 2 and a white for a Kindred instant Shapeshifter. This is uncommon. It has Changeling, and it says exile target creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 colorless Shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. I mean, this card had its uses back in the day, but generally speaking, I'm down on these type of cards now. Anything that gives your opponent, we've kind of stress tested these to the point that they just get almost anything, and these cards fail. They do not do well. Crib Swap, I mean, it does exile anything, but it really does feel like a 1/1 Changeling on your opponent's side is approaching the value of a card and makes it, so that I would lean away from Crib Swap more. I have fond memories of it, but in Modern Era Limited, it seems like a card like Crib Swap maybe isn't where I want to be. Maybe the fact that it's a Kindred instant Shapeshifter changes that a bit. I don't know.
Yeah, that doesn't matter that much, honestly. Like, it does help with the Eclipsed Marrow can pick it up if it sees it, right? Like the Merfolk that looks at the top 4 and can grab a Merfolk, like it does count as that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not a lot of things that trigger on playing a Merfolk. It's more like when a Merfolk enters or stuff like that. Like, I think that's more typically the thing. You can target your own thing if you want, but that's not that strong either.
Right.
I think I would lean towards playing this in Merfolk more often than not, and not playing it in Kithkin, because Kithkin really hates giving them a 1/1 because they're trying to attack on the ground.
Totally.
Merfolk, I think, can live with that. So I would give this probably like a C+ in Merfolk and like a C to C- in Kithkin.
Okay.
And I have to ask, do you remember the famous Seattle PTQ
Oh,
crib swap
absolutely.
story?
The Baneslayer Angel.
Yep, someone crib swapped a Baneslayer Angel, which has protection from demons and dragons, of which this is. And I don't honestly remember the people involved, so it's not like I'm not naming names for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
There's a high suspicion the person casting the crib swap knew what was happening.
I have names, but we're not going to drop them. I agree. I think C- for crib swap. It might even be a D+. Like, seriously giving your opponent an on creature type permanent is just a big cost to something like that.
I just think in Merfolk, you're probably playing this when you have it. You're not going to take it super high.
It is a powerful removal spell. Yeah.
But you're going to put this in your deck when you're playing Merfolk. When you're Kithkin, you might not.
Okay. Next is Flock Imposter. Artwork is really funny. It's 2 and a white for a 2/2
shape. All looks so goofy.
Well, it's like you're not really getting away with it, Flock Imposter. You're standing out a bit. 2 and a white for a 2/2 Shapeshifter at uncommon. It's got Changeling, Flash, and Flying. And it says, when this creature enters, return up to one other target creature you control to its owner's hand. Wow. That's got a lot going for it right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's flying too. The flying is really kind of the kicker for me, where It would be good as a 3-mana 2/2 changeling with flash that bounces a creature because that's like does a lot of what you want.
Yeah.
And then it has flying, so it's just like always a relevant game piece. So I like B for Flock Imposter.
I do too.
It's good.
That seems amazing. Any deck that can cast it will want that. Next is Meander's Guide. This is 2 and a white for a 3/2 Merfolk Scouted uncommon. And it says, whenever this creature attacks, you may tap another untapped Merfolk you control. When you do, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. You can tell that they carefully engineered this card, Luis, to have that 2 toughness so that it's probably going to be a one-off. Because this is not a, when this thing gets tapped, this is, it actually has to attack.
Yeah, I think it'd be way too obnoxious if it was when it became tapped. That would just be an engine. But
yeah,
still, what's going to happen with this a lot of the time is you'll attack, tap another Merfolk, maybe even get a trigger off that, and then trade while getting back whatever your best Merfolk is in the graveyard. That's cheap. So I like B for Meander's Guide. I think you're just gonna play that card. And also this is a lot better in Merfolk than Kithkin because it requires another Merfolk. So this is not quite as flexible.
Next up is Moonlit Lamenter. This is 2 and a white for a 2/5 Tree Folk Cleric at uncommon. And it says this creature enters with a -1/-1 counter on it. And you can pay 1 and a white and remove a counter from it to draw a card at sorcery speed.
Yeah, this card's great.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean you play this and it's a 1/4, and then you get to remove a counter, draw a card, and you have a 2/5.
Maybe I'm just overly skeptical of off creature type stuff because this is obviously a good card. Like you get a lot of stats, you get mana back, or you get your card back.
This is a card that does reward you for going outside the lanes because in black white when you're blighting this, it can be really really strong.
Oh, that's gnarly! It could just be a straight up card draw engine. That's amazing.
Yeah, but even I think without that, I think it's a reasonable card. You play this as a 1/4 blocker and then cash in the counter later to draw cards. It's totally legit. I would give this probably like a C+.
Okay. I mean, it looks like a B to me, just like at face value, but the fact that it doesn't cleanly fit, into any other deck makes me a little skeptical. Honestly, when I hear you say that stuff about, like, I just want to play a black-white deck now.
I think you maybe can sometimes.
The two coolest cards have been both in black-white somehow.
Yeah. Well, I am not like saying I know all the things about the format at this point. Black-white could be a deck that you can draft a reasonable percentage of the time.
Okay.
You will have to see as we go through the set and start playing it.
It's just experience says that you're going to do that. You're going to think you have a pretty decent version of it. And then somebody's going to play a bunch of commons that all share a creature type and they're going to stomp you. And you're going to be like, yeah, why did I even bother? That has been the experience thus far. So yeah, C+ for Moonlit Lamenter because it is potentially without home. Next is Protective Response. This is 2 and a white for an instant and uncommon. It has Convoke, and it says destroy target attacking or blocking creature. Nice.
Yeah, this card's really nice.
Yeah,
it's fantastic in both Merfolk and Kithkin. Slightly better in Merfolk because the tapping can actually just be a pretty big benefit. But I would give it a B. I mean, a 0 mana removal. Sometimes you're like, you line up a triple block and they play a pump spell when you're tapped out. You're just like, boop.
Yeah, or you're just curving out normally, right? And you have 2 creatures in a land and they attack and you just get to kill it. Like these are very commonly seen.
I love Convoke.
Patterns.
Convoke is one of my favorite mechanics because awesome. it makes you feel so rewarded for lining up those efficient turns.
It does. Next is Pyrrhic Strike. This is 2 and a white for an instant at uncommon. And it says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, you may blight 2. Choose 1. If this spell's additional cost was paid, choose both instead. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, or destroy target creature with mana value 3 or greater.
Yeah, so just straight up 3 mana, kill a creature with mana value 3 or greater. It'd be like a B-. Like you're not going to be unhappy playing that card. And then getting the ability to destroy an artifact or enchantment. Plus, the blight on a white card is kind of nice. If you have like Moonlit Lamenter, like the Tree Folk, like you can do some things there. That ends up being a circuitous way to draw a bunch of cards. So I like B for Pyrrhic Strike.
Definitely. Next is Reluctant Downguard. This is 2 and a white. This is 2 and a white for a 4/4 Kithkin Soldier at common, and it says this creature enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. Whenever another creature you control enters, while this creature has a -1/-1 counter on it, remove a -1/-1 counter from this creature. Nice. It's a Kithkin, so it counts for that. And again, it just doesn't ask that much of you. You know, you're going to be casting or having creatures ETB anyway. That's kind of the name of the game, particularly in Kithkin. So you are going to get yourself a 3-mana 4/4 out of the deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit like an Avatar Enthusiast, but it just stops at 2.
It just stops, yeah.
So I like C for this. You'll play this in Kithkin.
Yeah.
We probably won't play in Merfolk that often.
Next is Tributary Vaulter. This is, wow, there's so many 2 and a white cards. This one's 2 and a white for a 1/3 Merfolk Warrior at common. It has flying, and it says whenever this creature becomes tapped, another target Merfolk you control gets +2/+0 until end of turn.
Yeah, this card plays out nicely.
Yeah.
The fact that it has flying means it's pretty trivial to get it tapped. And if you have a way to tap it at instant speed, like on defense, or even just on like when it's untapped and you didn't attack with it, it becomes a combat trick because you can just target any of your creatures at that point. And I wouldn't play it outside of Merfolk really, but I like it at C in Merfolk. This is one of the cards you're going to put in your Merfolk decks.
Yeah, the 3 toughness is key on a card like that too.
Yeah.
Next is Appeal to Erdu or Irdu. This is 3 and a white for an instant. It's common. It has Convoke, and it says 1 or 2 target creatures each get +2/+1 until end of turn. What do you think about these dual pump spells these days? I mean, this one has Convoke, but...
Yeah, but it's hard to play it on offense because your creatures are presumably tapped because you're from attacking. So I'm not sure. This certainly can be good. So and this would be one of the combat tricks I'd be a little more interested in because at least it's got a powerful output. So I would give Appeal to Erdu a C and try it in Merfolk and Kithkin. More Merfolk, I guess, because again, the Convoke stuff just gets a little better there. But it's possible we end up coming to the conclusion you shouldn't really play this card.
Yeah, definitely. It's a generous C to start with, but we will see. Next is Gallant Foul Knight. That art is great. 3 and a white for a 3/4 Kithkin Knight at common, and it says when this creature enters, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Kithkin creatures you control also gain first strike until end of turn. That's pretty annoying curve, mid curve guy here.
Well, for Kithkin, it's kind of the curve topper. They're probably not doing too much more expensive. I would not play this in Merfolk, so it's like a D in Merfolk, I would say. But in Kithkin, it looks like a C. You probably want 1 or 2 of these and have that be kind of your little mini overrun.
I agree.
Seems solid.
Looks like a very...
It might be a C+ in Kithkin, honestly. Like, there are some boards where casting this is going to make it pretty hard for your opponent to block.
Definitely, especially if you get that quick start. Next is Liminal Hold. This is 3 and a white for an enchantment at common, and it says, when this enchantment enters, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent an opponent controls until this enchantment leaves the battlefield. You gain 2 life. Beautiful. Man, the 2 life is a big game too.
Just a nice little O-ring with upside. I like it.
Yeah, and this is a classic B in that it pulls you to the colors, etc. Next is Shore Lurker. This is 3 and a white for a 3/3 Merfolk Scout at common. It's got flying, and when it enters, you surveil 1. Is this Merfolk filler?
Yeah, but even like bad Merfolk filler, I think this is like a C-. Like, it's fine if you play it, but I wouldn't kind of go out of my way to take the card.
Thoughtweft Imbuer is next. This is 3 and a white for a 0/5 Kithkin Advisor at uncommon. But it says whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of Kithkin you control.
Basically gives all your Kithkin and Exalted. So, and this card I think is actually quite strong. In a Kithkin deck, it has the drawback of you attack with 1 big ground creature, they can start chumping. But if you find a Trampler or a Flyer or a Lifelinker, you're kind of making some moves. And sometimes they just don't have that many creatures out, and your 1/1 attacks as a 5/5, and it's pretty hard for them to deal with. Plus, at an 0/5, it can block pretty well, and it can wear Blight pretty well if that comes up.
Do you think your win rate goes up or down if you substitute Thoughtweft Imbuer for Gallant Foul Knight?
I think it goes up. I think Thoughtweft Imbuer is probably better.
Okay.
Because I think the Gallant Foul Knight could improve the situation.
It has its own stats.
Yeah. The Foul Knight will take a situation where you're like close to having a good attack or having a decent attack to having like a great attack. But it doesn't take you from having like no attacks to a good attack a lot of the time. Thoughtweft Imbuer can break through a board stall in a way that the Gallant Foul Knight can't, and it's every turn. So
Yeah, I'm also just thinking about the normal curve out though, right? Where it's like sometimes you just need a 4-drop that has power and toughness, and this one even has a bit of a bump where the Thoughtweft Imbuer kind of relies on you having at least another Kithkin or two plus one that you're willing to turn sideways. It's also like, even though it is 0-5, you'd think of it as a good blocker. I mean, I think you could argue that a 3-4 is a better blocker as it can actually eat or trade for things that the Imbuer can't. So I don't know. That's an interesting contrast. I would give the Thoughtweft Imbuer like a C+. I like cards like this. Exalted is one of my absolute favorite mechanics, but I don't have it that high. Next up is Sun Dappled Celebrant. This is 4 white for a 5/6 Tree Folk Cleric at common, and it has Convoke and Vigilance. Man, I just want all these Tree Folk. I like the Tree Folk deck. Like,
yeah, you're a Tree Folk guy. I didn't know that. I think this card's just okay because a Convoke flyer, a Convoke removal spell, these are money. My fear with Sun Dappled Celebrant is by the time you play it, you're not that far ahead of the curve. Sometimes you'll play it on like turn 4 and that'll be really good, but no, it's solid. I don't know. I would give it probably a C. Like, I think it's good in both Kithkin and Merfolk. It's probably better in Kithkin despite the Convoke stuff mostly being better in Merfolk, just because I think Merfolk doesn't need this and are more care about setting up Merfolk synergies, whereas Kithkin, a little more agnostic about what it's attacking with. It does want stats ultimately.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the perfect curve would be the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
and then turn 4 you get this down.
Well, you can turn 4 without a 1. You can just play
just go 2 to 3. So but turn 4 is the soonest realistically that you're getting it down. Okay.
You can get it out on turn 3 if you go 1-drop into double 1-drop or 1-drop into like 2 tokens or something like that.
Okay. Last white card is called Kithkeeper. It's an uncommon. It costs 7 mana, 6 and a white for a 3/3. But it has, and it's an elemental, by the way, random. It has Vivid. When this creature enters, create X 1/1 green and white Kithkin creature tokens, where X is the number of colors among permanents you control. And it says tap 3 untapped creatures you control. This creature gets +3/+0 and gains flying until end of turn. What a random card.
Well, it's a Vivid card, so this is like a seed for the 5-color elementals deck.
This is like the white payoff.
Yeah, and I think it's actually really strong. I mean, you're often going to get like 3 Kithkin out of this, which is exactly how many you need to make this into a 6/3 flyer. And Cloud Goat Ranger reminiscent. Though it's really creepy story. Is the Kithkeeper an elemental that raises a bunch of Kithkin and just harvests them?
It feels like it totally, like that Kithkin does not look like it wants to be there.
Yeah. So I think in specifically the elemental Vivid 5-color deck, this is like a B. But outside of that, I think you're generally not going to be that interested in playing it. Like, I just don't know how Kithkin and Merfolk are really trying to ramp up to 7 and having 3 colors of permanence in play. That doesn't seem like their game.
Like I mean, I was waiting for it to say Convoke, for that type of deck.
Right. That's what it looks like, right? 7 mana.
An actual 7-drop.
But I have lost this card already. It is a very threatening card. And the single color means you have a couple 5-color sources. You can play it in your like blue, green, red deck without that much trouble.
And it does count itself. So like, yeah,
you're already getting spotted a color you don't otherwise have. Right. So it's not hard to get to 3 and sometimes more.
That's interesting. Okay. That moves us to blue. Our first card is an old classic called Spell Snare. It's blue for an instant and uncommon. And it says counter target spell with mana value 2.
This is one of the ones that there's a huge delta between how good it is in constructed and how good it is in limited. Because there's been times when this has been excellent in constructed. And I think this card is quite bad in limited.
Yeah, terrible.
So, here's the thing, and I know people play this card because I've seen multiple people with it in their deck, though no one's actually successfully cast it against me. They like milled it or discarded it, because the reality is when you land this, you get an advantage. You spent 1 mana, they spent 2. But you don't get a massive advantage. It's like you shocked their 2-drop. It's not like you destroyed them. And when you don't land this, when you don't have a target for it, it just rots in your hand. So we're talking a scenario where when it works, it's okay, and it often doesn't work. That's not a card I want in my deck. I would consider this a sideboard card. There are some matchups where if you're playing best of 3, which I understand not as many people play as they used to, but when you're playing best of 3 and you go through game 1 and they play like 7 or 8 2-drops, then you're like, okay, yeah, I'll play this. But some decks have 4 2-drops in them, and they're not even like the most important cards in their deck. So I'm not in for Spell Snare. I would say it's like a sideboard C. Otherwise, it's kind of like an F.
It's an F. Yeah, I would not run Spell Snare. Next is Aquatex Defenses. This is 1 and a blue For an enchantment aura at common, it has flash. It enchants a creature you control. And when it enters, enchanted creature gains hexproof until end of turn. But this is nice. The enchanted creature gets +1/+2. Like, that is a reasonable stat bump. You can think of this as a combat trick that sticks around. It's a little more flexible in the sense that it can also just save your creature from being removed. This does, though, feel like a casualty of the I don't have space in my deck for very many extra type of cards, and this is not one of the ones that you would be, super stoked on. That said, when you read it, it's fine. It gives you enough for your 2 mana to justify existing. It's just like, do you really have room for this in your deck?
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. On power level, it's like a C, C minus, but in terms of putting it in your deck, you probably just shouldn't.
You probably won't. Next is Blossom Bind. This is 1 and a blue for an enchantment aura at common. Again, it enchants a creature. When this aura enters, a tap enchanted creature. An enchanted creature can't become untapped and can't have counters put on it. Wow. So it actually skips, like, it doesn't untap during its untap phase, and it just says it cannot untap. That's interesting.
Yeah, even if you cast the +2/+2 and untap, it won't untap.
It's just like, nah.
Great.
That's
this
awesome.
is the blue Terminate. I ran into a really funny interaction that you want to keep in mind. There's a black card we're going to get to called Gut Splitter Gang. It's 3 and a black for a 6/6 goblin, and it says at the beginning of your upkeep, blight 2 or lose 3 life.
Mm-hmm.
If you put this on the Gut Splitter Gang, it completely screws them because they can't blight onto this. So every turn they're either losing 3 life or blighting one of their other creatures. I had someone just lose to that.
Oh, that's rude.
So that's really sick. I like B for Blossom Bind. This is just a really efficient, good removal spell.
Love it. B for Blossom Bind. That's nice for blue too. Next is Glamour Grifter or Glamour Grifter.
Gifter.
Sorry. I'm too used to podcasting with you. Gifter. Do you say glamour, by the way?
Yeah, I think glamour.
Okay. Because, I mean, it's
not glamour.
Well, it says glamour, right? You need another M for it to be glamour, but I think it is glamour.
The English language is not particularly consistent, but I think for all the weird rules, by the way, this is a little slightly off topic. English is actually one of the easiest languages to understand when someone speaking it doesn't speak it very well, because you can mix up the order of every word in a sentence and you will generally understand what the other person is saying.
Yeah, like, that is true.
Broken English is actually way more understandable than a lot of other languages, which it's actually a powerful language in that sense.
It is. It's just we also are like the most exceptioned. Like there's
all these weird rules and exceptions,
but about everything.
But none of them matter. People still understand it. Whereas a lot of other languages, you change a tense or you change the ordering and it's just incomprehensible.
And it's like, what are you even saying? Yeah. Glamour Gifter, we'll say, is 1 and a blue for a 1/2 flash flying fairy wizard at uncommon. And it says, when this creature enters, choose up to 1 other target creature. Until end of turn, that creature has base power and toughness 4/4 and gains all creature types.
Yeah,
pretty interesting.
This card's pretty good. I mean, this is what I want out of a combat trick because it's also a creature. It's not a supported type, so you're not like getting a merfolk out of it. But this card is strong. I mean, imagine you attack with your 2/2 on turn 3 and they block for the trade, and you just play this. You played a 2 mana 1/2 that killed their 2/2, and it's flying. It's awesome. So I like B for the Gifter. You do some Glamour Grifter.
Yeah, Glamour Grifter or Glamour Gifter, you decide. By the way, bold move from WotC to bring back Lorwyn and not make fairies one of the highlighted archetypes. Like,
I'm a little disappointed because fairies is one of my favorite decks.
It's one of the most popular too. Like, people love it.
But it's also pretty obnoxious. Like,
it totally is.
They really capture the flavor of fairies based on how obnoxious
they bother you. Yeah. Next is Gravelgill Scoundrel. This is 1 and a blue for a 1/3 merfolk rogue at common. It's got vigilance. And it says, whenever this creature attacks, you may tap another untapped creature you control. If you do, this creature... Oh, wow. Can't be blocked until end of turn. I was hoping for something a little more splashy, but I guess this is just a random common.
No, this is good, though, because it's cheap for Convoke. Mm-hmm. It gives you a free way to tap, because when you tap the other merfolk, this is now unblockable. There's no risk. You can continuously do it. Mm-hmm. I think Gravegill Scoundrels in merfolk, like probably a C, but you know, you would
Yeah.
never cut it really. So closer to C plus than C minus.
Right.
And a D in elementals. You don't want this card in your elementals deck.
Noggle the Mind is next. It's it's 1 and a blue for an enchantment aura at uncommon. It has flash. It enchants a creature, and the enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a colorless Noggle with base power and toughness 1/1.
I think adding flash and stripping creature types, which this does, this is no longer a merfolk. Now it's just a Noggle. It's the weird donkey, creature type that from like Eventide or whatever. Makes this a little bit better. We normally are pretty down on the 2 mana blue enchantment that makes it into a 1/1. Usually it's about a D to C minus level. I think Noggle of Mind is probably like a C plus. It does what you want.
Okay. I
This
mean, it
doesn't give them
doesn't
a
do what I
shapeshifter.
want, to be clear. Like, it does not kill the creature, which is what I want.
Yeah, but giving them a 1/1 untyped token at flash and losing all abilities, like it will deal with the thing. Where it's probably the worst is against the Convoke decks, against the white decks. Like that can be a pretty big drawback. But you play against you play against elementals, you'll be pretty happy with this card.
Plus, these type of cards tend to be best when they're targeting something, that you can't deal with otherwise, right? You're hitting their rare with this so that you don't just straight up lose to it, rather than, you're hitting their 3-drop common with Noggle the Mind. That is not really a part of the gameplay. Next up is Run Away Together. This is 1 and a blue for an instant at common. It says choose 2 target creatures controlled by different players. Return those creatures to their owner's hands. Can be very powerful.
Yeah, I like C for this card, but this is one of the cards that I think improves most formats dramatically, just because I like cards that are base level C, but you can work them up to a B with enough grit. There are ways to make this card really, really strong.
With enough grift? Is that what you were?
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, who doesn't like a card that makes them feel clever? This is one of the cards really, you're like,
totally.
You feel like a gigabrain when you're just like, all right, bounce my creature with an ETB that you're trying to kill and bounce your token. Oh yeah, we really got him.
Yeah, and it plays out in a productive but not overwhelmingly, great way. But it does work. I like Run Away Together. Like, I would run one of these in my blue decks as one of those coveted creature type slots. And, I give it a C. I mean, I think it's just like a good, fine card to put into your deck.
Also, for the last time we saw this in, it was like, I think it was in Throne of Eldraine, maybe. It was like a beast running away with a princess or something. That I can understand. Is this a fairy running away with like an elf? Like, how's that going to work? Can you explain that to me?
I cannot. I cannot. Next up is Silvergale Mentor. This is 1 and a blue for a 2/1 Merfolk Wizard at uncommon. And it says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, behold a Merfolk or pay 2. When this creature enters, create a 1/1 white and blue Merfolk creature token. Dang.
Yeah, this is the nuts in Merfolk. This is a B plus. Like
awesome.
you will take as many of these as you can get, and it's going to be excellent.
Yeah, this is going to be one that's going to make your opponent's shoulders go, ugh.
Well, Behold is a lot like Hybrid in that in a blue-white Merfolk deck, this is an awesome 2-drop, and in an Elemental deck, it's really not. Like, it's either free or very hard to do. There's not that much in between, I would say.
And all these cards are just pushing you towards these core archetypes. It really starting to feel very on rails here. Next is, and that's not a compliment, by the way. Next is Summit Sentinel. This is 1 and a blue for a 1/3 elemental soldier at common. It says when this creature dies, draw a card. But it's an elemental. It's not a merfolk. Is that fine for the elementals deck? I mean, you want speed bumps, you want cards, you want the game to go long.
The elementals deck also does make use of the blue Convoke cards fairly well. So this is good for that.
I like this.
You have the Twin Flame Elemental that'll double trigger when this thing dies. I would give this a C+, but I do want to say Cheon told us that he thought the card was kind of bad when he played it. So
he did.
It's really up to how much do we trust Cheon.
I trust Cheon. But again, I like C+ for Summits. Maybe he had higher hopes for it.
Yeah, I like C+ for Summit Sentinel. I think it's solid.
Speed bump. Next is Unwelcome Sprite. This is 1 and a blue for a 2/1 Fairy Rogue at uncommon with flying. And it says, whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, surveil 2. Nice.
Yeah, for being off type, this is perfectly fine. And
this might actually be worth it. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. 2 mana, 2/1 flying that will get you a surveil over the course of the game, maybe 2, depending on kind of your deck makeup. No, I like B minus for Unwelcome Sprite. I think it's a solid card.
Next is Wild Unraveling. This is blue for an instant at common. As an additional cost to cast this spell, blight 2 or pay 1 mana, and it's a counter spell. So you can have it just straight up be cancel, or in an absolute pinch. I mean, blight 2 is a lot, right? Like you might kill one of your own creatures to get this thing to only cost 2 mana. But, you know, there are times, and it's nice to have that option. The question really is just, do we want cancel?
I don't really think so. I don't know. I had this card in a deck and I never drew it, so I didn't really get a whole lot of info, and no one ever cast it against me. My assumption is this card is not that strong.
Yeah, it feels D plus C minus E to me.
Yeah, probably better in sealed. Counters do typically get better in sealed.
Next is Glamour Might. This is 2 and a blue for a 2/2 fairy rogue at common. It's got flash and flying, and it says when this creature enters, choose one. Tap target creature or untap target creature.
The fact that this isn't one of the supported types really does hurt it. So I think it's like a C minus level card, and it would be like a C plus if it was a Merfolk or something along those lines.
Yeah, man, I'm kind of just bummed. Like the two things that I would like to explore the most are fairies, tree folk, and they're both just like kind of off to the side. Maybe don't bother with them. Next is Kolrath Mystic. This is 2 and a blue for a 2/4 elemental wizard at common. Whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, this creature gets +2/+0, gains vigilance until end of turn.
So this is part of the elemental theme, is 4 greater spells, but
I just
didn't
ignore
really like
this part
card.
of the theme.
Well, no, there's going to be a card you'll like that we're going to get to, the Rhyme Speaker, because it just draws you a card and you play a 4-cost spell.
Yeah.
That one's good. But
that part I will not ignore.
My experience with elementals, and take this with a grain of salt, I lost mostly playing elementals, so maybe I was just drafting it wrong, is that even if this was a 3 mana that was a 4/4 vigilance some of the time, that's not really how their game plan plays out anyway. So I'm skeptical of this card. I would give this card like a C minus.
Man, I'm starting to get a little skeptical of the set. Am I just going to get ran over by Kithkin and goblins all the time, and I'm trying to do stupid stuff?
No. Merfolk's going to run you over too. Don't worry.
Next up is Rhymekin.
This will cheer you up.
Recluse. This is 2 and a blue for a 3/2 elemental wizard at uncommon, and it says when this creature enters, return what's up to one other target creature to its owner's hand. It's a 3/2.
And it's on type, and there's ways to get double elemental trigger that uncommon. Wow. And this is a minor note, but I really love it. It can bounce your own creatures.
Yes.
It's just Magic is more fun when you have the opportunity to do cool plays like that.
Yes.
I'm not saying they should never make it things only target opponent stuff. Sometimes that's just much cleaner, and like a -2/-2 effect is way better to only be able to target their stuff.
Yeah.
But bouncing your own like pacified creature, that's good gameplay. I like it. So yeah, I mean, B+ for Rhymekin Recluse. It's an excellent card.
They know how to bring me right back in there. Next is Silvergill Peddler. This is 2 and a blue for a 2/3 Merfolk Citizen at common. Whenever this creature becomes tapped, draw a card, then discard a card. And it's a Merfolk. Yeah.
This is a C. This really is good. Just the filler of the role.
Maybe C+. I mean, the tapping, like looting's really strong, and this doesn't cost mana to do it. I mean, you do need other enablers. I
could be talked up to a C+. You could pedal me up.
Next is Thirst for Identity. This is 2 and a blue for an instant at uncommon. It says draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard a creature card.
Yep, solid card. I mean, these decks are more likely going to have like 15 or 16 creatures than I think most numbers. Like so this is nice, though. The Elementals deck is an exception, which is actually kind of funny because this is like more in one of the elemental colors. Those are the decks that have like 10 creatures. Still, 3 mana, draw 3, and sometimes discard 2, sometimes discard 1. Totally fine. I like B- on Thirst for Identity. It's a good way to pull ahead in a game.
Definitely, and instant speed helps out a lot there too. Next is Pestered Wellguard. This is 3 and a blue for a 3/2 Merfolk Soldier at uncommon. Whenever this creature becomes tapped, create a 1/1 blue and black flying. It's actually a fairy creature token with flying. But who cares, right? I mean, of course, you'd prefer it to be whatever, a Merfolk or something.
I'd rather have a 1/1 flying fairy than a 1/1 Merfolk on the ground. Like
right.
So this card's awesome. I mean, first of all, the base levels you cast this and then attack with it, but clearly what you're trying to do is cast this, immediately tap it for one of your other effects, get your immediate payment, and then if they don't kill it, like they're going to lose really fast.
Right.
You make two creatures out of this, like, I don't think they're going to win.
Right. You can turn it into an engine. But as you mentioned, even in a less great case scenario where you just turn it sideways, trade off for their 2 or 3 drop and get yourself a 1/1 flyer out of the deal, you're still ahead. Wow.
I like B.
I like B
for Pestered
Pestered Card. That's amazing. Next is Swat Away. This is 2 blue for an instant and uncommon. It says this spell costs 2 less to cast if a creature is attacking you. And the owner of target spell or creature puts it on their choice of the top or bottom of their library. Wow, that's a cool variant on that, although it is double blue.
Yeah, this card still looks pretty good to me.
Yeah.
Like, you're often going to cast it for blue, and it's going to be excellent. You remember Ifara's Dismissal or whatever it was? Like, that card was really, really good. And
really good.
This gives me vibes of that. And sometimes it's a counter spell when you really need it. Like, you get to just counter their 5-drop spell and delay it for a turn. So I like B for Swat Away. This seems to me to be a pretty powerful one.
Yeah, I think if your opponent passes with 4 mana, it's going to be a problem. Like, you're going to have to do something for the turn under most scenarios, and even then, they can still just fire this thing off.
Right.
On end step.
You keep 4 mana up. If they play a 4-drop, you just do it. It's not as bad as them getting counters because they can just play it again next turn if they want.
Mm-hmm.
But if they play nothing to like play around it, you just bin their 3-drop. You just cast another 3-drop, and you don't waste your mana. So.
I like that card
pretty
a lot.
Good.
Next is Tanafel Rhyme Speaker. This is 3 and a blue for a 2/4 elemental wizard and uncommon. And this is the one you were talking about. Whenever you cast a spell, it's an elemental wizard, by the way. Whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, draw a card.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's just any spell, creatures, anything.
Yeah,
just
creatures, whatever. So you cast this on turn 4. I mean, if my opponent plays this on turn 4 and I can't kill it, I'm not going to be happy about this situation.
Yeah.
I'm going to feel that they're going to draw a card probably every turn for at least the next couple turns because drawing cards chains into more cards.
Yeah, I mean, I like that it's a 2/4. Like, you do need this thing to be a decent blocker, right? Because we are talking about, we're not quite in the full-on win more category here, but like, if you get to cast a 4-drop and then cast another 4 or 5-drop, in succession, like, that's usually a pretty good sequence of plays to help you win a game of Magic regardless. And now it's fueling the fire to continue to do so. This is the type of card that can become the turning point on, I got a little bit beaten down, but I played my Rhyme Speaker. I said go. It held off maybe an attack and I was able to survive. Then I got the trigger on it next turn. Now we're in business. I like that. There's a lot to like there. That said, it is worth noting that in a typical build, you don't have that many cards that cost 4 or greater. Does this set have, like, sometimes,
Convoke.
What's that?
Convoke is a way
Convoke is one way to do it for sure.
To get like kind of extra expensive cards. Like the next card we're going to talk about, Temporal Cleansing, is just like a solid removal spell with Convoke that this is quite good with.
So that, that's what you really want to look for, because in a typical deck, you're going to have like a couple of 5, maybe let's say 3 5+ drops and maybe 3 or 4 4-drops. Like, and this is one of them, by the way. So it's not actually that many that get to trigger it. Still, I like it. I'd give it it has a slight build around connotation because you don't want this to be the top of your curve, but it typically won't. I don't know. I want to go a little low, like C plus B minus range on it. I guess I would go C plus.
I think I would like B minus on this. It's just a threatening card because you also don't need to draw 3 cards off it. If you draw 1 card off, it's okay, and if you draw 2, it's fine. And there's also a decent amount of card draw that chains into more. And so I would give the Tenafel Rhyme Speaker a B minus, and certainly I'm going to try to make it work.
Next up is Temporal Cleansing. This is the one you mentioned. It's 3 and a blue for a sorcery at common, and it says the owner of target non-land permanent puts it into their library second from the top or on the bottom. So this is kind of interesting because we get both versions of this, but critically, this spell has Convoke.
Yeah, that's really nice.
That is a game changer. And you
remember this card from March of the Machines, right? Like when you had that curve and you got to play this card for like 1 or 0 mana, it felt like a really huge advantage.
Right.
So much about Magic so much about Magic these days, whether it's in limited or cube or constructed, is snowballing.
It is
trying to find ways to either press your advantage or trying to find ways to come back when they're doing that, which this also does. Like if you're able to set up a turn where you play this for 2 mana, like you play a creature and then you play this, like that can get you back when maybe they're a little ahead. All of a sudden you got to double spell. The double spell turns really big. So, I mean, I like C plus for temporal cleansing. I'm not saying this is like a B level removal, but I think it's quite solid.
Yeah, and I mean, and double spell when you can just cast really any 2 spells in your deck is good, but when one of them is like a full-on 4-mana removal spell that like takes something off the board and you've added to your board that turn, that's a huge swing. I like that. I like C plus for temporal cleansing. Next is Wanderwine Distractor. This is 3 and a blue for a 4/3 Merfolk Wizard at common, and when this creature becomes tapped, target creature an opponent controls gets -3/-0 until end of turn. Yeah, this does feed into what you were saying about kind of getting beaten down by Merfolk as well, right? It encourages attacks.
Yeah, I mean, and this one, when you attack with it, it can make a block bad. But I think the real trick here is if you have ways to tap it at instant speed, it makes it really difficult for them to make blocks. You are giving up attacking with a 4/3 at that point, but it's still a really, really obnoxious effect. That said, it's a 4-drop.
Yeah,
I don't think you prioritize this card. This looks like a D to me.
It looks like a D.
I'm also docking a little points because the art is really goofy. Not bad. I'm not saying it's low quality art. I'm just saying I don't really want to look at that card, so I will choose to not play it.
Next is Illusion Spinners. This is 4 and a blue for a 4/3 Fairy Wizard and uncommon, and it says you may cast this spell as though it had flash. Really? If you control a fairy. Man.
Changelings.
Yeah, I really don't like that, but okay. And it has flying, and it says this creature has hexproof as long as it's untapped. That's a cool, interesting card. I don't like putting the clause of you need to have critical mass of these things, but then also not really supporting it in that way. I kind of like where these other tree folk were at, for example, where you can see them standalone being worth a card in your deck, and they're not like, oh, other tree folk you control get this, that, or the other thing. This one's even harder. I mean, you really want this thing to have flash. Like that's a big benefit for even just a 3 toughness creature. And it's like how, I mean, if you, it honestly feels like unless it's a changeling, you may have made a mistake. Like you tried to build fairies and go against the grain, maybe.
Well, I'm not quite as bearish on you on fairies being a deck, because again, I did play against it and it seemed solid. I lost to the fairies deck. You know, they had just a lot of strong blue and black cards and a bunch of fairies, and it actually did work out. I just think, I think it won't work out as often. Like you should generally not be in the business of first picking like the triple black blue hybrid fairy, but imagine a draft, you start with like a couple good blue cards and you see that blue black hybrid card like 4th or 5th pick.
Yeah.
I think that the door might be open for you to try it. I certainly will be doing that if I can start a draft that way. And maybe it's a percentage thing where like 80% of the time you draft one of the on-brand archetypes and 20% of the time you draft one of the like more niche ones, but it still works out. So I still think Illusion Spinners looks like a D, but maybe a D plus. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
Part of the problem is hexproof untapped. It doesn't protect it even from sorcery stuff, because you do want to attack with this. It's like, what are you doing with it otherwise? And then they take 4 and then they just bolt it on their turn. It's not like the best thing.
Yeah, I guess, having not played the set myself, if it is what you described, where it's not that fairies isn't viable, it just doesn't come up very often, that's okay with me. It's more just if they're kind of scattershot around and I'm not just talking about fairies, but any of these off-brand creature types. Yeah, I mean, if it's just like they're kind of meant to be filler more or less, then that part I'm less excited about.
Yeah, I agree.
Next is Lofty Dreams. It's 3 blue for an enchantment aura at uncommon. It has Convoke. It enchants a creature. When it enters, you draw a card, and the enchanted creature, gets +2/+2 and has flying. Man, that's a lot. Like you can, it can be cheaper than the 5 mana. You get the card back. It turns anything into a viable threat.
It's on a 2/2 and they have to kill it.
Yeah. They turn it into a dragon.
I think this card's a B in Merfolk and like a D in Elementals, just because At least in my experience so far, Elementals is, again, closer to the 10 creature range because it just plays a lot of spells. So this isn't the best fit there, but it looks great to me in Merfolk. Like, you just put this on one of your idiot 3/2 Merfolks and attack and get the tap trigger. Like, sounds pretty
But
good.
how
And
is
does
it in
Convoke and all that.
fairies, Luis? How is it in fairies?
Yeah, that's true.
But no, I agree with you. B when well set up, you do have to, of course, make sure the way is clear. But if your opponent's tapped out and you land a Lofty Dreams, I think your win percentage spikes pretty nicely from there. Next is Omni Changeling.
Or if they're not tapped out and you're not a coward.
Yeah, that is one way to approach it. Good luck with it. Next is Omni Changeling. This is 3 blue for a 0/0 shapeshifter at uncommon. It does have Changeling. It also has Convoke, and you may have this creature enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield except it has Changeling. Interesting. So if you don't, it just dies.
Yeah, you should choose something.
Okay.
This
I guess they just left
really
that
good card.
option open for just in case. But yeah, this seems great.
I mean, I would pay 5 mana for a Changeling clone that looks at both sides to start with, and it having Convoke is just awesome. This card has impressed me. I would give it a B+. It has never been bad when I've seen it.
Yeah, that seems really nice. Next is Stratosorer. This is 4 and a blue for a 3/5 elemental. It's common. It has flying. So 5 mana, 3/5 flying. And when this creature enters, target creature gains flying until end of turn. So a nice little bonus there too. And then it has basic land cycling for 1 and a blue. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how good this Elementals deck is, but this does seem like a really solid common for that deck.
Yeah, the 5-color deck you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this is part of the reason I think that blue is a decent base for that deck. So yeah, Stratosaur looks good. It's costed as if it didn't have basic land cycling, and so given that, I like C+ for Stratosaur.
Yeah.
If you're only 2 colors, maybe a little closer to a C, but it's still good. 5 mana, 3/5 flying is not bad, and it gives a creature flying.
Yeah,
So,
good blocker. Yeah, that's nice. Next is Unexpected Assistance. This is 3 blue for an instant at common. And guess what? It also has Convoke. Man, a lot of these expensive blue cards have Convoke. And this one's nice. Draw 3 cards, then discard a card. Man, with Convoke.
Unexpected Assistance when I call in sick and she unsubs in.
Yeah.
Yeah, this card's great. I would give this probably a C+. Like, I think that Merfolk really wants 1 or maybe even 2 copies of this. Like, you can really go off. And then Elementals, it likes it too. So C+ for Unexpected Assistance.
Shine Striker is next. It's 4 blue for a 3/3 elemental. It's uncommon. It has flying. And it doesn't have Convoke, but it does have Vivid. When this creature enters, draw cards equal to the number of colors among permanents you control. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I mean,
that's your curve topper.
The floor is 1. Technically, you could play this and then they could kill it in response. You draw none, but that's not really that realistic. And if this draws 2, I'm still not that unhappy to play it.
Which it really will, right?
No, the hybrid cards make it hit 3 even in a 2-color deck.
That's what I mean. I mean, you're getting at least 2 a lot of the time, right?
Oh yeah, I think you're almost always going to get 2 because all it takes is one other color of whatever color your deck is, and I think 3 is pretty doable because your red-blue deck just has red-white and blue-black hybrids, and you just drop this and draw 3. But even at draw 2, I would say this is like a B-, and at draw 3, it's like closer to a B+. So I think in the blue-red Elementals deck, if you have, let's say, 2 to 3 hybrids, I would give this just a solid B. And in the 5-color Vivid deck, this is like a B+, but you're maybe it's like B-, B+. The spread is a little bigger there, but still, it's a solid card. I wouldn't mind taking this early.
No, and this is like, my eyes are, I'm like, okay, Shine Striker, let's go, and this is just hoping that is the type of card that I could actually consider resolving in this format, but maybe being a little worried that it wouldn't be. Next is Rhyme Chill. This is 6 and a blue for an instant at uncommon, and it has Vivid. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each color among permanents you control. Oh, interesting. So it's just checking the board as you go. And it says, tap up to 2 target creatures, put a stun counter on each of them, and draw a card.
Yeah, this card's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I would pay 5 mana for this, no problem. 5 mana, tap 2 creatures, lock them for a turn, and draw a card. And I have cast this for 3 mana already. I just had a red-white and a blue-black hybrid creature in my blue-red deck, and just got them both into play. So I feel like this is like a B minus, and if you do a little work, like again in the Vivid deck, it's closer to a B plus.
Yeah, I like that.
It does a lot of what you want. I think you're gonna like the 5-color Vivid deck. We got some redemption arcs here.
I am very interested in it for sure. I just hope that it's actually viable in some way. Next is Wanderwine Farewell. This is 5 blue, and yes, it does have Convoke. This is a Kindred sorcery merfolk at uncommon. Again, with Convoke, and it says return 1 or 2 target non-land permanents to their owner's hands. Then, if you control a merfolk, create a 1/1 white and blue merfolk creature token for each permanent returned to its owner's hand this way.
Yeah, this is one that's like a C to a D in elementals and like a B plus in merfolk.
Yeah, totally.
This is a bomb in merfolk. Like you're casting this for like 4 or 5 mana, bouncing 2 things, getting 2 more 1/1s, maybe convoking something else either that turn or the next turn. It's really strong. So this is a card that would certainly pull me into merfolk if I was on the fence.
Definitely, man. These convoke spells are good. That's the last blue card. That moves us to black, where our first card is Bile Vile Boggart. This is black for a 1/1 Goblin Assassin at common. And when this creature dies, put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature. That's pretty annoying.
I like the up to 1 here, so you can target your own stuff if you want to blight your own thing for some reason, but you don't have to. This card's awesome. In Goblins, it's a C+. In Elves, it's a C. You're gonna play it, even in Elves. Like, I just like a 1-drop that trades up for a 2-drop, or you can blight it later and then kill something else. Like, it's just a good card. Really, really strong.
Yeah, these relevant 1-drops are just, they are much better than they seem. Next is...
just 1-mana cards have to do less than you think to be good, and 5-mana cards have to do more than you think to be good.
Yeah, that's a great shortcut.
Rule of thumb.
All right, we'll start repeating that over and over. Next is Mud Button Curse Tosser. It's black for a 2/1 Goblin Warlock at uncommon. As an additional cost to cast this spell, behold a goblin or pay 2. This creature can't block. So black for a 2/1 can't block. And it says when it dies, destroy target creature an opponent controls with power 2 or less.
Yeah, again, excellent card in Goblins, not really playable in Elves. You don't really want to pay 3 mana for it. But in Goblins, this is really good. It eats a blight counter and kills one of their creatures, or just hits them and they have to eventually block. And you're going to cast it for 1 mana every time. Like, this is like a B- in Goblins. Your opponent leads on this, and it's like really annoying.
That is very annoying. Next up is Requiting Hex. It's black for an instant at uncommon. It says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, you may blight 1. Destroy target creature with mana value 2 or less. If the spell's additional cost was paid, you gain 2 life. It's a big swing for a single black.
Yeah, I think the blight part is less about the gaining 2 life and more like, do you want to actively blight? Because the Goblins deck does. Like, they want to kill off their own creatures at a reasonably high rate. Like, there's the Lasting Tarfire, the red enchantment we're going to get to, that deals 2 at the end of turn if you put a counter on. So, like, that's the kind of thing we're talking about. And you can also just put this card in your deck as a, kind of portable hole-ish card. So I like C+ for Requiting Hex. It's solid.
Yeah, that seems like a very well-suited, low, cheap black removal spell. Next up
it's like a shock. You're just always going to play shock.
Exactly. Scarblade's Malice is next. It's black for an instant at common. And it says, target creature you control gains Death Touch and Lifelink until end of turn. When that creature dies this turn, create a 2/2 black and green elf creature token.
Yeah, so the idea here is you put this on your small creature when you block a big creature or when they block your creature, and you trade 2 for 1 and then get a 2/2 back for just 1 mana. My main problem with this is, yes, it on its face makes an elf, so you think, okay, well, it makes sense, my elf deck. The elf deck wants to mill elves and cares about elves in the graveyard. This doesn't help with that. So
okay.
I'm thinking this is a D. I had a really streamlined elf deck, and I just didn't want to play this card. So that makes me think it's not going to be a card you're going to play that often. It might be better in Goblins, funnily enough. Like, Goblins just has so many tokens that having this. So I kind of like it at D in Elves and like C in Goblins, as funny as that sounds.
That's weird. Next is Auntie's Sentence. This is 1 and a black for a sorcery at common. Choose 1. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land permanent card from it. That player discards that card. Or target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Oh, there's a good one.
Marshall, they did it. They got there. They got us to play the duress.
They did.
Like the little coercion. I think you're just basically always going to play the first copy of this, and even the second's probably fine because it kills a creature for 2 mana. You're okay with that. And the backstop of I get to look at your hand and take a card is good too. This is a very permanent heavy format. So I have been happy with this card, and I would play 2 of these. Yeah, in most decks. Just it's a removal spell that can strip a big card from their hand and give you some information. That seems fine to me. I mean, I like it at C. I'm not saying it's a great card, but you compare this to Daily Indoctrination, the kind of similar card from the Avatar. That card was like a D or an F. You just wouldn't play it.
Right.
This card is actually fine.
And this thing can take creatures, right? So that's like clutch in this format.
Yeah.
Non-land permanent. Next is Barbed Bloodletter. This is 1 and a black for an artifact equipment at common. It has flash. And it says, when this equipment enters, attach it to target creature you control. That creature gains Wither until end of turn, which means that it deals damage in the form of -1/-1 counters. And the equipped creature gets, oh, that's pretty good, +1/+2. And the equip cost is 2. So this is kind of like the double strike one we had where it only gets the Wither for that 1 turn. Otherwise, it's just a kind of a regular old equipment, right?
Yeah, and +1/+2 historically, this has just been a really good way to pump. Like it's so much better than +2/+1. It's not even close. Because what +1/+2 does is it makes your 2/2 trade beat something a level higher and live. 2/2s beat 3/3s, and that's more important than making a 2/2 trade for a 4/4. So
or get an additional point of damage.
I've actually been satisfied with this card. It's still like one of the cards that's on the chopping block if you have ample removal, but it's a pretty decent combat trick because
it really is.
First of all, you're going to win a lot of the combat. Second, if they have a trick and like a pump spell and you don't win, at least it leaves behind a bunch of counters, which is nice. And you get to 2 mana +1/+2 equip is just not that bad. That's actually pretty solid. Again, the difference between +1/+2 and +1/+1 is huge. So I like Barbed Bloodletter at C-, but that is better than a lot of the combat tricks.
It is. I think that the thing that we have to keep considering is you have very few slots. And is Barbed Bloodletter one of the cards that you're going to use in one of those slots? And I would say on average, probably not, but it's not because the card's junk. Like that is a perfectly serviceable card. Next up is Boggart Prankster. This is 1 and a black for a 1/3 Goblin Warrior at common. It says whenever you attack, target attacking goblin you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn.
Yeah, this lets your goblins trade up a little bit, which I think is nice. The goblins deck really lives and dies on chip damage. So having your 1/1 attack as a 2/1 into, because this doesn't have to attack, it's when you attack. Having your 1/1 attack into their 2/2 board and just getting either 2 damage in or trading up a token, I think it's pretty nice. I would give this a C. I think you're just going to play Boggart Prankster in almost all your goblin decks. I don't think it's playable in elves. It's an F in elves.
And as usual, these type of decks would like to have, 2 mana on creature type as much as possible.
Also, great place to store 2 blight counters because you don't need this to get involved in combat.
Oh, that's cool.
It just sits there as a 0/1.
That's great. Next is Bog Slither's Embrace. This is 1 and a black for a sorcery at common. It says as an additional cost to cast this spell, blight 1 or pay 3 mana to exile target creature. Wow. 2 mana, huh? And you said that in goblins particularly, blighting is maybe even a bonus in some cases or encouraged at least. I mean, that is, you could trade that up for a 5-drop. Like that's a way to get way ahead.
This card is excellent. Compare this to the like Bone Splinters card we get every set of 1 mana, sack a creature or 5 mana. This is much better than those because a normal deck can just put this in your deck. You put this in your Elves deck that does have, maybe some Elves deck have blight synergies, but let's say you have an Elves deck with 0 blight synergies. You'd still always play this. It'll always be great. You can put a counter on your 2/2 if you need to, or you can pay 5 mana and it exiles. So I like straight up B for Bog Slither's Embrace. I've been really impressed. The Goblins deck also just has Blight as an advantage. So what are we even talking about here? This card's great.
Yeah, that's a big, really nice removal spell at the common slot there. Next is Creekwood Safe Right. This is 1 and a black for a 5/5 Elf Warrior at uncommon. How many counters does it come with it? -3 or 3 -1/-1 counters when it ETBs. And it says, at the beginning of your end step, if there is an elf card in your graveyard and this creature has a -1/-1 counter on it, remove a -1/-1 counter from this creature.
Yeah, so all the cards in this cycle do care, like they want you to do the thing that tribe does in order to get the counters off. And in this case, it's not hard to to get elves in your graveyard. And this starts as a 2-mana 2/2, which is not even that bad anyway. So I like B- for the Creekwood Safe Ride. I think this card is just really solid.
I do too. This feels just
Also,
like an upside free roll. Like you just get to just get this.
And this is a great place to put blight counters because it just removes them automatically. So like you can just continuously be re-blighting this if you have stuff that works.
It's also notable that it's at the beginning of your end step. So even the turn you cast it, it could be a 3/3 before blocks.
Yeah.
Next is Iron Shield Elf. This is 1 and a black for a 3/1 Elf Warrior at uncommon, and it has the activated ability, discard a card. This creature gains indestructible until end of turn, tap it. These have varied quite a bit. There's some of these variants of these cards that have been extremely annoying and really strong, and sometimes they kind of get overlooked. Where do you think Iron Shield Elf falls on that spectrum?
Extremely strong. I had this in a deck, and every time I drew it, it was great. I would give this a B. Like, it's relevant creature type. It's a good attacker. It does suffer against goblins. They make a bunch of 1/1 counters, and then you just like don't want to. No, it's mostly just they make 1/1 goblins, and this kind of attacks poorly into those.
Oh, I see.
But you play this against elementals, and they're just going to fold. Like they have to have the 2-mana enchantment that locks it down, because otherwise, like you can't burn it. They can't really block it. And maybe they find a 1/4 or something. And this hasn't come up, but I can imagine a world where you sometimes just discard an elf to get an elf in the graveyard if you really care about that. Like,
yeah.
Ideally, when this is in combat for some reason, but you could even do it for no reason if you had enough stuff that cared about that. So it's kind of nice. So I like B for Iron Shield Elf. I would still probably play this in goblins a lot of the time. It's just a good attacker. So it's probably like a C+ in goblins, though. It's a little off. I think goblins really cares about all its creatures being goblins.
Okay. Yeah, B for Iron Shield Elf. Next up is, Nameless Inversion is back too. This is 1 and a black for a Kindred instant shapeshifter at uncommon. It has Changeling, and target creature gets +3, -3, and loses all creature types until end of turn. This was premium removal back in the day. Does it still count that way? It looks like it.
Oh yeah, it's an uncommon. They upshifted it.
Oh and, yeah, it was common. That's right.
Mm-hmm. And no, great card. Just really fantastic. I would give it a B. Just a good efficient removal spell. It's a 2-mana deal 3 with some interesting play to it. On balance, it's better than a 2-mana deal 3 because it's 2-mana -3. Sometimes you cast on your own creature to get the +3 and it does something. The fact that it strips creature types can really do something. The fact that this is every creature type, you can pull it off the eclipsed creatures it's all good stuff. So B for Nameless Inversion.
Next up is Scarblade Scout. This is 1 and a black for a 2/2 Elf Scout at common. It's got lifelink, and when this creature enters, mill 2 cards. Wow, that seems nice.
Oh yeah, this is like a C+ in elves, and a card you don't want in goblins. You should strive to not play it. But in elves, it's a 2-mana 2/2 lifelink, so it buys you a little life cushion. It counts as an elf in the graveyard, obviously, and it mills you for 2, which the elves deck really do want. So C+ for Scarblade Scout.
Unbury is 1 and a black for an instant at uncommon, and it says choose one. You can return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand at instant speed, or you can return 2 target creature cards that share a creature type from your graveyard to your hand. Well, that seems easy.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it's an instant exactly. Maybe to give the fairies deck another little bone or something. But
yeah,
I love the card. I mean, this is a 2-mana draw 2 good cards. Like this card's a B. It's really good.
This does seem like it would. Again, we keep talking about the extra slots that you have in your deck. This seems like definitely one you'd want in one of those slots. I mean, draw 2 creatures in the decks that really want it. I mean, that seems amazing.
Yeah,
instant speed, like you could. It's so cheap too.
It's called Unbury, but in my experience, it really just buries your opponent.
Yeah,
You have this game, you think it's going all right. They go end of turn, get back my 2 best elves or whatever, and it's just like, all right, well, I guess that's not going to happen.
Right, and at only 2 mana, it means you could even main phase it, cast one of them. Right, like
you could also get back a changeling plus any other creature, which is kind of cool too.
Yes, totally. Next up is Blight Rot. This is 2 and a black for an instant at common. Put 4 -1/-1 counters on target creature. So there's your mid-level black removal spell. We saw the cheap one, we saw the sacrifice one, and now we see the, it often costs 4, sometimes it costs 3. And that seems excellent.
Yeah, it's a great removal spell. Probably give it like a B-.
Yeah.
You do run into sometimes where if this doesn't kill the thing, it's a little bit of a risk because they can sometimes remove the counters.
Sure.
You know, you have cards that do that. But no, just give it a B. It's just a good removal
it's
spell.
just a really good removal spell. Next up is Boggart Mischief. This is 2 and a black for a Kindred Enchantment Goblin at uncommon. It says, when this enchantment enters, you may blight 1. If you do, create 2 1/1 black and red goblin creature tokens, and whenever a goblin creature token you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life.
My first Goblins deck, I had 2 of these, and I just won every game with them. Like, it's
You said that chip damage is really important for the Goblins
this
deck,
exactly,
so this is
exactly why.
Okay.
And it makes 2 goblins too. You have your cake and eat it too, you know? So honestly, if you are in Goblins, I think this card is closer to an A than anything else. I'll give it a B plus. I again don't think it's like quite there, but like if I'm going to show you a Goblin deck, I'm like, you know, I message you and Chien, I'm like, oh man, I got this one. If it has 2 of these, you're going to be like, wow, that's a sick Goblins deck. Like it. Also, if you get a second one of these or the other uncommon, the red, black, gold card, if you get any 2 of those, you know, cards out, your opponent's just going to lose. Like there's not much they can do about it. So Boggart Mischief's awesome. Obviously, it's pretty unplayable in Elves, so you know it's a very linear card. But I would give B plus to Boggart Mischief, and this is a card I would first pick and be quite happy with that. Stake my claim.
All right. Gnarlback Elm is next. This is 2 and a black for a 3/4. This is a 3/4 Treefolk Warlock at uncommon. This creature enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it, and you can pay 2 and a black, remove 2 counters from this creature, and to give target creature -2/-2 until end of turn at sorcery speed. God, that's awesome.
Yeah, this card's incredible. You just play this in Elves or Goblins, be super happy. Maybe your black-white Treefolk deck, who knows? It's at its best in Goblins, though, because the Goblins are just going to keep re-blighting this card. Like, and your opponent is just going to be in, having a bad time. So
that's a perfect card to dump.
I like B plus for Gnarlbark Elm. It's a good one.
Awesome card. Next is Heirloom Ante. This is 2 and a black for a 4/4 Goblin Warlock at common. This creature enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. And whenever another creature you control dies, surveil 1, then remove a -1/-1 counter from this creature. Nice.
Yeah, this card's good. It also keeps surveilling even once it's a 4/4. Because those are separate parts, or like they're the same ability, but it's not a requirement that it has a counter.
That's cool.
So I like B for Heirloom Ante. Just it's close to a 3-mana 4/4 that just surveils a bunch. Like that sounds great to me.
Wow. I mean, that's a pretty big grade for a common, but this thing does look really impressive. Next is Moonglove.
Oh wow, this is a common. I kind of thought it was an uncommon based on how it was playing.
It does have uncommon vibes for sure. It just doesn't ask you to do that much because, like you said, that deck kind of is looking to have its creatures pick up counters, die, etc. Next is Moonglove Extractor. This is 2 and a black for a 2/1 Elf Warlock at common, and it says, whenever this creature attacks, you draw a card and lose a life.
I've been kind of unimpressed with this card because really what happens with it is you either attack, trade for a token, and you're like, okay, that was fine, but not amazing. Or they have bigger creatures and you're like, oh, I guess I'll just cash this in. I think the way to utilize it probably is like some amount of like pump spell type stuff, but that's just, you don't really want to do that either. So
right.
Look, if you play this and can kill all their creatures, yeah, that is obviously great. You'll find it to be very effective if you can get them to no creatures in play. But I think Moonglove Extractor is like a C-. It's not a card I'm going to go to.
Definitely. And that first scenario you described where it attacks and trades with a token, I don't even know if you're ahead on that transaction. Like that doesn't even sound that good.
No.
Next is Wretched Wretch. This is 2 and a black for a 4/2 Goblin. It's uncommon. And it says, when this creature dies, if it had a -1/-1 counter on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control and it loses all abilities.
So the joke here is you've got to blight it to a 3/1, trade it off, and it comes back as a 4/2, and then you can't do it again because the ability's gone.
But you have to blight only that one.
Yeah, it's a reverse persist. It only persists if it has a counter.
So if you blight 2 onto it, do you still get it back?
Yeah.
Okay. So in a pinch,
in a pinch, it's a way to like blight 2 for free. Like,
Right.
and then it doesn't have the ability, so you can't just keep doing it. So I think most Goblins decks will be happy playing this card. I mean, if they get a counter onto it, you're not going to be really happy trading it. So I like C+ for Wretched Wretch.
I do too. And the Blight 2 for free isn't really that bad. Next is Darkness Descends. This is 2 black for a sorcery at uncommon that says put 2 -1/-1 counters on each creature.
I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do with this.
Yeah.
Like, I think,
how do you break that symmetry? Like, is it the goblin stack or?
No, I think it's you put it in a deck with a really high toughness creatures, perhaps with thick bark that, that can protect them. And then it has all the tree folk that remove counters. Like, that actually seems really good in the tree folk deck.
It does.
Insofar as that is a deck. So,
but you need to be able to remove them, because if you wipe out their board but shrink your board, I don't know.
Yeah, that's like not even that good. Normally it's like, oh, I've got a bunch of 3/3s, they have a bunch of 2/2s, infest and clear the board.
Right.
And it's like, well, now I have a bunch of 1/1s. This set has a very high percentage of kind of like discomforting art too. It's like there's like sickly looking kick in there.
Does. They are like, creepy, man. That being said, this does seem like it's good against the decks that we have been highlighting. You know, like Kithkin doesn't want to see this. Merfolk doesn't want to see this. I just don't know what deck you're in. Right, because Goblins doesn't want to see this necessarily either.
I think Elves could potentially do it.
Maybe it's Elves.
You can draft the more controlling, grindy Elf deck. And it's not just about what your creatures do. It's like maybe you set up a turn, because like there's a green card that's like a mill 4, get a permanent back. So like you turn 2, do that, and they're just playing creatures. Then you turn 3, play like an Elf or something. And then turn 4, you cast this, and they have 3 creatures in play. You can kind of break the symmetry. So I think this card's probably like a C, but it's not really a C. It's like a build around B. If you can utilize it well, it's going to be good, but it seems a little tricky. Maybe this makes fairies better too. Like, you just don't play creatures for the first couple turns and you just cast this. So I like it. I think it supports off the radar decks. It's not good in the 2 main decks that much, but with some work, it's a very powerful card. The other thing is casting this when they have 3/3s out is still pretty effective. It shrinks them all. So
that's true. Yeah, I think the thing that I would be thinking to make it work is I want my creatures to more or less survive this and then have ways to get those counters off of the creatures potentially for value. Now you're cooking, right? That's a real thing. That being said, though, this is very sketchy territory here, not terra firma, right? Like, this is a card that I'm going to need to see where it fits and how it goes before I really go for Darkness Descends. But I'm interested. I have my eye on it for sure. I would start it off though as like a D or something, and you're probably going to know straight away this just cannot go in my deck, or actually this will probably be okay. Next is Dawnhand Eulogist. This is 3 and a black for a 3/3 elf warlock at common, and it has menace. It says, when this creature enters, mill 3 cards. Then if there's an elf card in your graveyard, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. That's pretty aggressive. Yeah,
it's a very solid card. I think it's unplayable in Goblins. It's like an F or a D. And in Elves, I think it's like a C. Not a C+, because it's a 4-drop. You know, it's not like you're going to be starved for those. But so far, I have cut this from Elves deck, but I cut the 3rd copy. The first 2 were still pretty good.
Okay.
Like it mills 3, which sets up a lot of your other stuff. Drain 3 mana, 3/3, drain 2 with menace. That's not a bad card. So I like C for Dawnhand Eulogist. It's a part of what makes the Elves deck work.
Next up is Dream Caesar, which apparently has the same artwork as Thoughtseize. It's 3 and a black for a 3/2 fairy rogue at common with flying. And it says, when this creature enters, you may blight 1. If you do, each opponent discards a card. Yeah, that seems solid.
I mean, if this was a goblin, we'd be all over it. Of course, not that they'd make a flying goblin.
I just don't know what to make of the
3 mana,
fairies.
2/1 flying. They discard a card is fine. And critically, it's not a 2/1 flyer. It's a 3/2, and you blight something else, and you get a 3/2 flyer. Like that's kind of what you're hoping for. So I think it's a C- just because it doesn't really fit. Like, putting a 4 mana creature that's not a goblin or an elf in those respective decks is a high cost. So maybe it's good in the fairies deck. Maybe it's good in the tree folk deck. Blight your tree folk.
Yes, that is a good combo. So somehow I'm going to be drafting my classic tree folk and fairies together deck. That's what I'm going for. All right. Next up is Grave Shifter. This is 3 and a black for a 2/2 shapeshifter. at uncommon, and it has changeling, and it says when this creature enters, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Nice. So just a
excellent
Gravedigger
card.
changeling. Yeah.
B+, good in every deck.
Every deck. Next is Gut Splitter Gang. This is 3 and a black for a 6/6 Goblin Berserker at uncommon. At the beginning of your first main phase, you may blight 2. If you don't, you lose 3 life. Interesting. I was waiting for it to just enter with the counters like these other oversized ones have. It doesn't actually. Like, if you have the way clear and you're winning the race, you can just start slamming with a 6/6 for 4.
Yeah, I thought this card was pretty good. I had 2 in a Goblin deck, and it gives you a lot of options because, first of all, you can just pay the life, which I think you do a lot of the time because you're the aggressor. Mm-hmm. Second, you can blight itself if you need to, unless, again, it gets tapped down. That is such a sick answer to this. And then third, you blight other things. So, like, the combination of all those alongside a 4-mana 6/6, I'm totally fine with this card. I would give it a B-. I don't think it's like a huge priority. But one thing that's also nice is it's a Goblin card that it can play differently than all the rest of them. So you got your token go wide stuff, and then you also just have a 6/6. And sometimes your opponents are like, oh, I can deal with the tokens, but I can't deal with this other angle.
Right.
So
I like that.
Yeah, I'm at B- on Gut Splitter Gang. I would not play it outside of goblins most of the time, though.
And at some point, you can just blight onto itself and just get rid of it. Like if it's become a liability for some reason.
Unless it's locked down by that blue enchantment.
So if the blue enchantment hits it, you're
pretty boned. You can't put counters on this because it says you may blight 2, which you can't. So what happens is this sits in play tapped every turn, asking you blight 2 or lose 3, and you have to blight on other things or lose 3. So
that is incredible.
In a best of 3 game, if I played against someone who had that card in their deck, I would just take this card out.
Definitely.
You just cannot have that happen.
Huge liability. Next up is Nightmare Sower. This is 3 and a black for a 2/3 Fairy Assassin at uncommon. It has flying and lifelink. And it says, whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature. Dang. So is this one cross the threshold of worth it in goblins or whatever?
Well, how many instances are you going to play? Like, you're probably not
that many.
Probably not have that many. So no, I mean, again, it's a card that will be good in the fairies deck, which I again think will happen some of the time, just not all the time. So
still 4 mana 2/3 flying lifelink is a pretty, like, that's race
I could see playing this in elves. I don't think you're going to play it in goblins that often. So I view this as like a C or a build around B, where it's good if you can enable it.
Right. And of course, in fairies, which again, hopefully just comes up not as frequently, but is a real deck, then I would love a Nightmare Sower. Next is Perfect Intimidation. This is 3 and a black for a sorcery at uncommon. And it says choose one or both. Target opponent exiles 2 cards from their hand. Well, I'll choose that one. And then remove all counters from target creature. So you can free up one of your blighted
unblight your creatures. So, I mean, I don't think this format feels fast to me. I don't want to spend 4 mana to mind rot them. So this looks like a D. Probably played and sealed though.
Blighted Blackthorn is next. This is 4 and a black for a 3/7. Oh, that feels like a Tree Folk stat line. Tree Folk Warlock, nice. At common, whenever this creature enters or attacks, you may blight 2. If you do, you draw a card and lose a life. Yeah, fine. Random Tree Folk, am I playing this like in any of the other black decks? I probably not. Like,
I played this in elves and it was fine.
It was fine.
I had a game where I play this, blight itself. It's a 1/5. Next turn, attack with it and some other things, blight itself. Now it's like a 0/3, basically a -1/3. But they couldn't block this down because they kind of had to block the other things. Then I got one more attack, and now it's a 1 toughness. It's drawn me 3 cards.
That's hilarious.
And you can just keep doing that. So it's not a priority. It's close. It's probably like a D, but it does seem playable if you need something.
If it's a 0/1, like, can you still do it that last time?
Oh yeah.
That's amazing. Next up is Dose of Dawn Glow. This is 4 and a black for an instant. It's uncommon, and it says return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then, if it isn't your main phase, blight 2.
So you're not really gonna blight 2 like just to make this an instant speed play. Where you're going to do that is if you want the counters on the creature, because giving the creature -2/-2 in order to ambush is not usually really going to be worth it. But some creatures you really want a -1/-1 counter on it, or 2 -1/-1 counters on it. So you could do that.
Do you find that there's expendable creatures? Like, could you get back, let's say, a good uncommon that has a good block and just blight onto something else, and like have that be worth it?
Yeah, that
it's
could
still
happen.
a steep cost, but
that is going to be something that will come up. So that does come up a little more, but I don't think the card is amazing.
I mean, that is a steep cost. 5 mana
Goblins
plus
is not
blight
really
2.
wanting to pay 5 for any goblin. Like, they're all cheaper than that.
Right.
And elves, I think, is where it makes sense. I mean, it's got elves on the card. A good like, rule of thumb is if a spell has a creature type on it, that's probably where it's supposed to go.
Right.
Because elves has all the self mill. So I would mostly look to play this in elves, which doesn't usually want to blight its stuff away for no reason. But if you have a lot of self mill and you have a bomb, this is a way to get a second copy of it. So I like it kind of like a build around B, where if I have a lot of self mill in my elves deck and I have 1 or 2 really good creatures, I'm in. If I'm just putting this in my deck randomly, you're not going to get 5 mana out of it, I don't think, most of the time. So
I just want a dose of Dawn-Glow my blighted Blackthorn. Like, just
there we go.
Never stop. Last black card is called Shimmer Creep, and it is 4 and a black for a 3/5 elemental. It's uncommon and it has menace and it has vivid. So here's our vivid payoff in black. It says when this creature enters, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of colors among permanents you control.
Yeah. Great card. I've lost to this multiple times. It just comes down, drains for 3 or 4, leaves behind a pretty big thing. So it's a build around B. It's great in the elementals deck, the vivid 5-color one. And honestly, in the goblins or elves deck, as a 5 mana 3/5 menace, drain for like 2, sometimes even 3 off a hybrid. That's okay. That's like a C.
Yeah, I like that card. So far those payoffs have been pretty good, actually, for the vivid payoffs. That moves us to red. Our first red card is called Cinder Strike. It is red for a sorcery. It's common, and it says its additional cost to cast this spell, you may blight 1. Cinder Strike deals 2 damage to target creature. It deals 4 damage to that creature instead if this spell's additional cost was paid. Very nice.
I'm gonna call it right now, stake my claim. I think this is the best common in the set.
Okay.
It's 1 mana deal 4, and sometimes 1 mana deal 4 with upside. In your goblins deck, you put a counter on your things. Like, this card has been incredible. I've had this every time I've drafted red. I've had multiple because I just take it over everything, and it just keeps delivering. So I think it's amazing.
Do you view this as a goblin? I mean, what's the other deck that can run this? I guess any deck can run it, but you know what I mean? Like,
it's fantastic in elementals because it's a 1 mana spell that can kill anything you want. So
elementals is
the cost of blighting in elementals is greater, but it's still not that high. Blight 1 is just fairly easy to kind of absorb.
I guess what I'm thinking in terms of is, like, if I first pick this, where am I going? And
you're going good places wherever it is. Like, you don't. That's the thing. You don't have to worry about it.
But there's like only 2 decks that.
Well, that's true of every card, right? Every monocolor card has.
Right, but I guess what I'm trying to get at is
to a third.
Right, I guess what I'm saying is like you were saying, if you take a white card, you can go in 2 very solid archetypes here, right? But if I take this, it's kind of like goblins or maybe elementals, if that ends up being a thing. At any rate,
I'm not ready to say elementals is bad. Like, I hadn't been impressed so far, but this is not. There's some things I'm more certain about, and I think I can make that clear when I am. My confidence level that elementals is bad is like not super high. My confidence level that goblins is really good is high. Like, so that's more what I'm saying.
So B+.
I would give Cinder Strike a B+. Yes, I think it's awesome.
Impolite Entrance is next. It's red for a sorcery at uncommon. It says target creature gains trample and haste until end of turn. Draw a card.
Yeah, so it's the kind of card that, of course, it's a fine card, and you can imagine situations where it's like, oh, this does some good stuff, but how are you fitting this into your deck?
How are you fitting this in? Yeah, no way.
So I would give it kind of like a D, and maybe in the elementals deck that has like more cares about spells a little more, but it's not even like there's tons of spell payoffs. So I like D for Impolite Entrance.
These decks, they are critical mass decks, and you just don't have as many slots. You have to always consider that, even if Implied Entrance is a perfectly serviceable card, in a vacuum. Next is Soulbright Seeker. This is red for a 2/1 elemental sorcerer at uncommon. As an additional cost to cast this spell, behold an elemental or pay 2. To behold an elemental, choose an elemental you control, or sorry, I already read that part. It has an activated ability of red. Target creature you control gains trample until end of turn. If this is the third time this ability has resolved this turn, then add 4 red. So 1 mana, 2/1 with a minor ability, but somehow it can become like positive mana.
Yeah, it's pay 3 red to add 4 red, so it's plus 1 mana, and it's a 1 mana 2/1. The thing that makes me not as high on this as all the other 1-drops, like the Kithkin 1-drop, the Goblin 1-drop, the Merfolk 2-drop, etc. Elementals, I think, has lower creature density, so you're more likely to miss on the behold part.
Oh, yeah.
And also, I don't think cares about a 1 mana 2/1 the same way these other decks do either. So
Yeah.
I like this at like a C level, whereas those other cards are closer to the B level.
Okay. Next up is Boulder Dash. This is 1 and a red for a sorcery at uncommon. Boulder Dash deals 2 damage to any target and 1 damage to any other target.
Yeah, a little Arc Trail. I think this card actually fits really nicely in this format. There's a lot of 1 toughness creatures, not only because Merfolk make tokens, Goblins make tokens, Kithkin make tokens, but also Blight will often leave someone like, okay, I'll blight my 1/2 down to an 0/1 with like an ability or whatever, and so I think you're going to pick up 2 creatures a decent amount. I like this at like B- level, a little higher than I would normally.
I mean, maybe even just a B, right?
I could see that.
If at the end of the day,
this is going to tear through Merfolk and Kithkin.
Right. Merfolk, Kithkin, and Goblins. Right.
Yeah. All right. B. I like B for Boulder Dash.
Seems nice. Explosive Prodigy is next. 1 and a red for an elemental sorcerer at uncommon. It's a 1/1. And it has Vivid. When this creature enters, it deals X damage to target creature an opponent controls, where X is the number of colors among permanents. Wow.
I mean, 2 mana for a 1/1 deal 2, very good. You'd always play it.
Yeah.
And that's not hard to do in just a normal 2-color elemental deck. Splashing it in the Vivid elemental deck sounds incredible because you're just going to 2 mana deal 3 or 4 and just put a little chumper on the board. And as we just mentioned with Boulder Dash, sometimes you just play this for 1 on their 2-drop. They haven't played a 2/1 and you play this. So I like B for Explosive Prodigy. Card's nice. And if you have the blue-red uncommon, double triggers, oh yeah.
Double triggers, or if you can bounce it and buy it back, do it again, etc. Next is Flame Braider. This is 1 and a red for a 2/2 elemental bard also at uncommon, and it taps to add 2 mana in any combination of colors, but you can only spend that mana to cast elemental spells or activate abilities of elemental sources. That's interesting.
This is a card that pulls me into elementals because this speeds it up by so much. I mean, I had a game that I lost so badly to this card where basically I played it on turn 2, played a 5-drop on turn 3, and played 6 mana worth of elementals on turn 4. They just played Soul Ring. And it's like, all right.
God.
So I like B for Flame Braider. This is a card that's getting me interested in elementals for sure.
Definitely. I could see the games where you have this versus where you not just being completely... Like one of them is this is busted and one of them is this is a turn too slow. Like that's a huge gap. Next is Flame Chain Mauler, 1 and a red for a 2/2 elemental warrior at common. You can pay 1 and a red to have this creature get +1/+0 and gain menace until end of turn. Wow, that seems out of place for the elementals deck, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's still a really solid card. Like I think on rate, this is just like a decent card because 2 mana 2/2 that has like an effect in the late or middle part of the game. It helps with Convoke because the Elementals deck I think is going to play some blue Convoke cards. It's not a card I want in the 5-color Elementals deck, absolutely not. But and I would not really want to play this in Goblins either. So it's a C. It's fine for Elementals. That's about it.
Okay. Next is Giant Fall, which is 1 and a red for an instant at uncommon. Choose 1. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls, or destroy an artifact. So we have another kind of tacked on, sideboard-ish vibe here.
Well, no, it's a bite card. It's instant speed bite.
I'm talking about the artifact part.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's instant speed bite in a color where that's not that good because goblins can't make use of it that well and elementals can't make use of it that well. So if you had enough creatures, it's probably fine. Destroying an artifact, not that important. So I like C for Giant Fall.
Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe
if it was
even
just
C
in
minus. Yeah.
if it was in like green, it would obviously be better, but that's just kind of how it is.
Right. Green red's not much of a thing here. Next is Grizzle Glutton. Ugh. It's 1 in a red for a 1/3 Goblin Scout at common, and it tap and blight 1 to discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Man, you have to blight 1 for Rummage?
Oh no, this card's great. Don't sleep on this one.
So I want to blight 1 is what you're saying.
Yeah, sometimes you do a decent amount of the time, and this eats the 2 count. Like 1/3 is a great stat line for this because it's kind of like you get the first 2 blights, not quite free because of course it does matter, but turning this into an 0/1 is still fine. Like you know you're not that stressed about it. It also lets you block with a 1/1 token and then blight, so you know you get to like kind of just get your free chumps in. It helps smooth out the draws. I think it's probably a C plus. Like I have been actively impressed by the card. I think it's good.
All right, I'm going with you. You've played with it. I haven't.
I gotta say, just because I mentioned the review timing, I'm starting to think we should just do the review after early access because I feel like my evaluation of these cards has been quite a bit better. So we might just have to change our timing on this.
Yeah, it just feels I really have enjoyed having all this extra context because I don't have it, and I'm like, I'm just like. I feel like one of our viewers where I'm just sort of absorbing all the information and the context even that you.
I'm streets ahead. It's okay, Marshall.
Even the context that you have after just that handful of drafts really does help out a lot. I mean, I feel like, I'm already over this format. Like I already know all the good decks. I know all the. No, but seriously,
there's a lot left to discover. But
it does lead to some context.
If I had to quantify it, I feel like my understanding of the format is like 2.5 times better than when I just looked at the cards.
Totally.
So
yeah,
I mean, there's not really a substitute for experience.
No, there's not. Next up is Lasting Tarfire, which is 1 in a red for an enchantment at uncommon. At the beginning of each end step, if you put a counter on a creature this turn, this enchantment deals 2 damage to each opponent. Yes, please build around me.
For example, I think if I hadn't played, we would look at this card and say like, well, I hope this works, but it might be kind of bad.
Yeah, that's my take. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I actually think it's good in Goblins.
Sweet.
You still have to have the right configuration, but if you do, like I had this in a Goblins deck and I was generally pleased drawing it. So it's like a build around B. It's not a build around A, and most decks aren't going to play it. You should look to take this card pretty late in the draft, like late in the pack or late in the draft overall. But again, the Goblin deck does a lot of chip damage. And imagine if you have, first of all, it's the beginning of each end step. So imagine you have this in play, you have the Gristle Glutton, and you have some tokens. Every turn, you're like, block your 4/4, glutton away that token, rummage, you take 2. Oh, I've got a Bogart Shenanigans out. You actually take 3. You know, like it just adds up where Goblins doesn't even have to do that much combat damage to eventually win.
No, that makes sense. That's cool. Next is Reckless Ransacking. This is 1 in a red for an instant at common. Target creature gets +3/+2 until end of turn, and you create a treasure token. Is this good enough to take one of those coveted slots?
Nah, I have yet to want to play this card, and you get it for free in the draft. So even if you want the card, you don't have to pick. You can pick it as if it was an F because you just basically always get access to as many as you want. They could put a stack of Reckless Ransackings next to the land pile, and you wouldn't go into the stack very often. So it's like a D in terms of card quality. It's effectively free though, so you don't have to prioritize it
as far as when you draft it. Next up is Seer. Here's some premium removal at uncommon. This is 1 in a red for an instant. It does 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker.
Yeah, I like my opponent's creatures. I like my stakes seared. It's this is just like, I think a B plus still. It's, you know, to be fully granular, I think it is slightly better than Cinder Strike, but I would give them the same grade.
Okay,
which is crazy. This is a good uncommon, one of the better uncommons. I just think Cinder Strike's really good.
Man, yeah, if Cinder Strike's in this realm, then that is absolutely incredible. Next up is Warren Torchmaster. This is 1 in a red for a 2/2 Goblin Warrior at uncommon. It says at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may blight 1. When you do, target creature gains haste until end of turn.
Yeah, solid card. Getting to blight can be an upside, like we mentioned. It's a 2-mana goblin. And if you have like the Gut Splitter Gang, or we're going to run into it pretty soon here, the 4-mana Bone Club Berserker, sometimes you just like use this and just whack them for a ton of damage. So I like B minus for War and Torchmaster. I
do
think
too.
it fits nicely.
Yeah, for sure. Goblin and everything. Next is Brambleback Brute. This is 2 and a red for a 4/5 giant warrior at common. This creature enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. So you're getting yourself a 2/3 for 3. And it says you can pay 1 and a red and remove a counter from this creature to have target creature can't block this turn at sorcery speed. And it's properly aggressive, but it is just a giant.
Yeah, and the fairies build arounds, the tree folk build arounds, I have some hope that they're going to work out. The giant build arounds I think are a lot weaker.
Yeah.
And so I don't really think a giants deck is that plausible. So I would play this, I guess, in some goblins decks, maybe some blue-red elementals decks if you have the low enough curve, but most of the time this just looks kind of like a C- to me. It's a strong card. 3 mana 2/3 that grows as it makes things unable to block is good. Like, this is not a weak card.
No,
but
because it gets to attack too.
We're kind of in a set where not having the right creature type docks you about, half a grade, takes you from a C to a C-, or sometimes even like a C to a D. So yeah. I like the Brambleback Brute at C- as it stands.
Same. Next is Burning Curiosity. This is 2 and a red for a sorcery at common. It says additional cost to cast this spell, you may blight 1. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. If this spell's additional cost was paid, exile the top 3 cards instead until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. It is a card draw spell, especially if you get 3 and do the whole thing. I keep asking the same question, but does this deserve a slot of your, call it 4 cards, 5 cards that are not removal or creatures? Is this one of them?
I think in the Goblins deck it actually is, because the Goblins deck frequently has a low curve.
Yeah.
The blighting part isn't a big deal. And when you're in the game plan of like trying to just stick around and kill them with Lasting Tarfire and Boggart shenanigans, like drawing a bunch more fodder is kind of what you want. So I haven't liked this in elementals. It's absolutely not what that deck wants, despite there being an elemental on it. So you gotta, that rule doesn't always hold. But in the Goblins deck, I think the first one of these, maybe even 2 of these, seems plausible to me, because the Goblins deck, I actually think it needs removal a little less. The Goblins deck that really is trying to burn them out doesn't need to clear blockers. It really just needs to kill flyers. So it's a little like it can get by with 4 removal spells. It doesn't need 8 or 7 or whatever.
Right. And this is the type of card that can fuel the things that it's doing forward. What would you give it?
I would give it a C. A C in Goblins, a D in Elementals. I'm not prioritizing it, but I don't think you need to either. It's another card you kind of get for free or get cheaply.
Elder Ante is 2 and a red for a 2/2 Goblin Warlock at common. When this creature enters, create a 1/1 black and red Goblin creature token. So 2 for the price of 1 here.
Yeah, obviously great in Goblins. This is like probably C+ in Goblins, but it's the kind of card that you just always want as many copies as you can get. So it trends towards B-. Like sometimes you're like, really? I mean, I can imagine the Goblins deck that has the fix-ins. You're just not taking that many cards over this.
Next up is Enraged Flamecaster. This is 2 and a red for a 3/2 elemental sorcerer at common. It has reach. And it says, whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, this creature deals 2 damage to each opponent.
I mean, bad stat line. I don't care about reach that much, and dealing 2 in like a kind of controlling deck a lot of the time. Like this is a D. I don't want this card.
Yeah, this honestly feels like reach is the best thing about it. That's not that very good. Next is Goat Nap. And we're not talking about sleepy goats here, right? 2 and a red for a sorcery at uncommon. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste until end of turn. If that creature is a goat, it also gets +3/+0 until end of turn, which usually means changeling.
So the sacrifice effects in the set are blight. So you can steal like a smaller creature and then maybe blight onto it.
Okay.
But I'm just not that impressed with this. This looks like a D. Looks like a card I'm not really going to play. I don't think.
And those combos work best when you have something
creatures.
Right. Those combos work best when you have a blight that's like an activated ability rather than a spell, just so you can try to keep this cheap. Maybe a little bit there. It is an uncommon. Next is Sizzling Changeling. This is 2 and a red for a 3/2 shapeshifter that has Changeling. It's uncommon. And it says, when this creature dies, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. Nice. Yeah.
Excellent card.
Yeah.
Good in goblins,
Very
good in
good.
elementals. This is a B.
B.
Just flat B.
Next is Sting Slinger. This is 2 and a red for a 3/3 Goblin Warrior at uncommon. And it has an activated ability. 1 and a red, tap, blight 1 to have this creature deal 2 damage to each opponent. Wow, you are not kidding, Luis. That chip damage is kind of all over the place here.
This is a really, really dangerous card. So this is a B in goblins and like a C in elementals. It's still a 3-mana 3/3 with a good ability. It's not like you're, that unhappy about it in the elementals deck, but in goblins, this card is money.
And this is also an end step style thing where, you leave it back as a 3/3 blocker and your opponent can't assume that it's going to be a 2/2, can't attack into it. And then when they don't, you can go, okay, 2 to you, untap, 2 to you, and, kind of finish them off.
Or block with the token, as we mentioned before.
Yeah, totally.
Good way to do that too.
Next up is Tweeze. Is that fairy pulling on his nose hair?
Oh, yeah. He's tweezing out a nose hair.
That's gnarly. This is 2 and a red for an instant at common. Tweeze deals 3 damage to any target. You may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Wow. That's solid.
Yeah,
a little bit of
totally,
card
totally
selection.
fine removal spell. This is like a C+ level removal spell. You're not really getting huge mana gains because you're probably killing things around the 3 mana mark, but getting to rummage is nice. So yeah, I like C+ for Tweeze.
Yeah, and it's an instant, so that's pretty good. Next up is Bone Club Berserker. This is the one you mentioned, Luis. 3 and a red for a 2/4 Goblin Berserker at common. This creature gets +2/+0 for each other goblin you control. Oh, wow.
So it's interesting because it's going to be like a 6/4 and 8/4 a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's not the easiest to get through. Like, it has no evasion, but again, if you give it haste with the Warren Torchmaster and just get to like slam out of nowhere for 7, that's pretty sick. Or 8, or I guess if you depending where you put the counter. It also does wear blight counters fairly well because it has a really high power and pretty good toughness. So
yeah,
I've mostly thought this is a replacement level in goblins. I haven't. Okay. I don't think this exposes you to removal. It doesn't fit into the chip damage plan, but there are times when it's good. I had it in a goblin deck and ultimately concluded I should cut it. So I think it's like a C for goblins, and obviously completely outplayable outside of goblins.
Okay. Yeah. I guess just straight up power and toughness isn't quite enough in these really highly synergistic decks. Next up is Feed the Flames, 3 and a red for an instant at common. Feed the Flames deals 5 damage to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. Hey, that's pretty solid too. We're kind of in the business of trading up, right? Our mana we want to spend less mana on our removal spell than our opponent spent on their creature. And this can do that a little bit, but for the most part, it's roughly an even trade, which means you'll play it. It's fine, but it's, it doesn't jump off the screen as being amazing. That said, it looks like a C to me.
Yeah. It's like Tweeze will trade evenly or sometimes up. This will probably trade evenly sometimes down. Like it will trade up sometimes, but most of the time I think it's going to be closer to down than up. So yes, Feed the Flames is a C. It's fine. You do need ways to kill creatures, and this does exile, so that's cool too.
Flamekin Guildweaver is 3 and a red for a 4/3 elemental sorcerer at common. It has trample, and it says when this creature enters, create a treasure token. Oh man, these elementals just feel like a little confused from what I'm reading, because like I kind of want that third color. I want to do like a little bit of fancy stuff on the side, and the treasure token's really nice for that. But then they give me this like pretty aggressive 4/3 trampler, like lower toughness with trample. Yep. How does it fit in?
Yeah, I mean, this card I think is really middle of the road. I've never seen it be like horrible, but it's never been great. It's just okay. I think it's probably at its best if you're like a base red, like red-blue 5-color deck, or a base red-green maybe 5-color deck, because the treasure token obviously helps. But yeah, like you said, a treasure token and a 4/3 trampler are not really on the same wavelength exactly. Yeah. They're not like
it wants to be a 3/4 reach.
Yeah, right. That is a good point. So I like C for the Guildweaver. It's pretty replaceable, but it's not that. It's never like bad.
Yeah, treasure token is a nice thing to get there. Kindle the Inner Flame is next. It's 3 and a red for a kindred sorcery elemental at uncommon. And it says create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it has haste. And at the beginning of the next end step, sacrifice this token. And You can flash it back. It's got kind of a weird cost though. It's 1 and a red to flash back. So that part's great, but you also have to behold 3 elementals. So, you have to show either 2, between your hand and the board, 3 elementals to be able to flash it back. But it's cheap. It's only 2 mana.
Yeah, this card looks awful to me.
Yeah, you just can't afford to have these things be so
4
temporary.
mana to make a temporary token. Like, I guess if you copy with an ETB, you got something in it. And I think the joke is on 6 mana. You go like, you have 2 elementals in play, you copy one, then you can flash it back. So now you have 3 elementals in play.
Right.
And you can like, especially if you copy something that has like a good ETB, you can really like make a big swing. But this feels like so many things have to go right. And I'm just going to give it F to Kindle the Inner Flame. Like I'm not a believer.
Yeah, this definitely feels like it has an insane upside, but it won't come together very often, and you're probably better off not going for it. Next is Sourbred Ante. This is 2 red for a 4/3 Goblin Warrior at uncommon. When this creature enters, you may blight 2. If you do, create 2 1/1 black and red Goblin creature tokens.
Yeah, I mean, this card is just awesome. Like,
what
this is B+ level for goblins. It puts 3 goblins into play.
That's
and sometimes
wild.
sometimes it'll be a 2/1 with 2 1/1s. That's the fail case. Can always be that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once again, they can actually kill this in response to the trigger, and maybe you get stranded. But I don't think that's going to happen. And sometimes you put the counters on like a 1/1, and you just basically got a 4/3 plus a 1/1. Sometimes you put the counters on just somewhere else that they can live, and you get a 4/3 plus 2 1/1s. And in any case, excellent. So B+ for Sourbred Ante, and this card's still a B in elementals. You just play this card. It's still
that's so much board presence. Yeah. And, you know, we've got 3 more red cards to do here. And, a little spoiler, but they have 4 toughness, 5 toughness, and 5 toughness, right? These are like very blightable, bodies that you can use to take full advantage of these cards. The next one is called Squawk Roaster. It's 3 and a red for a star 4 elemental at uncommon. It has double strike. And it's vivid. It has vivid. Its powers equal the number of colors among permanents you control. So 2/4, 3/4. Technically, you could get up to 5/4.
If you make this a 3/4, it's pretty burly. It's going to be a 2/4 a lot of the time. My main issue with Squawk Roaster is that it's not really what the 5-color deck wants as a payoff.
We keep saying that. It's like, do they think that we want to turn like 4/3 tramplers and double strikers from our 5-color deck?
Well, I think the application here might be the 5-color Vivid deck wants permanents of every color. So let's say you're a blue-green deck. This could be like the 1 red permanent you play.
I see.
And it will do the thing. Like I have seen this card do okay. So I like it at like C+ level for the 5-color deck, and it's like a C in the blue-red deck. Maybe a blue-red deck with a couple hybrids can make it a little better, but it doesn't seem amazing.
Still, a 3/4 double strike is a really good blocker. That will.
2/4 double strike's a pretty good blocker too.
It is. They're very similar. In fact, that's interesting. Yeah, I'll keep my mind open to the Squawk Roaster. Next up is Boldwin Aggressor. This is 3 red for a 2/5 giant warrior at uncommon, and it has double strike. And other giants you control have double strike. Why?
Yeah, I mean, the card's basically a 4 mana 4/5, and it makes your other giants double strike. But I just don't see I just don't see it happening. I mean, it's good with the changelings again. Like you can level up some changelings. So it's probably like a C level card or a D level. No, I just give it a D. Maybe you can find some uses for it. Like I don't know. It seems okay.
Yeah, you can see some potential, but that's kind of the frustrating part about it. Next up, and our last red card is Kolrath Zealot, which is 5 and a red for a 6/5 elemental warrior. This is common. This is the basic land cycling for 1 and a red. And it also has, when this creature enters, exile the top card of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play that card. 6 mana, 6/5 draw card.
Yeah, this is a good. It's got basic land cycling.
Yeah, they're pushing these basic land cyclers, aren't they?
I actually really like it because I like cycling and I like land cycling. So having the creatures be actual good creatures is nice. Which they can maybe they have more freedom to do when they just do the 2, right? These are just the elemental ones. So I like this card. Also, there's like the Flame Braider, casting this off Flame Braider, which my opponent did to me was just, really hard to beat. So
yeah,
and
totally
really good in the 5-color deck because it fixes mana nicely and is just like a good payoff at the end. So I like C+ for Kolrath Zealot. It's a good card, I think.
Yeah, if that Elementals deck can come together, that Zealot's going to be part of the equation. All right, green, our last color. First card up is called Blossoming Defense. It's green for an instant. It's uncommon. It says target creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains hexproof until end of turn. This is a reprint, right?
Yeah, it's a reprint from one of the
What, Theros or something? Or?
No. Maybe it wasn't Theros as well, but it was in the vehicle set. The Kaladesh set.
Yeah.
Not the Kaladesh one, but it's the next one, whatever it was, Ether Hub.
Yeah.
Ether something.
Drift Hub? Yeah. Whatever.
No, not Ether Drift. Whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're
Ether
talking
Revolt.
about.
There
Ether Revolt.
Yeah. So I will make an exception to our disdain for combat tricks for this one. This one is good. It was straight up Kaladesh.
It was just in Kaladesh.
You can just click on it. It's 1 mana to win a fight or stop a removal spell or stop a bounce spell, like all of that. That's good. You should play this card. You should generally have this card in your deck. I think it's actually like a C+. 1 mana is just so efficient.
Totally. This is actually one of the better combat tricks they've made. I mean, this thing made a splash in Constructed even because of that. Next up is Virulent Emissary. This is green for a 1/1 elf assassin with Death Touch. It's uncommon. And it says whenever another creature you control enters, you gain a life. Oh, that's really annoying.
Yeah, really good.
I like that. On brand with elf and just gains you some incidental life and trades off at some point. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, this is good in elves, but also great in Kithkin. You just play the card. So
totally. B?
I like B-.
B-? Yep.
Yeah, no, just B. Sure. Straight up B.
B. Yeah. Next up is Assert Perfection. Jeez. Humble, aren't they? 1 and a green for a sorcery.
Well, you remember the elves, like the Imperious Perfect, like that's their whole thing.
Right.
It's like, that they use the word perfect a lot.
Target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It deals damage equal to its power up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. Sorcery speed.
I mean, it's a great removal spell.
Yeah.
It does exactly what you want. It's like a B- removal spell. Pretty good
trade,
for green.
Yeah, you trade instant speed for getting a point of power, and that can be the difference between you being able to kill the thing or not. So that is a worthy trade for sure. C+ for Assert Perfection.
I would give it a B-, I think.
B-.
I think it's pretty good in the green decks. This is the spell you want,
Yeah, for sure. Next is Dundulin Weaver. This is 1 and a green for a 2/1 Kithkin Druid at uncommon. It says when this creature enters, if you control 3 or more creatures, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Man.
Great card.
And if you don't, it's just a 2/1. Is that kind of the swingy, right? I mean,
yes, but Kithkin and Elves are both just 16 to 18 creature decks.
Not that it's hard to trigger it. Yeah.
So this isn't even a Kithkin card. This is just a green card. It's good in Elves or Kithkin, or sometimes the 5-color deck. I would say it's just a powerful card. So I would give it a B. I think
that is very powerful.
I mean, it might even be better in Elves, honestly, despite being a Kithkin, because Elves has the mill 4 and a bunch of other self mills. So this just becomes more of a tutor even.
What's the next card? I'm loading up the next page, but for some reason
Scryfall's failing bad. I think it might be the Great Tree Druid, the 04. I'm just guessing based on 2 mana cards.
All right. It is. You're right. It's Great Forest Druid, too. Nice guess. It's 1 and a green. We don't even know these cards yet. It's 1 and a green for a 0/4.
No, I've solved the set. I'm sorry.
0/4 Tree Folk Druid. And it's common. And it taps to add 1 mana of any color. But I'm going to be black, white Tree Folk is my deck, right? That's what I'm.
I mean, you could, but this is a very clear setup for the 5-color deck, and that's where I've seen it be used. So I don't even think Elves is like that excited, but it's a fine card. 2 mana 04 tap for any color is good. So I would give this a C+. I think it's good. Don't play this in Kithkin. That does not seem like a good fit.
Right. And the 4 toughness, good blocking and good at eating up the blights too. So kind of nice all around. Next is Lysolana Dignitary. This is 1 and a green for a 2/3 elf advisor at uncommon. It says an additional cost to cast this spell, behold an elf or pay 2. This thing is a 2 mana 2/3 that taps for green. You can only activate it though if there's an elf in your graveyard. Still, you're getting a 2 mana 2/3 elf to just beat down with for a while, and then when something finally
Not
dies,
even that long. Imagine you play
turbo.
this on 2, and then you play the 2 mana 2/2 that mills 2,
Yeah.
and then you just tap this and cast a 3-drop. Sounds not that hard to do.
No, it doesn't.
Or Midnight Tilling. That's the mill spell. Like you cast Midnight Tilling, and then you play a 3-drop that you got off the Tilling. Well, you milled another elf. So I like B+ for the Listen Alana Dignitary and Elves. I'm just in for Soul Rings. You know, you give me a Soul Ring and I'm there. So
totally. I mean, honestly, you had me at 2 mana 2/3 elf. Like that was already fine. And now it's just, you just get this massive upside. And again, it goes in the elf deck only effectively because you do have to behold. Next is Lissalana Informant. This is 1 and a green for a 3/1 elf scout at common. When this creature enters or dies, surveil 1. These type of cards have actually performed pretty well in recent sets, and this is a supercharged version. It's on creature type, and you get it on entry and death. That's a lot, especially as you mentioned, you may be more likely to want to actually surveil an elf into your graveyard than you normally would be.
Yeah, I think that this is, you know, we see a Wary Thespian, you know, there's like, but this is maybe the 3rd or 4th retread of this card. This is probably the best of all of them because the creature type really matters and the milling is so good in the elf deck. So I like C+ for Listen Alone Informant, not getting to the B range, but like you would play 3 or 4 of these. You would take it highly. It's just a good card. It's okay in Kithkin. It's fine. It's not like anything special.
Hard part is, if you reveal like a playable elf, let's say in your curve, do you bin it? You know, I mean, because there's an argument that says you keep it, trade it, or just attack it and let it die, whatever. Just do anything else to get it into the graveyard for some amount of value. And that's an interesting proposition that we'll have to face. Because, you know, if it just said mill 1 when it entered or died, we'd still be pretty excited about it. But it's better than that. Midnight Tilling is next. It's 1 and a green for an instant at common. It says mill 4 cards, then you may return a permanent card from among them to your hand. Wow. There's your enabler. Is this worth it in elves?
Yeah, really good in elves. Like
Okay.
this is what, like, I'm not saying that you want 3 because it is a mana disadvantage. You're paying 2 mana to do nothing, but this sets up all your elves cards. Like how many elves cards have we already seen? We haven't gone through all green that care about elves in the graveyard or bring things back from the graveyard or what have you. So and there's some good payoffs coming up. So in Kithkin, this is a D. Just don't play this in your Kithkin deck. You just can't afford to spend mana not on a creature. In Elves, the first 2 are like C-level cards, and no one else really wants them, I don't think. Well, that's not true. The 5-color deck probably likes this a lot.
Yeah.
Like this fixes your mana and finds your win conditions.
Yep. Yeah, this is an interesting card. I like it. And yeah, you know, I'd give it like a C for Elves or 5-color and kind of unplayable for the rest. Morkant's Eyes. John Morkant's Eyes, as it were.
You're never going to see Morkant.
I know, I can't.
We're going to find a legend in the Rare Mythic review, and John Morkant herself. But,
this is one.
I wonder how many people are confused as what the hell we're talking about right now.
Yeah, the people that know. This is 1 and a green for a Kindred Enchantment Elf at uncommon. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 1. And it has an activated ability. You can pay 4 green and sack this enchantment to create X 2/2 black and green elf creature tokens where X is the number of elf cards in your graveyard. You can only activate this at sorcery speed.
I think
that's worth it, right?
This card is really good in the dedicated elf deck. I mean, you Midnight Tilling a couple times. This makes 6 elves.
Right.
I had this make 7 elves against me, and I was like, yeah, that's really good.
So I mean, as a good finisher. And you don't mind that when you play it, yes, it's technically an elf, but it has no power and toughness. That part's okay, right?
That's okay. Also, it's an elf in your graveyard, which is relevant. Yeah, like that really is backstops it a lot. So I like this at Build Around B. Just a good card for the elf deck.
That seems very good. Next up is Shimmer Wild's Growth. This is 1 and a green for an enchantment aura at uncommon. It enchants a land. As this aura enters, choose a color. Enchanted land is the chosen color. And whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds an additional 1 mana of the chosen color. Why does it make the land the color?
For Vivid, it's so sick.
So it counts as a permanent of that color. Okay, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, this card is excellent. It's a B in the 5-color deck, and even I think in Elves, it's probably like a C plus because it's just a good accelerator. My guess is Kithkin's not going to want it. So this is
Okay.
a card that really would pull me towards the 5-color deck, though. Like
Okay.
I think it's excellent for that deck.
That is really cool. So ups your vivid count, ramps you, and fixes your mana for just 2, and it's difficult to deal with too. That's really cool. Next is Surly.
Sometimes you're just going to pick your least popular color just to
Right.
have a permanent later in the game. Like that's
Totally.
really nice.
That's
so this
great.
is a card that if you can wait on it, it can be pretty good too.
Next is Surly Farrier. This is 1 and a green for a 2/2 Kithkin Citizen. Another creepy Kithkin at common, and it has tap. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains vigilance until end of turn, but you can only activate this at sorcery speed.
I've been impressed with this card. It's a 2-mana 2/2, and it just has a good little effect on combat. The vigilance part is actually secretly really nice because it's like you just make your 3/3 into a 4/4 vigilance. They can either trade up, but if they don't, you've got a good blocker. So I think it's going to push through some good combats. This one plays well.
I don't like these Kithkins, the artwork.
No, the Kithkins are creepy for sure.
Next is Thoughtweft Charge. This is 1 and a green for an instant at uncommon. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. If a creature entered the battlefield under your control this turn, draw a card.
It's a play on your turn if you can pump spell because
Right.
you really want to get that extra card. Looks good though, uncommon for a reason, I suspect. I'd probably give it a C plus.
Yeah.
Attack and draw a card is just like
right.
massive.
And that is the natural use case for it anyway. That's really cool. Next up is Chomping Changeling. This is 2 and a green for a 1/2 shapeshifter with Changeling at uncommon. And it says when this creature enters, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. Nice.
I'm never cutting this out of my deck. Like
Right.
this one's great.
Yeah, this is one where just literally any target and you're happy.
Yeah, and even if not, like in the Elves deck, it's an elf from the graveyard, which is
Right.
nice. It counts as whatever creature type you need. So I'd probably give it a B minus. I was torn between B minus and C plus, but this card I think is good.
Yeah, it's hard to overstate how good just Changeling is in these tribal archetype deck or sets. It really pulls a lot more weight than you might think. Next is Crossroads Watcher. This is 2 and a green for a 3/3 Kithkin Ranger at common. It's got trample, and it says whenever another creature you control enters, this creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Yeah.
So this is your heavy hitter in the Kithkin deck where you're like put 1 or 2 creatures into play, attack with like a 5/3 trample. I think these cards, we've seen this card before. It plays fine, but it's not
fine.
special.
But it's a 3/3 trample.
You should not play it
irrelevant.
in Elves most of the time.
Right, but it's still a 3/3 trample for 3 an irrelevant creature type, right? So that's usually enough, and then even a little bit of a bump goes a long way. I give it a C for Kithkin. Next up is Dawn's Light Archer. This is 2 and a green for a 4/2. It's an elf archer at common, and it has flash and reach.
I don't like this card.
Yeah.
I would play it if you were really hard up for Elves, but I don't know how many times we got to say it. 3/2s and 4/2s just don't really make sense to pay 3 mana for.
No.
That's not a good thing.
They're really
D
the
for
worst
Dawn's Light
stat
Archer.
lines for limited. Yeah. Next is Guilt Leaf's Embrace. This is 2 and a green for an enchantment aura. There's quite a bit of these around at common. This one has flash and enchants a creature. And when it enters, enchanted creature gains trample and indestructible until end of turn. And enchanted creature gets +2/+0.
Yeah, I can see the use case for this, and there will be times when this really pummels them. But again, this is like a D because you're just how are you fitting this in your elf mill deck that really wants to have all creatures? Maybe in the Kithkin deck it's better, but your creatures aren't even big. So I don't like Guilt Leaf Embrace.
No, same. It just doesn't have a home. Next is Tend the Sprigs. This is
You'll love this one, I think.
This is 2 and a green for a sorcery at common. It says search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Then if you control 7 or more lands and or tree folk, create a 3/4 green tree folk creature token with reach. Dude, that is awesome.
This is such a cool design. I really got to give him props. It's a really fun one.
Dirtiest ever. That's incredible.
Yeah, so you'd be tending some sprigs. The best use I've found for this is with some changelings where you just like, because if you have 4 lands and 2 changelings in play and you cast this, you're going to get your 5th land. Now you're at 7 and you get a sprig, you get your 3/4.
Right.
And it seems kind of nice for the 5 color deck where it's like, because look, you really don't want to cast this and not get the 3/4, but in the 5 color deck, you can kind of justify it. You just need your 4th or 5th color. And then later in the game, your mana fixing card also just comes with a 3/4.
That's how I see it.
And if you get some tree folk, it's kind of nice too.
Yeah, it seems like they're giving us a consolation prize for when you rip this thing late game and it's just kind of a brick, right? But I think for the most part, unless you have something better to do, you often want to ramp on turn 3 to get to 5 and start to, push your advantage over your opponent who's playing a bunch of smaller creatures. But if you just like top deck it late, I mean, a 3/4 reach is a legit creature.
Yeah,
like that's a real thing.
So
yeah,
I like build around C+ for this. It's a weird rating, but I had this in a green black elves deck and it was mostly bad unless I do changelings. Like, cause if you have to wait on it, you're giving up the mana fixing part. You're just like a suspend 3/4 is not that good. So I would want this in a 5 color deck, ideally with changelings, which those decks tend to want because they want to enable their vivid stuff. So really
we
cool
both
card,
agree
though.
build around A. Okay.
Yeah, build around A. I mean, I just like cards like this. It uses 1 slot and makes a cool deck better.
That is really cool. Yeah. Build around C+ for 10 the sprigs. Next is Unforgiving Aim. This is 2 and a green for an instant. It's common. It says choose one. Destroy target creature with flying, destroy target enchantment, or create a 2/2 black and green elf creature token that isn't an elf when it's in the graveyard.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is like I just don't think that you should play cards like this that aren't actual elves, because elves literally cares about elves in the graveyard more than in play. Like
Right.
it doesn't care about elves in play that much. It cares about elves in the graveyard. So
Basically, this has to replace like a legit removal spell in your deck.
which I don't think it
and it
should.
doesn't.
So I like D for Unforgiving Aim.
Same. Not Vine
Or
Bread.
sideboard C. You
Sideboard,
can board it in, it's
if
fine.
If we're going to talk about it like that.
It's not even a sideboard card that gives you a huge advantage. 3 mana to kill something is not like an amazing thing.
No. Vinebred Brawler is 2 and a green for a 4/2 Elf Berserker at uncommon. This creature must be blocked if able, but it's a 4/2. Whenever this creature attacks, another target elf you control gets +2/+1 until end of turn. God, this feels like in that same camp though, right? Like it's still a 2 toughness creature that costs 3 to cast. Like
This offers some pretty nice carrots though at the end of it. Like,
okay,
because this with pump spells can be really nice because they have to
Yes.
block. And pumping another one of your elves is like, it's a pretty significant boost, +2/+1. So the fact that this has to block means you cast this on turn 3, they can't cast a good creature, you're forcing a trade. And if you had another elf, you're like doing quite a bit of damage though.
yeah.
And it's
I guess-
uncommon, Marshall. It's an uncommon.
It is uncommon. Yeah, I think the thing, the last time we saw this, it cost double red, but it had haste. So it really kind of put your opponent in a bind. And this is so plan aroundable. Like they can just choose to use removal on it, or they can just say, okay, I'll just leave my 2/2 back. Go ahead, swing on into it. I welcome the fight. I'm skeptical. It does
I
seem
think
a
you're
little
going to
bit
always
annoying,
play
but-
this in elves. I don't think you're ever going to cut this in like a dedicated elves deck.
Okay.
It's just because look, yes, sometimes this trades for a 2, but if the same turn it trades for a 2, you got your other 3/3 elf in past their blocker, or 2/2 elf past their blocker. That's pretty good. I had a game today where I cast this card and they played the 0/4 after when they had a 2/2 in play, and I just killed their 2/2 attack and got to eat their 4/4.
Yeah,
or
that
0/4.
is
like
very good.
must be blocked is just powerful text, and the other text is good too. So I like C+ for Vinebred Brawler. I'm not saying it's a great card, but
I'm with you.
You're not going to cut this in your elf
Right.
deck.
And
That's
4
just not
power
gonna
means
happen.
it trades basically all that. Like they have to have a freaking 5/5. And then also, as you mentioned before, having elves in your graveyard is a thing. And this, well, gladly go there. Next up is Bristlebane Outrider. This is 3 and a green for a 3/5 Kithkin Knight at uncommon. It says this creature can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. And as long as another creature entered the battlefield under your control this turn, this creature gets +2/+0.
Seems pretty good, like for the Kithkin deck. I mean, it's
5
going
power
to attack as a
unchumpable.
5/5 that can't be chumped or like triple blocked very easily.
Yeah, that's pretty good actually.
It's also a little bit like the Gut Splitter gang, where the Kithkins are like all these 1/1s and 2/2s, and then all of a sudden you just have a 5/5, which sometimes they're in a bit of a bind there. So I like B- for this in the Kithkin deck.
I mean, this is 4 mana.
Yeah, it's not a small creature.
This feels like a 5-drop. Yeah, I like B for Bristlebane Outrider.
Yeah, let's just do B for Bristlebane Outrider. And honestly, you can play this in your Elves deck if you need to. You still don't want to because their Elves has some good 4s you should play instead. But
that has some raw power.
It's not a specifically Kithkin card in terms of its text.
Yeah, that's a little bit push there. Next up is Luminalisk.
The elemental names are really funny.
That are great. Yeah. 3 and a green for a 2/4 elemental at uncommon. It's got Death Touch. Wow. 2/4 Death Touches. That is a bear. Vivid. When this creature enters, you gain life equal to the number of color permanents you control. Dude. Yes, please.
Oh yeah. This is what you want. It's a good blocker. It gains you some life. It's got decent
great
stats,
blocker. Give me 3 life off of this thing.
Yeah, I'm in for B for Luminalisk in the 5-color deck, and basically don't play it in Elves or Kithkin. I just don't think that's the card you want.
Yeah, and you said you think that the base colors for that deck would be blue-green?
Blue-green or potentially red-green.
Okay,
blue,
but
like
green.
just straight up teamer. But
Yeah.
I think, well, the thing is, green has the Midnight Telling, Great Forest Druids, Shimmerwild's Growth at Uncommon. Those are some pretty decent reasons to be in.
Wait, what about
green.
Tend the Sprigs?
Oh, and tend the sprigs.
Tend the sprigs, baby.
Gotta tend those sprigs, baby. Yeah. So, all right. Luminalisk, B in the 5-color deck. Pretty much not good outwise. Oh, I love this next card. This is Moon Vigil Adherence. It's 2 green for a 0/0 Elf Druid at uncommon. It's got Trample. And it has +1/+1 for each creature, not just elf, just each creature you control or in your graveyard. So,
whoa.
this is
and in your graveyard?
4 mana 7/7, like, or bigger.
Wow, there's a... Okay, I mean, so it needs to be 4/4 before you're happy, right?
Well, kind of. It doesn't need to be 4/4 the turn you play it. Because when you untap, you often pump it a couple more times. It ultimately does want to be bigger than that, but I've had this in 2 decks now, and it's never been smaller than like a 5/5, basically.
God, it counts all the creatures in your graveyard?
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, that is a lot.
You have 2 of these, and you're just gonna play 17 or 18 creatures, right? Like
totally.
Which, to be fair, is not like maybe the most interesting drafting experience because it's like pretty on rails. But this card is really good. This is a B+. This is a build around for elves, and honestly, you could play it in Kithkin, but just because it has a lot of creatures. But elves is where it shines because you just have all the self mill.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Wow, like 8/8 trample for 4.
Yeah.
And they also don't know what the heck they're going to get hit with when you turn, even if it's a 4/4 then.
Right. You cast this as a 4/4 and they're like trying to plan out their turn. They're like, maybe if I play this 3/3 and now I have a 3/3 and a 4/4 to block with it. And you're like, nope, I'll cast like, Midnight Tilling, attack for 9.
Right. Exactly. Oh, that changed. Next is Pitiless Fists. This is 3 and a green for an enchantment aura at uncommon. It enchants a creature you control. When this aura enters, enchanted creature fights up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. And wow, it gives a creature +2/+2. That's a heck of a lot. That's a big fight spell at sorcery.
This is a pretty big swing. I don't know what word I would use to describe what this does to my opponent, but it is pretty good, I would say.
Yeah, we'll let our listeners
we'll leave that exercise to the reader. But it's a good card in both Kithkin and Elves. It's better in Elves because you have bigger creatures. Imagine this with the Moon Vigil Adherence. But it's just you have a 2/2 in play. You play this, kill a 3/3, and if they have a blocker, maybe you have to wait because you maybe have this has damage on it. It's not a bite. But if that's their last blocker, then just get them. So
and then you
I like
get
B for Pitiless Fists.
I do too. You have to be careful about your timing on casting it because it is 4 mana sorcery speed. But once you land this, especially if both players are just trying to curve out, that's mean. Next up is Prismatic Undercurrents. I don't know what this does, but I'm interested. You'll
like it. I don't know if it's good, but you'll like it.
Yeah, that's often a combination I experience. 3 and a green for an enchantment at uncommon. It has Vivid. When this enchantment enters, search your library for up to X basic land cards where X is the number of colors among permanents you control. Reveal those cards, put them into your hand, then shuffle. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. That is right up my alley. So I guess the baseline use case would be like, what if it's 2? Go get 2 lands, play 1?
Yeah, you get 2 lands and get 1 and play. But it's not even like play 1 because then the next turn you can also play 2 lands. So it's like you are really ramping the 2 out pretty effectively. It's pretty good at doing that. I'm pretty skeptical of 4-mana ramp spells, and
Same.
most of the games my opponent has cast this, they have ended up losing. But most of my opponents lose when they play against me anyway, so that's not necessarily
Factually, that is true.
I can say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna start this at like a C, like the kind of, if you have to, you could do it. Part of the thing is 4-mana ramp doesn't really get you to playing anything ahead of the curve unless it costs like 6 or 7. So there are some specifically good 7 drops in this format, like at higher rarities, and 6 drops. So in a deck that has like 3 really bomby 6 and 7 drops, maybe this card is good. I would start by saying you want almost all the other ramp instead. Though it is nice with Tend to Spriggans, right? Like you cast this, and then next turn you're tending, got some good tending going. So
this needed
undercurrent.
This needed to either gain you some life or provide you with colors of
material of some kind.
Yeah, something like that.
Also, it counts itself for green, which is nice. But like, you do have to have another thing in play to make it good. If you cast this with this is the only thing, that's atrocious.
It's really bad. It feels like it might have been too powerful, but like I would love to see a card that just gave me all the colors, like that just said like this is all colors, but didn't cost all the colors to cast, that type of thing. At any rate, I agree with you.
I could see a deck that if you're good at getting this for 3 or 4 on turn 4, like you've got some of the 2-drop changelings, and then the scarecrow, the colorless scarecrow that turns into any color that we're going to talk about, when you get to that colorless. Because if you cast this for 3 on turn 4, like that is pretty good.
That is really good. Yeah.
But the fail case here is too high. So I'm going to start at build around C for Prismatic Undercurrents, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's better than that.
Same. Next is Safe Right Cavalry. This is 3 and a green for a 4/4 elf warrior at common. It says this creature can't be blocked by more than one creature, and it has an activated ability of 5 mana. Target elf you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn, and it can target itself if it needs to. That is a very scary, like you play this next turn, play a land, attack. Like, how are they possibly effectively blocking this? This is a concept we call threat of activation, where just the ability to turn this thing on means that your opponent has to play differently, even if they don't actually force you to do it.
Yeah, I think it's a step behind some of the other 4-drops for elves. So like I have found myself cutting it, but it is definitely an elf, and it definitely can be threatening. So it looks like a C to me, where it's like pretty replaceable, but it's good. It's like a C plus in terms of what it does, but I would take it at a C level if that makes sense, just because I'm not going to prioritize it.
And also it's 4 mana.
And in Kithkin, it's like a D. Like I just don't think you're gonna go out of your way to take this card.
God, because Kithkin couldn't get any creepier. Here's Mist Meadow Council. This is 4 and a green for a 4/3 Kithkin Advisor at common. It costs 1 less to cast if you control a Kithkin, and when it enters, you draw a card. Dude,
read the flavor text too.
What is it? You've been hiding something. God. And
imagine you walk into a room and everyone just looks at you. It's like, Marshall, we have to talk.
Yeah, I'm about to get fired or something. So 4 mana 4/3 ETB draw card in a relevant creature type. Yes, please.
Yeah, I mean this is I think like a C plus in Kithkin.
I think so too.
You're not cutting it. You can play this in the elf deck if you just need to. You would prefer not to, but it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You'll like the next one too.
Pummeler for hire.
Yeah, it's 4 and a green for a 4/4 giant mercenary at uncommon. It's got vigilance, it's got reach, it's got ward 2. And on ETB, you gain X life, where X is the highest power among your giants. So 5 mana, 4/4, gain 4, vigilance, reach, ward 2. What a package.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, this card's great. This is what the 5-color deck wants. It's just in.
See, this is where I would see the non-spotlighted creature types. This is what I would expect. There are not enough giants to make that a thing. Right. We just read that, and there's only been a handful of them. So we know that we're not just like, I'm the Giants deck. And if that happens, it would be very, very rare. This thing just stands on its own. Who cares? They made it good enough that I don't have to care about creature type here.
I think it's not even that desirable in Kithkin, though you'll play it. You're not going to cut it. It's just too good of a card. The rate is too high. So I think this is a B plus, almost trending towards A minus for the 5-color deck. I think it's about a B in Elves and Kithkin. So excellent card.
Pushed card.
Very pushed card.
Next is Prisma Basher.
Prisma Basher.
Prisma
It's
Basher.
4 green for a 6/6 elemental at uncommon. It has trample and it has vivid. When this creature enters, up to X creatures get +X/+X, or X number of current colors among permanents you control. Notably, this does not grant trample.
Yeah.
I thought it did the first time I cast it, and I was unpleasantly surprised to find it didn't. But this is a pretty big swing. If you cast this for 3, you give 3 creatures +3/+3. No, it also doesn't have haste, so you're not. It's not smashing. It's not Craterhoof.
It's not Craterhoof.
But you play this, you get a pretty big attack in, and then you've got a 6/6 trampler. Like this seems pretty solid. I played it in Elves. It was fine. I imagine it's good in the 5-color deck. And Kithkin, it might be a little too expensive, but you'll still probably play it. Like if you have one hybrid out and you play this and do it for 3, it's really strong.
That is huge, especially on these tokeny go wide decks.
It's an overrun that you don't need to win the turn you play it because you get a 6/6 trample that's going to give you a pretty good backup plan. Yep. So I like just B for it. I think it's a card you can pretty reliably take and expect it to be good.
I just wish more of the 5-colory payoffs looked more like Pummeler for hire than they do like Prisma Basher.
Look, but I know you don't like any card that threatens to deal damage to your opponent in these decks, but
not as my 5-color payoff.
Sometimes that's what you got.
Last green card is called Wild Vine Pummeler. Didn't we just have a Pummeler? Oh yeah, Pummeler for hire. Wild. Okay, 6 and a green for
They're
a 6.
Giants pummel.
Oh, yeah, they do. 6 and a green for a 6/5 giant berserker at common. With Vivid, the spell costs 1 less to cast for each color among permanents you control. And check this, it actually has reach and trample, which is a really nice combo. It adapts perfectly to whether you're on the back foot or the front foot. Man. So 5 mana, that's a deal, right?
Yeah, I think that at 5 mana, you're pretty happy.
And at 4, it's a steal, right?
So, yeah, at 4, it's a steal. But again, to channel my inner Marshall here, you don't really want to be in the business of playing a bunch of colors to get a 6/5 trample. Like that's not really that exciting. That said, I think you will just play this in the Vivid deck. It seems fine. So
yeah, because especially if you're really doing the thing and you can get it down to like 3 mana or do something stupid.
One of the things we've said many, many times is mana efficiency matters even in the late game.
It does.
Having this cost 3 mana in the late game lets you double spell on turn 7, and that's still pretty good. So I would give this a C in the 5-color deck, whereas it's just like this is a card you'll put in the 5-color deck, and you're not going to play it outside of that very often, I don't think.
Green looks really fun. I'm just concerned that I won't have enough time to do all the fun stuff that it that it has, but I will definitely be trying. Okay, we've got a handful of artifacts and a couple of lands, and then we're done. First artifact is called Dawn Blessed Pennant. It is 1 mana for an artifact at uncommon. It says, as this artifact enters, choose Elemental, Elf, Fairy, Giant, Goblin, Kithkin, Merfolk, or Treefolk. Whenever a permanent you control of the chosen type enters, you gain a life, and you can pay 2, tap, and sacrifice this artifact to return target card of the chosen type from your graveyard to your hand.
I'm kind of skeptical of this card because, I mean, you gain. So I guess the idea is you play this, you choose your type, and you gain like 5 life if you play it on turn 1, and then you eventually cash it in. That's fine. And I guess if you draw it in the late game, it's just 3 mana to get back a card.
Yeah, I'm not sold on it either.
I haven't taken it anytime I've seen it, and I haven't seen anyone play it. So I'm going to start this at D, but I could believe it's better.
It just feels like you'd rather just have a creature of that type.
Generally, I think that is true.
Next up is Springleaf Drum. 1 mana for an artifact at uncommon. Tap it and tap an untapped creature you control to add 1 mana of any color. Generally speaking, we don't run these ones in limited.
There's a hint though.
What's my hint?
Look at the art.
Look at the art.
Those are some merfolk.
Oh, it's a merfolk. Oh, the tapping thing. Right.
You see.
So you can turbo out your merfolk and get the tapping benefits too?
I bet you'll play this in merfolk. I think the average merfolk deck would always run this. Like if you have,
does in creature-based decks, it is very similar to
the
1
flavor
mana
text even talks about merfolk. Like they're leading you. The breadcrumbs are there. It's up to you.
Yeah.
There's cathedrals everywhere for those with the eyes to see, as they say. Yeah, I think this is like probably a C+ in merfolk. Like I think this is actively good in merfolk, and then maybe like a C minus in Kifkin. If your curve is really low, you could use this as like kind of like a pseudo accelerator, and then just unplayable most other places. Maybe in the 5-color deck, because the next card we're gonna talk about gives you a little idiot to play around with. Yeah, I could see that in the 5-color deck. Because look, you know the cycle of changelings, like the 2-mana changelings.
Mm-hmm.
The 5-color deck probably wants those,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
true.
this is good with those. So I like this at C in the 5-color deck. I'm willing to try it. It's a powerful card.
I bet you this would make it a lot easier to get your what's it called, your prismatic or whatever it's called, up to where you want it to be.
Yeah,
or your vivid.
vivid.
Yeah. Next up is 4 Gene Wicker Maw, 2 mana for a 1/3 artifact creature Scarecrow. This is common. And it says when it enters, you surveil 1, and you can pay 1 mana to add 1 mana of any color. This creature becomes that color until end of turn. Activate only once each turn. Well, there you go. That's business.
Yeah, this card is, I think, quite strong. My initial read on the card was like, oh, this is another one of those, prismatic filters or whatever. But the fact that it turns into any color just boosts your vivid pretty nicely. It gets you surveil 1. Like, they just packed a lot into this. I think this is like a C+ in the 5-color deck, and then just you don't play it outside of that.
Definitely. I'm impressed. That is the type of card that can enable it, and the other decks don't want it at all, which is important too. Next is Puka's Eye. This is 2 mana for an artifact at uncommon, and it says when this artifact enters, draw a card, then choose a color. This artifact becomes the chosen color. There's another one. And the activated ability on this thing is 3 tap, draw a card, activate only if there are 5 colors among permanents you control. So this is highly encouraging you to turbo out. Downside, of course, is that it still costs 3 mana even when you get to that point. That's a lot of mana.
Yeah. I think that the fact that it cycles and then just backstops your vivid at just permanent +1 basically is a pretty big deal. Like this looks like a C+ in the vivid deck. Another pretty strong card.
And you just need to find some window to get it down, right?
I would play this in a deck that had like let's say your blue-red elementals and you have a couple hybrids and you have like 3 vivid cards. I would just play this card, I think.
Okay.
It cycles. It's just not that bad.
Yeah. And you just find, turn 2 is probably not the ideal spot for it since you want to be putting out blockers, but any other time.
No, you don't want to do it on turn 2, but you can do it later, sneak it in.
Next is Stalactite Dagger. This is 2 mana for an artifact equipment at common. When this equipment enters, create a 1/1 colorless shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has all creature types, and the equip cost is 2. Interestingly, it does not equip to the Changeling, right?
See, I didn't notice that. The first time I cast this, I was like, oh, I see.
Because we're just so used to that now. Yeah.
Job select and all that. But I find the card to be okay. I don't think it's amazing, but it does put potentially 2 changelings into play, because once you equip this on a second creature, that's not bad. It's not helpful with Vivid, but I think if you are lacking 2-drops, then yeah, this card looks like a C. It's okay.
Yeah, there's something there, especially if you did find yourself a little bit short on relevant creature types. It is also, they have to be on the battlefield relevant, so like elves probably less interested. Next up is Changeling Wayfinder. This is 3 mana for a 1/2 shapeshifter at common. It's just 3 mana. And when it enters, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle.
There we go.
Sweet.
Yeah. It's C+ in the 5-color deck or any 3-color deck. And then probably around a C to C+ in just normal decks. I mean, it's any type. It just does the thing you want, fixes your mana, little road bump. It's a 1/2, helps convoke, does all the things. So it's just going to be an in-demand comment, I think.
I think so too. It is funny though that like the Vivid deck wants to like fix its mana, but also have different colors of permanence, and this is colorless. So it only does one of the things you want, but it does it well. Next is Furdock Core. This is 3 mana for a kindred artifact shapeshifter at common. It has Changeling, and it taps to add 1 mana of any color, and you can pay 4 mana to have it become a 4/4 artifact creature until end of turn. That's kind of interesting. Yeah, do you think that this crosses the threshold for the 5-color deck?
I haven't really been too impressed with it. Part of it is like it not having any color is pretty relevant, and 4 to activate this is a lot. But if you need the mana fixing, having your mana rock turn into a 4/4, that is nice. So
Yeah.
I'd say it's like around a C- in that deck. It's not a D level. It's okay.
Gathering Stone is next. It's 4 mana for an artifact that uncommon. It says, as this artifact enters, choose a creature type. Spells you cast of the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. And when this artifact enters and at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's a card of the chosen type, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. If you don't put the card into your hand, you may put it into your graveyard. Wow. So like super surveil every turn and when it ETBs.
And they cost 1 less. So like you can you utilize those extra cards. I had this in a goblins deck and it was excellent. Just really, really good.
What's your number?
I think if you have around,
like, is it
14, 13?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that is probably fine. Notice it picks up changelings. It picks up, the kindred stuff that like the spells and that are kindred goblin or whatever. I think if your goblin, elf, merfolk, or Kithkin deck doesn't want Gathering Stone, you probably didn't draft a great version of those decks.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about it. The Elementals deck is not interested in this generally, but I think this is actually like a B-level card. Like,
okay,
it's a good barometer. Did you get there? If you did, Gathering Stone's probably great. If you didn't, well, then if your deck's a bit of a mess, if your elf deck has 5 Kithkin, then yeah, you probably don't want this card. So,
and it also kind of illustrates how these formats work, where it's like the more you get, the better it gets. Because, once you get critical mass, now you can play Gathering Stone in your deck, just takes another leap forward. Where if you miss that critical mass, now you can't play Gathering Stone and your deck gets, actively worse. I guess this is not an artifact. It's just colorless. It's Rooftop Percher. It's 5 mana for a 3/3 shapeshifter at common. It's a changeling. It has flying. And when it enters, exile up to 2 target cards from graveyards and you gain 3 life. Bit of a hodgepodge there.
Yeah, at 5 mana, I'm just not that interested. It's not going to help. It doesn't help with Vivid, right? It's not that kind of changeling. It's expensive. Like, this looks like a D. I don't really know why you'd be interested in this card.
And interestingly, we have lands, but there's actually only 2 because, we don't have like a big cycle of dual lands here or anything at common.
Which is fine. They shouldn't be in every set.
Right. It really does mean though that like that 5 color or 3+ color deck is the one that's the most interested in these type of things. And the mana fixing isn't going to get poached by other decks, which can be a good thing. Our 2 lands, our first one is called Eclipsed Realms. It's an uncommon land. And as it enters, you choose elemental, elf, fairy, giant, goblin, Kithkin, merfolk, or treefolk. It taps to add colorless, or it taps to add 1 mana of any color, but you can only spend that mana to cast a spell of the chosen type or activate the ability of the source of a chosen type. Would you play this in your elves deck?
I would hope not to.
Okay.
It just doesn't cast your non-elf spells, which you still have in your deck. And I don't think that the flexibility of that is generally good enough, but the Elementals deck is probably the most interested because it's playing 5 colors of Elementals. So like that seems like an actual use case, but even then I'm not even like, it doesn't cast your mana fixing. Wouldn't you rather have a forest a decent amount of the time? So.
Right. Totally. And, this is, by the way, another, strong hint that these decks are the baseline decks are meant to be straight up 2 color. Like you can read the subtext here with just Eclipse Realms and our other card here, Evolving Wilds, land, common, tap it, sack it, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. These are, you can end up with other colors of cards because of hybrid, but you're not actually like, if you're elves, you're not trying to like, oh, I'm going to splash for red. That won't be as common. Especially in the white base stuff. It
will happen. There are some powerful rares that would push you to do that from time to time, and Evolving Wilds helps with that. But generally, I think it's not a huge priority, especially since this actually is a format where they have a bunch of good 1-drops. Like Kithkin decks just don't want to play Evolving Wilds. They could have access to it and choose not to play it. That wouldn't surprise me. So
absolutely.
So I think it's good in the Elemental deck, but other than that, it's fine. It's never that bad. You should default to playing Evolving Wilds.
Like if you had your Goblins deck, would you put 1 Evolving Wilds in it?
Yeah, I probably would. It would depend though. If I had 3 1-drops, I might not.
Yeah.
Like
right.
I would, if I had 5 1-drops, I definitely wouldn't.
Okay. So keep an eye on your early curve, but otherwise playing 1 Evolving Wilds is a advisable thing to do. Well, this format looks relatively straightforward at a glance, right?
It does, but
they have it kind of
look, there's some
boiled down
hooks.
for us, but there's some big question marks still.
Yeah. So my too early take, but I have some thoughts here. I want to plant a little flag. I think Goblins is excellent. I think Merfolk is excellent. I think Elves is good, and I think Kithkin is good, and I think Elemental is probably going to lag. Blue-Red Elemental is probably going to lag a little behind it. The support for the 5-color Vivid deck definitely seems there. I actually think that's going to be a good draftable archetype. I think Fairies and Treefolk will come up some of the time, and I think Giants will effectively not come up. So that is not a big priority. And I think red, green, and blue, green are basically subsumed by the 5-color Vivid deck. So those aren't like their own archetypes. But we'll see. I will be disappointed if the Fairies and Treefolk decks never work or rarely work, and if the Vivid deck doesn't work. But I think the Vivid deck's going to work. That I'm not that worried about. I do think Blue-Red is going to be a step behind. Just looking at how the cards play out, and somehow drafted it 3 times, maybe because I like Blue-Red. Mm-hmm. Well, it's because I opened Ashling's Command in 2 different drafts, and that card is very good. So we'll see. It on its face is a little slightly fewer archetypes than most, but it doesn't mean like Strixhaven is a format we both liked quite a bit, and that only really had like 3 good decks and 2 medium ones. So,
right.
So that's fine. It does not necessarily rule it out.
Yeah, I feel like, I'm going to try for the Elementals / 5-color deck, and I really hope that it exists so that it can be a little bit of a counterbalance, because the other decks look very on the board, very aggressive, very straightforward, which is fine for a while. But, a lot of what we think about when we do these reviews and we're in the early part of a format is, what does draft number 30 look like? What does draft number 50 look like? And, how does the format hold up over time? And those are the questions that we will be answering for you as we move forward into the format. We're going to call it a show there. We'll be back next week with the Rares review, as we mentioned, and then we'll be doing our format overview the week after that. If you want to find us on social media, Marshall_LR and Luis is LSV, pretty much everywhere. You can find everything related to the podcast over at lrcast.com, including all of our old episodes and links to Luis's YouTube channel, for example, if you want to watch him play Cube, sometimes pre-modern, sometimes the new set that comes out. But he puts up a daily video over there, and of course you can go check it out. And make sure you get subscribed to Luis's channel. If we also want to say thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon, as well as Ultimate Guard for their support of the show. That is going to do it for this one. Thanks so much for hanging out. We'll see you next time.
Talking about Doran reminded me of the story from PT Amsterdam. So it's 2010. This actually was the PT that formed Team Channel Fireball, funnily enough. Or like it was one of the 2 PTs where we had a group of people testing. We weren't officially Team CFB, but after PT Amsterdam and PT Paris, where we had busted decks both times, we're like, we should make an official team and also stop sharing our deck with people not on the team, because we were a little loose about it before. But we're testing. It's a modern PT, well, extended, but basically modern, kind of similar vibes. And we start to build this like Doran aggro deck. So Doran's the black, white, green 05 that deals damage equal to its toughness. All your creatures deal damage equal to their toughness, right?
3 mana, 5/5.
Yeah, and back then that was good. And so there's a card called Treefolk Harbinger. It's green for a 0/3, and you can search your library for a forest or treefolk and put it on top of your deck. And at one point, Kibler is like, I think we should play Treefolk Harbinger in our Doran deck. It's a 3/3 once Doran's in play, and it goes and tutors Doran, and it can get Murmuring Bosk. That was a green, white, black tri-land that counted as a forest. And I remember literally saying, I'm not going to play Treefolk Harbinger in the Pro Tour. You got to be kidding. Mm-hmm. And then we're like testing, and it starts to like look like, oh no, I think playing one of these could be good. It's like a 5th Doran. And I'm like, okay, fine. Maybe I'll play one. And we're start to worry because there's like 10 of us, and we're in Amsterdam already. And and it's like, well, no one brought Treefolk Harbingers, obviously. So it's like, okay, we need to find 10 of these. All right, we'll maybe go to a local store or something. And then Kilber's like, no, but I think we should play more. I'm like, come on, man. I'm not going to play like 2 of these cards. This card's just not that good. And we test it. And then it's like, oh no, we should be playing 2. And it's like, wow, we need like 20 of these. Okay. And then it was like, guys, are we really going to play 4 of these? I'm like, come on, we can't, we got to be kidding. And we kept playing. And this is, this is back when we were younger, a little less encumbered. We would go like 2 weeks early. We would just be jamming. We'd be, 12 hours a day playing Magic, basically taking breaks to go eat.
Right.
And, it became clear, yeah, no, this was the real deal. This card was good. And it's like, how the hell are we going to get 40 Treefo Harbingers in like, the PTs in 4 days, and none of the local stores have that many. Yeah, right? It's an uncommon, from at this point, still an older set, a couple years older. Well, just a couple years at that point. It was a while ago, but not a card like the stores carried. And I remember I'm at this point talking to Channel Fireball, but HQ, and it's like, okay, well, it's too late to mail that from San Jose to Amsterdam. But one of the guys who works at CFB, Alex Alpin, you remember him?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he did pass away. So rip Alex Alpin, great guy. But too young too, man. He's the same, he's a little our age. So, but Penn was like, guys, if you need this, Channel Fireball has 100 of these. I'll take all 100. I'll get on a plane tonight. I'll take a red eye to Amsterdam. And we're like, oh shit, that's awesome. But we're like, we've actually found enough stores. I think we can get enough. And what ended up happening was, well, I got my 4. Kibler got his 4. Not everyone got them. Some of the people on our team played like 2. Matt Nass played Scape Shift because he couldn't get any. And that's one of his big regrets, because honestly, if Matt was more assertive and aggressive, he could have gotten them. You got to have more agency, and he's better about that now, to his credit. But this was a long time ago. Matt was pretty young at that point.
Yeah, he was really young.
And he was like 20 at that point. So, younger than that. I think he's like 19 or 18. But you end up, we got as many as we could. But honestly, so many people play Magic, and at Amsterdam, and also the day before the PT, what he needed to go is just. None of the dealers had them. We drained those, but just go to random people and be asking them, or just yell to the room, hey, does anyone have Treefo Harbingers? I'm going to pay $20 each or something like that, right? Like it was there. If there was a will, there was a way. I do believe that for most situations. Anyways, a lot of us got these Harbingers. Owen's story was even funnier. He asked Brian Cole if he had Treefo Harbingers. Brian's like, yeah, actually I got 4. And then they go up to Brian's room. Brian's handing Owen the 4, and he's like, why are you playing this? And Owen's telling him about the deck, and he's like, oh, that actually sounds really good. And Owen looks at him, and he looks at the 4 in his hand. He's like, I'm taking these. I'm not giving these back.
Right.
I'm not going to, and I think Owen is right about that. You can't be like, oh yeah, I'll lend you these cards. Oh, that deck sounds good. Actually,
I'll keep them and steal your deck. Yeah.
Right. So end of the day, we all played the deck. Kibler top 8'd. Brad top 8'd. I think Brad was playing White Weenie. I can't remember. He wasn't. I don't think he was playing our deck. I lost 2 Kibler for top 8, then lost Waffle Top up for top 8, and turned out I did play 4 Treefo Harbingers, and it was great.
You still have them?
God, no, I wish. I too many of my old cards lost to the sands of time. I'm really jealous of Martin Yuza. He had a good head on his shoulders. He's saved every deck he's had of every Pro Tour. His every draft deck. Yep, it's just in the box. So sick. I would probably pay $10,000 out of pocket to have all my draft decks in front of me. Maybe more, honestly. But that's neither here nor there.